Chapter 5888. Young Island Master, this is really a misunderstanding. Please give me some time and I will definitely give you an explanation. Moreover, the chief alchemist of our pill hall, Master Li Zhao, is also here this time. She is not only a genius in alchemy, but she also has amazing talent in medical skills. Perhaps Master Li Zhao might be able to cure Island Lord's injury. Please give us a chance, young Island Lord. Our pill hall will definitely be grateful for young Island Lord's magnanimity. Zheng Dongjue did not look like a deputy hall master at all. He was simply begging for Li Ziyu's forgiveness. Li Ziyu was slightly tempted when he heard the name of chief alchemist Li Zhaoyi. If Li Zhaoyi could really cure his father, then it did not matter whether he had the yin and yang pill or not. Zheng Dongjue, can you be more shameless? Lin Yi sneered. If Li Zhaoyi had that ability, she wouldn't have needed to refine the yin and yang pill on the ancient warship. She could have cured Vice President Shang directly. Are you trying to say that Vice President Shang's condition is more serious than Island Master Li, so Li Zhaoyi can't cure him? Zheng Dongjue was going crazy. He wanted nothing more than to strangle this bastard to death right now. Why did he always have something to say? How could Shang Wani and Li Zaixiang be the same? Shang Wani would die in 24 hours on the ancient warship, but Li Zaixiang had held on for so long. It was obvious that he was much better than Shang Wani. If Li Zhaoyi agreed to help, there might be a chance. However, after hearing what Lin Yi said, Li Ziyu would never believe him. As expected, Li Ziyu's expression was extremely ugly. He glared at Zheng Dongjue and said to all the people who were being expelled, "Don't say that I am heartless. It's already dark. I'll let you stay for one more night. When the sun rises, all of you are to get out of the extreme North Island. Those who don't leave after the time limit will be killed by the Northern Guards." Yes. All the North Garrison Guardians agreed in unison. It was a shocking sight, especially Zheng Dongjue. He was already a little lost, and now he was even more frightened, not knowing what to do. Seeing that Li Ziyu was about to leave, Lin Yi took out the extra yin and yang pill, tossed it up and down in his hand and said, "Brother Kai, Brother Shang, since the northernmost island doesn't welcome us, let's leave. In fact, it's not a big deal. If there are good things, there are places to buy and sell them. Look at my special grade yin and yang elixir. If I can't sell it in the northernmost island, can't I sell it elsewhere?" Just as Li Ziyu was about to take a step forward, he abruptly retracted his foot and turned around with lightning speed. His eyes locked onto the black and white elixir in Lin Yi's hand, and his head involuntarily nodded along. Yin and yang pill. It was indeed the yin and yang pill. Li Ziyu was about to cry. "You have the yin and yang pill in your hands, so why are you still talking so much nonsense? With the finished elixir, who would want the damn yang pole grass and yin core fruit?" What he did not know was that Lin Yi not only wanted to stay for the auction, but he also wanted to see that the young master of the island was reasonable. If Li Ziyu had used his power to oppress him, Lin Yi would not have taken out the yin and yang pill. At most, he would have asked Hong Zhong to help him bid for the spirit gathering branch and other items. As for whether Li Ziyu died or not, it was none of his business. It was precisely because Li Ziyu was reasonable and didn't have any other methods of revenge other than banishment that Lin Yi took out the yin yang pill, giving both sides a chance. "Brother Lin, you are indeed a top alchemist. You can even make the yin and yang pill. Amazing, amazing." Li Ziyu was embarrassed. He quickly praised Lin Yi first to regain some of his impression. Lin Yi curled his lips. He had already told him that he could make the yin and yang pill. Now he only said that he could not afford it. It was too fake. But it did not matter. As long as Li Ziyu wanted the yin and yang pill, they could talk. After laughing a few times, Li Ziyu, the young master of the island, did not know how to flatter Lin Yi. He could only change the topic. "Brother Lin, how much are you willing to pay for the yin and yang pill?" He did not ask whether Lin Yi would sell it or not. He only asked Lin Yi what price he wanted. He was worried that Lin Yi would say that he was not selling it. If that happened, he would be at a loss. He could not just rob it, right? However, it was not impossible to rob it directly. It was related to his old man Li Ziyu. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, Li Ziyu would definitely do anything. Lin Yi smiled faintly. "This yin and yang pill is not sold casually. I am going to participate in the auction in the name of Five Elements Commerce. But we will leave the extreme North Island tomorrow. It seems that there is no chance for us to participate in the auction." Li Ziyu's head was still nodding along with the yin and yang pill. He could not help but show a little embarrassed expression. He thought in his heart, "Why don't you take out the yin and yang pill earlier? Who is so free to expel the two major chambers of commerce? Brother Lin, let's discuss it. Can you keep the yin and yang pill first?" If it is thrown around, it will affect its value if it is damaged. Moreover, if it is not stored in a jade bottle, it will easily lose its medicinal properties. Li Ziyu had already regarded this pill as his own. Seeing that Lin Yi did not take it seriously, he really could not bear it. He subconsciously opened his mouth to persuade him. After saying that, he realized that this was not the main point. The main point was how to buy the pill. That's right. Brother Lin, I think it would be a pity if the Northern Islands auction didn't have the 5 Elements Chamber of Commerce and the All-Path Chamber of Commerce. It would certainly make the auction lose a lot of its splendor. So, what happened just now? What happened just now? Why can't I remember? Li Ziyu said seriously at first. Then he acted as if he had lost his memory. Wasn't it just pretending to be stupid? Who didn't know how to do that? Lin Yi did not pay attention to him. He turned his head to Kai Zhongyang and Shang Wani and said, "Two brothers, hurry up and pack up. Since they do not welcome us, we do not need to wait until tomorrow. Let's go back to the ancient battleship tonight. We can sleep more comfortably on the ship." Kai Zhongyang and Shang Wani were still a little confused. They did not know how Lin Yi took out a yin and yang pill. However, this matter was not important. What was important was that Li Ziyu obviously did not want to argue with them. The matter of the yang pole grass should also be over. Originally, the two of them were already overjoyed. However, when they heard that Lin Yi was going to leave, they immediately restrained their emotions. Their expressions also became quite calm. They were both old foxes. How could they not understand such a small matter? Chapter 58-89. Shang Wani also looked dejected. He nodded and said, "President Kai, then I will go back and pack up first. See you on the ship later." Li Ziyu wanted to cry but had no tears. Although life is like a play and it all depends on acting, aren't you two old men acting too fake? Can you keep that smile at the corner of your mouth first? If he could rob it, Li Ziyu might directly rob it. The problem was that the elixir was in the hands of Lin Yi. He was worried that if he moved, the yin and yang pill would be destroyed by Lin Yi in an instant. This was the only elixir that could save his old man at present. If it was destroyed because of his impulsiveness, he would not be able to forgive himself. Fortunately, Li Ziyu had a good brain and was a straightforward person. He knew that the reason why Lin Yi took out the yin and yang pill was to talk about a deal. Now he was being difficult just to vent his anger. So he simply stepped forward and cupped his fists and bowed. "Brother Lin, Vice President Kai, Vice President Shang, Li Ziyu was wrong just now. Please forgive me." It was not easy for the dignified young island master to do this. If they continued to force him, even if Li Ziyu gave in for Li Zixiang, he would definitely hold a grudge in his heart in the future. Unless Lin Yi and the others didn't stay in the extreme North Island anymore, they would definitely be retaliated in the open and in the dark. "Brother Lin, don't lower yourself to my level. Because of my old man's injury, I am also burning with anxiety. So when I heard that the life-saving thing is gone, it is inevitable that my mood is bad. If I have offended you in any way, I will treat everyone to a drink as an apology. This yin and yang pill, no matter how much you offer, I, Li Ziyu, will buy it." Li Ziyu, who straightened up, was quite sincere. He had also spread out what he could say. Now it was up to Lin Yi's answer. Of course, Lin Yi also knew when to stop. When it came to taking advantage of others, it might seem like he was gaining an advantage on the surface, but in reality, it was hard to say how much of a loss he would suffer. Honestly speaking, Lin Yi admired this Li Ziyu a little. At least when he was in an absolute advantage, he didn't kill him because of his personal feelings. Therefore, after he kept the yin and yang pill into the jade bottle, he smiled and said, "I can naturally understand young island master Li's concern for his father. If not, I wouldn't have taken out the yin and yang pill. On account of young island master Li's filial piety, I'll pretend that nothing happened just now. I won't auction this yin and yang pill." Li Ziyu knew there was a chance when he heard that. He immediately laughed and said, "Brother Lin, calling me young island lord is too formal. Why don't you just call me by my name? Li Ziyu, it's very easy to say. We're all friends, so everything can be discussed, right?" Brother Li is indeed a straightforward person. Lin Yi found it funny in his heart. This young island lord's character was quite good. He didn't stand on ceremony and changed his words. "Since Brother Li has said that we're all friends, then this yin and yang pill naturally belongs to you." Li Ziyu caught the jade bottle that Lin Yi threw over in a daze. He still didn't dare to believe it. "Yin and yang pill, I got it just like that?" He subconsciously opened the jade bottle and took a look. Yes, it was indeed the yin and yang pill. Moreover, it was of special quality with 3 elixir halos. Even the young island lord of the extreme North Island rarely saw such a top-grade elixir. "Brother Lin, how many spirit jades do you need for this elixir? Or do you need anything in exchange? Just tell me. As long as I can get it, I will definitely get it for you. Li Ziyu forcefully suppressed the excitement in his heart. He took a deep breath and said solemnly. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, Brother Li, you're treating me like an outsider. This yin and yang pill can be considered compensation from the 5 elements commerce for the yang pole grass. As you said, we're all friends. There's no point in talking about these small details. A yang pole grass and a special quality yin and yang pill. Could the value of the two be the same? If it was in the trade fair, even if he used 100 yang pole grass to exchange for this special quality yin and yang pill, there would still be people who would agree. As long as he had the 100 yang pole grass, it would be fine. Lin Yi's favor was definitely huge. Li Ziyu had no choice but to accept this favor. Unless he didn't want to save his old man. Brother Lin, since you've put it that way, I won't be unreasonable. From now on you're my brother. If you need anything, just tell me. As a brother, I won't say no. Li Ziyu patted his chest and said solemnly. It could be seen that Li Ziyu's words were quite serious. Lin Yi was also slightly moved. A yin and yang pill that was insignificant to him, if he could gain a person's sincere friendship, it would be worth a lot more than tens of millions of spirit jades. Since we're brothers, there's no need to say anything more. Lin Yi also smiled faintly and reached out his hand to pat Li Ziyu's. The two of them had an inexplicable feeling of appreciation for each other. Li Ziyu was in a good mood. He took out a jade token and handed it to Lin Yi, saying, Brother Lin, I won't give you anything else. This jade token is reserved for the auction box of the Li family in the extreme north. You can use any of the private boxes from VIP box 1 to 10, even if it's reserved by others. In addition, this is also a VIP token of the extreme north island. As long as you spend anything on the extreme north island, you can enjoy a 40% discount. This was a good thing. At least it could provide a lot of convenience. Lin Yi immediately accepted it with a smile, saying, Thank you, Brother Li. It just so happens that I want a private box to participate in the auction. It would be impolite to refuse. You said it yourself. We're brothers, there's nothing much to say. It's just a jade token. If I had to say, this thing isn't even enough to smell the yin and yang pill. Li Ziyu laughed and waved his hand. In just a few words, it was as if he had known Lin Yi for many years. He spoke very casually. Zheng Dongjue saw that Li Ziyu was very happy, so he carefully came over and asked, Young Island Master, since the matter just now has been settled, do you think our pill hall doesn't need to leave? And my cousin's grandnephew? Li Ziyu glanced at Lin Yi. If Lin Yi had the intention to let them go, he didn't mind doing him another favor. Unfortunately, Lin Yi turned his head and had no intention of caring about this matter. In this way, Li Ziyu naturally understood what to do. His face immediately darkened and he said, Your pill hall still has to leave. We'll talk about it when the pill god comes in the future. As for the two of them, they dared to deceive and use this young master. It's already giving them face by not killing them on the spot. You'd better pray for more luck. Chapter 5890. Brother Li, please go ahead. When the island master recovers, I will pay him a visit. Lin Yi smiled and cupped his fists. The island master of the extreme north island was not someone anyone could meet. However, in his opinion, it was very normal. The reason why he paid a visit was because of Li Ziyu. Otherwise, who would be so happy to look for trouble? The two did not continue to talk. Li Ziyu was indeed in a hurry to go home to save the old man. Therefore he took the yin and yang elixir and left with the northern guard. Zheng Dongjue also left in a daze. He and the people of the Dan Hall could only stay on the extreme north island for one night. If they could not find a solution before dawn, everyone, including Li Zhaoyi, would be expelled from the extreme north island by the northern guard. If that really happened, his position as the deputy hall master of the Dan Hall would come to an end. He would be drowned by the people of the Dan Hall even if he did not atone for his sins with his death. Ho Guanqi, who was a good friend of Lin Yi, might be the only one who could stay in the extreme north island. Maybe when he returned, Zheng Dongjue's position as the deputy hall master would be replaced by Ho Guanqi. He could not sit still and wait for death. He had to find a way to reverse the situation. In any case, he had to discuss with Tong Wulsui first. After Li Ziyu returned, he immediately fed the yin and yang elixir to Li Zaixiang. After the elixir dissolved, it quickly took effect. Especially this yin and yang elixir was a top-grade elixir. Its effect was even more extraordinary. In less than 30 minutes, Li Zaixiang's injury had recovered by 70% to 80%. Seeing that Li Zaixiang's breath was becoming more and more stable, Li Ziyu's worries were finally swept away. He was naturally more grateful to Lin Yi. If Lin Yi did not take out the yin and yang elixir, Li Zixiang estimated that he could only hold on for 7 or 8 days at most. For the entire extreme North Island, the island master was an important figure. Even if he did not manage the affairs and cultivated in seclusion all year round, he was still a strong deterrent. If he lost Li Zixiang, Li Ziyu knew that he could not support the extreme North Island. "Old man, have you recovered? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" Li Ziyu had been guarding his father from the side. When he saw Li Zixiang open his eyes, he immediately moved forward with a smile on his face. However, when he opened his mouth, he forcefully restrained his smile and pretended to be indifferent as he casually asked. Li Zixiang pretended not to see the fleeting smile on his face. This kid had been like this since he was young. He would never tell him what he was thinking. Li Zixiang could only play along. "It's all right. I'm more or less healed. Kid, you're pretty good this time. You found the yin and yang pill for me so quickly. You've made some progress." The corners of Li Zixiang's mouth curled into a faint smile, but it quickly disappeared. He spoke with the same indifferent expression. This pair of father and son were the type of people who would die if they didn't put on an act. Fortunately, no outsiders saw them, otherwise they would definitely treat them as a joke. Li Ziyu snorted twice and said, "Of course. Don't you see who did it? This kind of small matter, I can just casually arrange someone to go out and settle it. Only you would think that it's difficult. Alright, since you're fine, I'll go out and find some friends to play. It's really unlucky. I was originally prepared to be the Island Lord, but it seems that the word, Island Lord, in front of the title will have to be used for many years. Brat, if you want to be the Island Lord, just say it. At most, I'll be the Island Lord. How about it? Do you want to do it?" Li Zixiang glared at his son, but he was very touched in his heart. Although the yin and yang pill wasn't a heaven-defying pill, because the two main ingredients were very difficult to find, and the refining conditions were also quite harsh, it wasn't something that could be casually arranged by someone. Don't be fooled by Li Ziyu's understatement as if it was very easy. Li Zixiang knew in his heart that it definitely wasn't that easy. What was even more rare was that Li Ziyu actually brought back a special grade top-grade yin and yang pill. This was the most important thing. Because Li Zixiang had been injured for a long time, he had been suppressing and delaying it, causing his injuries to worsen very quickly. If Shang Wani's injuries, which had killed him in 24 hours on the ancient battleship, were 10 points, then Li Zixiang's injuries, which he had suppressed for so long, were already 90 points. Even if Li Ziyu could obtain a top-grade yin and yang pill, it would only allow Li Zixiang to recover 70 to 80%, but he would never have the chance to fully recover. Even if he could survive this time, his lifespan would be greatly shortened. At most, he would only have 10 to 20 years left, not to mention the middle grade. Fortunately, Li Ziyu didn't know where he got the yin and yang pill from. It was actually a top-grade yin and yang pill. Not only did it heal Li Zixiang's injuries after he recovered, his strength might even improve. This was really a blessing in disguise. Li Ziyu curled his lips in disdain and said, "Old man, you are the Island Lord, but in the end, you are still in charge of me. In the end, I am the scapegoat and you are the one showing off. TSK, do you really think I'm stupid? I'll just wait slowly. When you are completely finished, then I will justifiably become my Island Lord. Brat, do you believe that I won't beat you up? I am so handsome and elegant, which eye of yours can see that I look like an old man. In the past I saw that you were young, so I endured it. Now that you are not young, I can't bear it anymore." Li Zixiang scolded with a smile and stood up as if he was going to beat someone up. Li Ziyu rushed out and shouted as he ran, "You damn old man, I just saved you and you want to beat me up. If I had known earlier, I would have put some laxatives in the yin and yang elixir. You damn old man, you'll die of diarrhea." Before his voice fell, Li Ziyu had already rushed out of the courtyard where Li Zixiang was. At this time, a happy smile appeared on his face. Looking at Li Zixiang's appearance, he knew that his injuries were not serious. He could also play in peace. In the room, Li Zixiang's face also showed a smile that was very similar to Li Ziyu's. If someone could see these two people's smiling faces at the same time, they could be sure that these two strange father and son were definitely biological. Li Ziyu, who was in a good mood, went out of the house. His trusted northern guard followed him. One of them stepped forward and asked, "Young Island Lord, is the Island Lord all right?" Chapter 5891. The northern guard next to him snickered secretly. They were all old members of the Li family. Of course, they knew how the father and son got along. However, no one would expose Li Ziyu. He was obviously very filial to Li Ziyu, but he had to act like a disobedient and unfilial son in front of him. Within the Li family, if anyone said that Li Ziyu was filial, he would definitely be angry. But outside, if anyone said that he was filial, he would be very happy. This kind of unpredictable mind, if it was not an old man who had followed him for many years, they would definitely think that he was a schizophrenic fool. Young master, what should we do with the two guys you locked up? They dared to play with you like a monkey. Why don't we just kill them? The confidant of the Northern Guard mentioned Zheng Dongxing and his son again. They dared to fool the young master of the Li family in the extreme North Island. Li Ziyu was not angry, but the people around him wanted to cut the two guys into pieces. Li Ziyu slapped his forehead. Only now did he remember that there were still two bastards locked up. He was in a really good mood, so he did not want to argue with Zheng Dongxing and his son. If it was not for the fact that Zheng Dongxing and his son were targeting Lin Yi and the others, maybe he would have let them go. After thinking for a while, Li Ziyu immediately said, "These two fellows are not good people. Instruct the brothers who are guarding them to beat them up a few times a day. It's best to beat them until their mothers can't recognize them. But don't beat them to death. When it's about time, feed them a pill. Do you understand what I mean?" "Yes, I will tell them now." As a confidant, the Northern Guard certainly knew what Li Ziyu meant. After all, the young master of the Li family was a relatively kind-hearted person. For those who offended him, he just needed to torture them and teach them a lesson. If it were someone else who was more ruthless, even if they didn't kill the father and son of the Zheng family, they would definitely cripple their cultivation first and then cripple them. Perhaps they would even be chopped up and fed to dogs in the end. Li Ziyu thought for a moment and added, "Let's do it this way first. When the auction is over, I will see how it goes. I'll ask my Lin brothers later and see if he has any ideas. If he wants to kill these two guys, it'll save us a lot of trouble." Understood. The North Guard bowed and agreed. In his heart, he was thinking that he should tell his men not to offend Lin Yi. He even had to pay attention to the people around him. Otherwise, if they offended the young island master, although they wouldn't die, they would definitely be very unlucky. At the same time, Zheng Dongjue finally met up with Tong Wulsuo. The agitated Zheng Dongjue did not have time to talk nonsense, so he went straight to the point and immediately asked, "Wulsuo, how do you think we should deal with this matter?" Tong Wulsuo frowned slightly as he paced back and forth in the room. His plan was originally perfect, but for some reason he kept making mistakes and ended up in such a passive situation. Originally, he wanted to make a fuss about Lin Yi's Wangshan elixir and attack Hou Guanqi's position in the alchemy hall. He did not expect that Hou Guanqi would be fine, but Zheng Dongjue would soon lose his footing in the alchemy hall. After Tong Wulsuo stood still, he bowed slightly to Zheng Dongjue and said, "Deputy Hall Master, this matter can be big or small. Let's not talk about how to save Master Zheng and young Master Zheng. The first thing we need to deal with is how to solve the crisis of our alchemy hall. If the alchemy hall is expelled, then the reputation of the alchemy hall will be completely destroyed. Even if the hall master does not pursue the matter, it will be impossible for us to continue to stand in the alchemy hall." Zheng Dongjue said impatiently, "I know all this. Hurry up and tell me what to do. We don't have much time. If we don't have countermeasures before dawn, we will be completely finished." Tong Wulsuo said unhurriedly, "Because of this, we have to deal with it calmly. First of all, Deputy Hall Master, you have to find the connections of Zhongdao and ask them to mediate at all costs. Secondly, Master Li Zaoi is also a member of our alchemy hall. Although she was implicated this time, she will also be in trouble if the alchemy hall is in trouble. She also has to come forward for this matter." Zheng Dongjue didn't wait for Tong Wulsuo to finish and interrupted him with a frown. "It's not a problem for me to find someone to mediate, but Li Zaoi is not someone I can persuade, and if she comes forward, it may not be of much use." Tong Wulsuo lowered his head and explained calmly, "Li Zaoi's connections may not be as deep as the Deputy Hall Master, but her ability is there. A genius mystic-grade alchemist, there will still be many people who are willing to gain her favor. Moreover, her purpose this time is to participate in the auction. If she doesn't show up, she will be expelled. I think she will know how to weigh the pros and cons." He had to admit that Tong Wulsuo's analysis was very reasonable. Zheng Dongjue thought that his future was dark before, but after listening to him, he suddenly felt that there was still a great chance to save it. "Wulsuo, you did a good job. Without further ado, I will go to Li Zaoi now, and then visit Steward Song overnight. As long as Steward Song is willing to say a few good words in front of the Li family, maybe it can ease the relationship between us and young Island Master Li." After having a countermeasure, Zheng Dongjue immediately wanted to take action. There was not much time for him to waste before dawn. Tong Wulsuo quickly raised his hand to stop Zheng Dongjue and said, "Deputy Hall Master, please wait a moment. I haven't finished speaking yet." "Say it." Zheng Dongjue realized that he was too eager. He now valued Tong Wulsuo very much, and whether he could turn the situation around was of great importance. He did not dare to make any mistakes, so he looked at Tong Wulsuo very solemnly. Tong Wulsuo sorted out his thoughts that were interrupted just now and said, "Vice Hall Master, if Island Master Li didn't get the Yin Yang elixir this time, it would be useless for us to do anything. It's because Lin Yi took out the Yin Yang elixir that we have a chance to redeem ourselves." Hearing Lin Yi's name, Zheng Dongjue suddenly frowned and said with displeasure, "Why, do you think I should thank Lin Yi?" Tong Wulsuo smiled bitterly and said, "Of course not. What I mean is that after Lin Yi takes out the Yin Yang pill, his influence on the Li family in the extreme north will be very great. If we just do what we just discussed, no matter what the final result is, as long as Lin Yi says a word, all our efforts will be in vain." Chapter 5892. If it wasn't for Tong Wulsuo's reminder, Zheng Dongjue really wouldn't have thought of this. Now that he understood, his expression changed. "What should we do? With that bastard Lin Yi's personality, he definitely wouldn't give up the chance to kick us when we're down. Therefore this subordinate is going to talk about the third point." Tong Wulsuo sighed in his heart. His plan had always been to deal with Lin Yi, but now he had to rely on Lin Yi to help him out. As a strategist, it really made him feel disheartened. "Vice Head, it's not impossible to ask Lin Yi not to obstruct us or even say a few good words for us. In the Dan Hall, there are still people who have good relationships with Lin Yi. Not to mention the independent Five Elements Commerce Kai Zhongyang, just the Dan God's disciple Ho Guanqi is enough for Lin Yi to speak for the Dan Hall." Tong Wulsuo's thoughts were very clear. He wanted to make use of all the people and relationships he could before daybreak. Who cared if they were friends or foes before? Zheng Dongjue felt disgusted as if he had eaten a housefly. Did he have to beg Ho Guanqi to speak for him as the vice head of the Dan Hall? A long time ago he and Zhang Liju's disciples were on bad terms, and after Lin Yi appeared, their relationship became even worse. This time he even tried to plot against Kai Zhongyang and Ho Guanqi. It was fine to ask Li Zhaoyi for help, but asking Ho Guanqi was a bit too much. Tong Wulsuo sighed in his heart. Zheng Dongjue's expression clearly showed what he was thinking. As far as he was concerned, those who did big things didn't care about trifles, and it was necessary to be flexible. In such an emergency, asking Ho Guanqi for help was definitely a good thing. With Ho Guanqi's personality, as long as Zheng Dongjue let go of his arrogance, there was a high chance that he would ask Lin Yi for the Dan Hall. Zheng Dongjue didn't say anything, so Tong Wulsuo could only speak up himself. "Vice Head, I know Ho Guanqi. Why don't you let me do this?" In fact, the most effective way would be for Zheng Dongjue to do it himself. Tong Wulsuo came here in secret, and he would try not to show himself if he could. Tong Wulsuo's identity meant that he wouldn't have many interactions with Ho Guanqi. Unfortunately, Zheng Dongjue wasn't a responsible man, so there was nothing he could do. Hearing Tong Wulsuo's suggestion, Zheng Dongjue actually breathed a sigh of relief and nodded. "All right, then I'll leave Ho Guanqi to you. I'll go ask Li Zhaoyi myself. Is there anything else? If not, we'll split up." If it weren't for the fact that Tong Wulsuo's identity wasn't enough to talk to Li Zhaoyi directly, Zheng Dongjue might have let him do this as well. Tong Wulsuo wondered if he was lucky or unlucky to be following a master like this. No matter what, the decision was made now. The two didn't say much and split up to find their own targets. Zheng Dongjue went to find Li Zhaoyi first, but unfortunately, Li Zhaoyi didn't return. He encountered such a small probability event. His luck was really bad today. He had no choice but to find Steward Song first and talk to Li Zhaoyi when he came back. Although it was already night, there were many people who came to visit Steward Song. Zheng Dongjue was also secretly complaining. Those who came to the extreme North Island were basically big shots from all sides. In terms of status, no one was much worse than anyone else. He couldn't cut the line even if he wanted to, so he could only wait obediently. Fortunately, the people who came to visit Steward Song basically just paid a visit, pulled some strings and then left. After waiting for more than half an hour, it was finally Zheng Dongjue's turn, who was burning with anxiety. After entering the living room, Steward Song sat on the main seat without any intention of standing up to greet them. Zheng Dongjue had a favor to ask, so he could only quickly walk forward with a smile and cupped his fists to greet him. "Steward Song, long time no see. You look more energetic. It seems that your cultivation has improved again." Steward Song raised his eyes and glanced at Zheng Dongjue indifferently. "Deputy Hall Master Zheng, my aptitude is poor. I haven't made any progress for many years. I'm really embarrassing myself in front of you." Zheng Dongjue was speechless. The atmosphere of this conversation was not quite right. I heard that Deputy Hall Master Zheng schemed against my young island master as soon as you came. You're really capable in scheming. Compared to Deputy Hall Master Zheng, I'm really old. Meeting you today can be considered as ending our relationship of many years. Alright, since Vice Hall Master Zheng is leaving tomorrow morning, you should go back and pack your things. This old man is busy with work, so I will send you off here. Steward Song said coldly and raised his hand, intending to send the guest off. Zheng Dongjue turned pale with fright. He thought that Steward Song was willing to see him, so there was still some hope. Why was he chasing him away after just a few words? Steward Song, we've been friends for many years. Won't you feel regretful if we can't see each other in the future? Zheng Dongjue wasn't very scheming, but he was very familiar with this kind of interaction. As he spoke, his body had already rushed forward. Before Steward Song could send the guest off, Zheng Dongjue reached out and grabbed his hand. A green spiritual jade card was secretly sent into Steward Song's palm. On the surface, it looked like two old friends who hadn't seen each other for many years were greeting each other warmly. Steward Song's eyes swept over the trace of green in his palm. His face instantly turned as white as the spring wind, and he revealed a smile that Zheng Dongjue was familiar with. Deputy Hall Master Zheng is right. We've been old friends for many years, and we might not have the opportunity to meet each other in the future. Before we part, we should have a good gathering. Steward Song smiled as he retracted his hand and put away the spiritual jade card that was worth 500,000 spiritual jade without anyone noticing. Someone bring some tea for Deputy Hall Master Zheng and more spiritual fruits and pastries. Why don't you have any eyesight? You're all trash. Steward Song raised his voice and said to the attendant outside the door. Then he said politely to Zheng Dongjue, Deputy Hall Master Zheng, please take a seat. Don't blame me for neglecting you. We've been old friends for many years. Let's have a good chat about the past. We might not have the opportunity to do so in the future. Zheng Dongjue's heart was filled with hatred. He knew that this old thing meant that the spiritual jade card was only enough for him to have a cup of tea and some pastries. Then everyone could reminisce about the past. As for other matters, he didn't have to say it out loud. Fortunately, Zheng Dongjue also knew that this old thing with the surname Song was someone who was greedy for money. As long as there was spiritual jade, he would be willing to help. Chapter 58-93. Now that he had offered 500,000 spiritual jades, it was only enough for a cup of tea. It was obvious that this old thing had grasped his weakness and took the opportunity to raise the price. Unfortunately, Zheng Dongjue had no choice but to agree. After secretly clenching his teeth, Zheng Dongjue secretly sent out a cyan spiritual jade card. This time he had brought enough spiritual jades to the northernmost island. However, when he was on the ancient warship, he had already spent 15 million spiritual jades in order to cheat Lin Yi. Now, he had to give away another 1,500,000 spiritual jades. Even he couldn't help but feel a little distressed. Seeing that Steward Song was satisfied with the spiritual jade card, Zheng Dongjue forced a smile and said respectfully, Brother Song, I won't say any nonsense. This matter is really just a misunderstanding. We are also old friends. For the sake of our many years of friendship, you must help your brother. Steward Song frowned slightly. He was a greedy person, but since he had taken the spiritual jades, he would still do something. Of course, he knew what Zheng Dongjue wanted him to do, but he really couldn't guarantee this matter. As for the many years of friendship? Without spiritual jades, who would be friends with you? Brother Zheng, in the northernmost island, other matters can be settled with just a word from you. However, this matter concerns the young island master. To tell you the truth, this matter is not something I can interfere with. At most, I can help you put in a good word for the young island master. Whether it succeeds or not depends on the young island master's mood. Caretaker Song was rather straightforward. At this point in time, only a fool would want to take on more spirit jades and try to take on everything. However, when Zheng Dongjue heard this, he felt relieved. At least, since Steward Song said this, it meant that he would really do it and not just do it half-heartedly. After expressing his gratitude, Zheng Dongjue pondered for a moment and said, Brother Song, I know that it is very difficult for you to plead for the young island master. However, I still have a presumptuous request. If it is convenient, can Brother Song help introduce me to the young island master? There are some words. Steward Song immediately revealed a displeased expression and said, Brother Zheng, I'm only willing to risk offending the young island master to help you on account of our many years of friendship. If you're thinking of going overboard, don't blame me for not helping you. It didn't matter if he put in a good word for Zheng Dongjue in front of Li Ziyu. It wouldn't affect Steward Song's position. However, if he helped Zheng Dongjue, there was a high chance that he would get into trouble and make Li Ziyu unhappy. Of course, Steward Song wouldn't do such a thing even if he was beaten to death. Zheng Dongjue spat harshly in his heart. He thought to himself, what kind of friendship are you looking at? I have to charge 500,000 spirit jades to eat some trash tea and snacks. You old thing, you are simply black from the bottom of your heart. However, he also understood that the surname Song would definitely not help him meet Li Ziyu. No matter how much spirit jades he offered, it wouldn't be of any use. Without a choice, Zheng Dongjue could only settle for the next best thing. He cupped his fists and pleaded, Brother Song, then please help me pass a message to the young island master. Perhaps the young island master will change after hearing it. Steward Song calculated in his heart. This matter didn't matter, so he nodded and said, tell me about it first. If it isn't any bad news, I will definitely help you as a brother. If he had such a brother, Zheng Dongjue felt that he would be better off being a lone star. After looking around, Zheng Dongjue apologized and approached Steward Song. He whispered in his ear, Brother Song, actually the person who came from our pill hall is Master Li Ziyu. When the inaudible voice entered Steward Song's ears, his expression changed slightly. He asked solemnly, is what you said true? It's absolutely true. Zheng Dongjue was equally solemn. He originally wanted to do as Tong Wulsui said and persuade Li Ziyu to come forward and ask for help. However, he felt that there was no need to go through so much trouble now because he, Zheng Dongjue, knew a piece of information that even Tong Wulsui didn't know. He reckoned that after Li Ziyu heard it, he would definitely consider it carefully. Alright. I understand this matter. I will go find the young island master now. Brother Zheng, you go back first and wait for my news. Steward Song swept away his previous lazy look, and his entire aura became sharp. After he finished speaking, Steward Song ordered his men to close the door and reject all guests. He would not be receiving anyone today. Zheng Dongjue hurriedly got up and cupped his fists. In that case, I will go back and wait for Brother Song's good news. Goodbye. After returning, Zheng Dongjue went to look at Li Ziyu's residence again. Whether it was to ask for her help to find someone or her information was leaked, he had to mention it subtly first. Unfortunately, Li Ziyu still didn't return. As for Tong Wulsui, he also didn't return. Zheng Dongjue didn't know if his matter with Hou Guanqi was successful. It had been a long time, so there should be news from him by now. Zheng Dongjue suppressed his anxiety and paced back and forth in the room for about half an hour. After that, a northern army guard rushed to him and informed him, the young island master wants you to go there immediately. Zheng Dongjue was overjoyed. He knew that Steward Song had brought the message. The 5 million spiritual jades were worth it. As for whether to ask or invite him over, who would care about such a trivial matter? Zheng Dongjue followed the northern army guard to the Li family's residence. He had simulated how to deal with it countless times, but he still didn't have much confidence in himself. Suddenly he felt a little regretful. He should have told Tong Wulsui the news before. At least, Tong Wulsui would know how to make better use of the news and how to answer Li Ziyu's questions. Unfortunately, it was too late now. After arriving at the Li family's residence, someone naturally brought Zheng Dongjue to the living room to see Li Ziyu. After Zheng Dongjue crossed the threshold and confirmed Li Ziyu's position, he quickly lowered his head and bowed respectfully. He cupped his fists and greeted, Zheng Dongjue greets the young island master. If the dignified deputy hall master of the alchemy division was seen bowing and scraping, the reputation of the alchemy division would probably be no better than being expelled from the extreme North Island. Steward Song stood by the side and looked down, pretending not to see Zheng Dongjue. As for Li Ziyu, he sat on the host's seat and waved his hand lazily. There's no need for formalities. You should know why I called you here, right? Thank you for your advice, young island master. I'm very grateful. Zheng Dongjue slightly straightened his body, still looking down and maintaining a humble posture. Chapter 58-94. Zheng Dongjue hurriedly bowed again and cupped his fists. He vowed solemnly, young island master, don't worry. What I said is true. If there is anything that I have deceived young island master, I am willing to be cut into pieces and die. Li Ziyu nodded. It seemed that this old man was not lying since he was willing to make such a vicious oath. I need to tell my old man about this. You guys wait here. Li Ziyu did what he thought. He turned around and went in. Zheng Dongjue wanted to thank Steward Song, but seeing that he had no intention of moving, he probably didn't want to have any communication with Zheng Dongjue here. So the two fell into silence and stood quietly in the living room, waiting for Li Ziyu to come back. Li Ziyu ran to the room where Li Zixiang was in seclusion. He pushed the door open and said, Old man, I have something to talk to you about. Brat, don't you know how to knock before coming in? Do you want me to go crazy again? Li Zixiang glared and scolded, but he didn't care at all. Li Ziyu knew that he had just recovered and wouldn't cultivate again for a while. If he really encountered him in seclusion, Li Ziyu would never do this. If you are so easy to go crazy, then you should just die. Let me ascend to the position of Island Master as soon as possible so that I don't have to help you find elixirs to save your life all day. Li Ziyu didn't care and talked nonsense. In the outside world, which Sun dared to talk to his father like this, he would have been punished 100 times. Li Zixiang scolded with a smile. Brat, you only know how to think about the position of Island Master all day long. Hurry up, don't talk nonsense. Finish the business and get lost. Tiske, do you think this young master wants to come to your broken place? Li Ziyu looked at him with disdain. Then he briefly explained the matter of the Zheng family and Lin Yi. Li Zixiang finally understood that the process of obtaining the yin yang pill was a rather complicated one, but it was still a good thing. If it weren't for the yang pole grass and yin core fruit being refined into a yin yang pill by Lin Yi, it wouldn't have been easy for him to obtain a special quality yin yang pill. It was just a stalk of extreme yang grass and a core yin fruit. Even if the alchemists of the extreme North Island were able to successfully refine them, the quality could not be guaranteed. Brat, you've handled things pretty well. Although you're a little too lenient, it's still the eve of the auction. It's good enough that no lives are lost. After Li Zixiang finished listening, he lightly commented. If it was him, the island lord, Zheng Dongxing and Jing Tianqing's bones would have already turned cold. How could they be so lucky to be locked up in prison and waste food? However, he was very satisfied with Li Ziyu's way of dealing with it. The extreme North Island was always a money-squandering place. It was necessary to maintain a good relationship with all forces. A benevolent island lord might not have enough deterrence, but it was enough to maintain the prosperity of the extreme North Island. Old man, are you listening to what I'm saying? I'm not asking you to comment on what I've done. I'm talking about the Hall of Elixirs. Li Ziyu said with a face of dissatisfaction, but in his heart, he was laughing at his father's small compliment. Li Zixiang laughed and his aura slowly rose. It's just a small vice head of the Hall of Elixirs. It doesn't matter how we deal with him. Even if Zhang Liju came personally, he'd have to be polite to us, the extreme North Li house. Who does that Jing guy think he is? Just kill him and feed him to the dogs. Li Ziyu rolled his eyes. Old man, can't you be more serious? Don't bring up that idiot Jing, okay? I'm talking about the disciple of the Pill Saint. Are you really going to kick him out? Isn't that too disrespectful to the pill god Zhang Liju? Dumb kid, don't you know what to do? What's there to ask? But if the girl you're talking about is really Zhang Liju's disciple, I can let her diagnose me and see if my injuries can be healed. Li Zixiang smiled. He indeed wasn't afraid of Zhang Liju, but there was no need to offend him. Li Ziyu was startled. The old man's injuries hadn't healed yet? Your injuries haven't healed yet? Even the special yin-yang pill can't heal you? Li Ziyu was panicking inside, but on the surface he pretended that he didn't care. Only when he spoke, there was a slight tremble that even he himself didn't notice. It completely revealed his feelings. Li Zixiang, on the other hand, could tell that he felt warmth in his heart. He laughed loudly. Don't worry, I won't pass the island master position to you so soon. If you want to take over, you'll have to wait. Let that girl have a look. It's mainly some old injuries from the past, and some hidden injuries from training. If she really is the disciple of the Pill Saint, then these small problems can naturally be healed. Tiske, I'm young and strong, can't I wait? What a joke. Li Ziyu waved his hand in disdain, but in his heart, he was greatly relieved. As long as it wasn't the injuries from the previous cultivation deviation, it would be fine. Li Zixiang waved his hand. All right, go ask that girl to have a look. After that, you can do whatever you want with the elixir hall, don't worry. After a slight pause, Li Zixiang reminded, no matter what you're planning to do, it's best to inform the elixir master Lin Yi. To be able to create a special yin-yang pill by himself, this person is definitely not simple. He might even be the next Zhang Liju. It's best to be able to get to know someone like this. And from what you've said, he's also an extremely good friend. Remember, people who work for benefits can betray each other at any time. So, you have to make friends with people like him sincerely. Don't try to tie him down with some benefits. Damn old man, you're getting more and more naggy. Do I need you to teach me how to make friends? Don't look down on me, okay? Li Ziyu interrupted impatiently, but in his heart, he felt that what the old man said was very reasonable. Otherwise, he wouldn't have waited until he was almost done before interrupting. Li Zixiang paused slightly, then smiled faintly. Indeed, his son was already grown up. No matter what, he had to let him think and decide by himself. The future island master of the extreme North Island wasn't a puppet without his own thoughts. As a father, all he had to do was to silently watch his son's growth. When the time was right, he would help him get rid of some troubles that shouldn't appear around him. Chapter 58-95. Back in the living room, Steward Song and Zheng Dongjue were still in the same posture as when Li Ziyu left. After Li Ziyu sat down, he said to Steward Song, "Uncle Song, why are you still standing? I already said that you don't need to be restrained at home. Hurry up and sit, otherwise if the old man finds out, he will beat me up." Steward Song laughed and said, "Young master, you don't have to worry about me. I'm used to standing. Sitting is uncomfortable. My arms and legs are old, it's better to stand more." "Uncle Song, how are you old? You look much younger than my old man," Li Ziyu said with a laugh and no longer cared about him. Steward Song was the steward of the northernmost island. At the same time, he was also the steward of the Li family. Although he was still a servant, Li Ziyu had never treated him as a servant. He had always been very upright. Wherever the Li family was, he, as a steward, would never sit down no matter how many times he said it. Li Ziyu was also used to it. Anyway, he would say it every time. It would be strange if he didn't say it. He turned to look at Zheng Dongjue and said, "Deputy Hall Master Zheng, my old man said that he is still a little uncomfortable. If what you said before is true, then let the successor of the divine pill medical sage, Li Zhaoyi, come and treat my old man. Whether it is true or false, we will know after a test. If it is false, you know the consequences." Zheng Dongjue quickly bowed and said, "No problem, I will go back and find Master Li Zhaoyi to diagnose Island Master Li. Young Island Master, please wait for a moment." At this time, of course, he would not be stupid to talk about any conditions. As long as Li Zhaoyi could cure Li Zaixiang, then everything before would naturally be written off. Moreover, this was much better than letting Li Zhaoyi appear in public and use a favor in exchange for a chance to plead. Zheng Dongjue couldn't help but praise his wit. After Zheng Dongjue left, Li Ziyu got up and said to Steward Song, "Uncle Song, I have to go out. You wait here. If Zheng Dongjue and the others come, you can directly bring that girl to find my old man. I should be back soon." "Yes, young master." Steward Song bowed respectfully and agreed. He did not ask where Li Ziyu was going or what he was going to do. He played his role as a servant to the extreme. Li Ziyu nodded. As he walked out, he didn't forget to say, "Uncle Song, if you have nothing to do, just sit for a while and drink some tea. Don't keep standing, it makes me tired." "Yes, young master, I understand." When Li Ziyu went out, of course he went to find Lin Yi. Originally, he could let someone bring a message for such a trivial matter, or he could write a letter clearly stating the reason and ask someone to send it. As the dignified young island master of the extreme North Island, there was no need for him to personally make a trip for such a trivial matter. However, he remembered his old man's words. Since he really wanted to make friends, he had to show his sincerity. The Zheng family was insignificant. Li Ziyu didn't want to have any grudges with Lin Yi because of such a small matter. It was best to make things clear face to face. When Lin Yi heard that Li Ziyu came again, he was a little surprised. This was the first time he came to get the yin and yang elixir. After that, he came to drink some wine. This was the third time today, right? This person was a little too enthusiastic. In any case, Li Ziyu was considered a good guy. Lin Yi also felt that he was a person who could be a friend, so he immediately came out to welcome him. "Brotherly, it's so late. Is there anything?" Lin Yi saw Li Ziyu coming in with a few guards when he came out. He immediately cupped his fists and asked. Li Ziyu didn't stand on ceremony. He laughed and pulled Lin Yi and said, "There is a small matter. Let's go in and talk. Is it convenient?" Lin Yi nodded and let Li Ziyu in. After they sat down, they didn't talk nonsense and went straight to the point. Li Ziyu scratched his head and said without beating around the bush, "Brother Lin, it's like this. I want to ask if you have any opinion on how to deal with the pill hall. Because of some unforeseen events, the original decision may be changed. Of course, if Brother Lin feels that it's better to maintain the original judgment, I have no opinion." Lin Yi didn't mind it at all. Ho Guanxi came to greet him just now, asking him to plead for the pill hall when the time was right. After all, Zheng Dongjue didn't represent the pill hall. Li Ziyu taking his anger out on the pill hall because of House Zheng was really wronged. No matter what, the pill hall was founded by Lin Yi's chief master. As the saying goes, don't look at the monk, look at the Buddha. So he was looking for a chance to talk to Li Ziyu about this matter. He didn't expect Li Ziyu to come and bring it up directly. "Brother Li, this matter is up to you. I won't say much. However, the Pill Hall is one of the few organizations on the Heavenly Stage Island. Moreover, Island Master Li is fine. It's good to write off the previous matter. Lin Yi smiled and expressed his attitude. As for the Zheng family, it was not impossible to let them go. Li Ziyu was immediately overjoyed. Brother Lin is indeed a generous person. Since that's the case, I will cancel the punishment of the Pill Hall. Alright, those few fellows from the Zheng family, do you want to banish them alone? Lin Yi wanted to say that it was not so troublesome. Just kill them directly. However, he also saw that Li Ziyu didn't have the intention to kill during the auction on the extreme North Island. At most, he would expel them from the island. Instead of that, it was better to let them go. Because of the expulsion of the 3 people of the Zheng family, Lin Yi was worried that they would go back to the Middle Island and directly find trouble with the Tiandan Pavilion. That would not be good. Although there was still the will of heaven on the Middle Island, it was really hard to guard against him alone. Especially when Han Jingjing's primordial spirit had not returned, he could not make the slightest mistake. In that case, it was more reassuring to keep them under his eyes. Anyway, they were just a few insignificant minions. There was nothing to worry about. If there was a chance, it would be more convenient to get rid of them. Brother Li is a truly benevolent and righteous person. Since the punishment of the Pill Hall has been cancelled, we might as well let them go, lest there is any gossip outside. Anyway, they are just a few insignificant people. It doesn't matter. Lin Yi said with a smile. In his heart, he was guessing how much Zheng Dongjue had paid to make Li Ziyu change his mind. However, Li Ziyu personally came to ask Lin Yi for such a small matter, which made him very touched. This young island master was really a good friend. Lin Yi remembered it in his heart. Chapter 5896. Lin Yi paused, not expecting Li Xiaoyi to be Zhang Liju's inheritor. No wonder this girl was so good at elixir refinement at such a young age. Other than talent, she had the best inheritance. If that was the case, wouldn't Li Xiaoyi be Lin Yi's junior sister? Of course, she could also be a senior sister. He didn't know if Zhang Liju was ranked according to age or who entered the sect first. He had to think about it carefully in the future. He couldn't just be the little disciple everywhere he went, could he? Li Ziyu didn't wait for Lin Yi to react and stood up to leave. Li Xiaoyi should be coming to my house in a bit. My old man has some old injuries on him, and it's a good chance to test out this Pill Saint's inheritor. I'll be heading back now. Brother Lin, come and have a drink with me when you're free. I'll come find you when I'm free. Lin Yi wanted to say that his medical skills weren't bad, and if Li Zaixiang needed it, he could go and take a look as well. But he remembered that the people from the Pill Hall would be there tonight, so he didn't say it. He'd visit Li Zaixiang tomorrow. After leaving the courtyard of the 5 Elements Chamber of Commerce, Li Ziyu rushed back home and saw Zheng Dongjue bringing Li Xiaoyi in. When Zheng Dongjue went back, Li Xiaoyi was back. He didn't say much, just bringing up the name of the Pill Hall, and Li Xiaoyi agreed to come and take a look at Li Zaixiang. He didn't know if she was pure and kind or just stupid. She just didn't want the name of the Pill Hall to be tarnished. No matter what, Zheng Dongjue's goal was achieved, he had done all he could, and all that was left was this final shiver. As long as Li Xiaoyi could show her medical skills, the Pill Hall's crisis, or more accurately, Zheng Dongjue's crisis, would be completely resolved. Li Ziyu was worried about his old man's injuries, and he quickly caught up to Li Xiaoyi. He didn't have time to greet her and brought her to the back. As for Zheng Dongjue, he'd wait in the living room. The Li house's backyard wasn't a place anyone could go. Arriving at the room where Li Zaixiang was in seclusion, Li Xiaoyi greeted him and began to feel Li Zaixiang's pulse. For ordinary injuries, she only needed to look, listen, and ask to cure them. Only for this kind of old and hidden injury, she needed to use genuine qi to feel the pulse in order to clearly grasp the most detailed situation. After a moment, Li Xiaoyi let go of Li Zaixiang's wrist and said with a tranquil expression, "There are 3 old injuries on Island Master Li's body, all of which were caused by serious injuries that were not fully healed in his early years. In addition, there are 6 internal injuries caused by careless cultivation. These old injuries and internal injuries can no longer be healed by ordinary pills and medical techniques. In my opinion, only by using the recovery pill and the acupuncture technique of alloy needles in conjunction with treatment will we have an 80% chance of removing these hidden dangers." Li Zaixiang clapped his hands and said with a smile, "Master Li Xiaoyi is really amazing. You can see my injuries so easily. To be honest, even I don't know it so well. Since Master Li Xiaoyi has a treatment plan, there should be no problem with the treatment, right?" Before Li Xiaoyi could speak, Li Zaixiang said in surprise, "Wait, Master Li Xiaoyi is talking about recovery pill? Can this kind of elixir really be refined?" "Master Li, it seems that you have heard of recovery pill?" Li Xiaoyi was not surprised. As the owner of the extreme North Island, it was not surprising that he knew about this kind of unorthodox elixir. Since you know about recovery pill, it's more convenient to talk about it. Li Zixiang sighed softly and said, if it's recovery pill, I'm afraid it won't be easy. The Li family in the extreme north has also collected this prescription, so I know the difficulty very well. Although Master Li Zhaoyi is here, I don't think he can refine it, right? Li Ziyu hadn't seen the prescription of recovery pill, so he asked curiously, Old man, is the level of recovery pill very high? Is it a level 6 or 7 pill of the profound grade? Or is the main ingredient too rare? Li Zhaoyi explained, the level of recovery pill is not high. It's just a level 1 pill of the profound grade, barely touching the threshold of level 2 of the profound grade. The main ingredient is also okay. It needs 2 kinds of best quality pills, one is the level 1 Jianghu Dan, and the other is the level 7 special quality Great Recover pill. In addition, other auxiliary elixirs are very easy to get. Li Ziyu couldn't help but take a deep breath. How could this girl say these words so casually? What did she mean by the main ingredient was also okay? Was it so easy to get the 7th grade Great Recover pill and the Jianghu Dan of the best quality? Ordinary, medium, or even superior grade Great Recover pill were very common, but the special quality of the best quality Great Recover pill was very rare, not to mention the Jianghu Dan. Even the superior quality was very difficult to see. After a slight pause, Li Zhaoyi continued, in fact, the most troublesome thing about the recovery pill is the refining. This is the same as the yin-yang pill. It needs 2 people to cooperate in the refining. Fortunately, it doesn't need a man and a woman like the yin-yang pill, but the ability of these 2 alchemists must be extremely strong. Without the ability to multitask, it is absolutely impossible to successfully refine. Li Zixiang asked with interest, Master Li Zhaoyi, can you tell me in detail? Although I have the recipe here, I don't know much about this aspect. Li Zhaoyi nodded slightly and said, don't worry, Island Master Li. I originally wanted to explain. To refine the recovery pill, first 2 alchemists need to refine and decompose 2 kinds of best quality pills at the same time, then control the appropriate elixir liquid to fuse with the others. Not only can there be no mistakes during the decomposition, but the amount of the fusion must also be equal to the others. As long as there is a little difference, it is very likely to lead to the failure of the alchemy. I'm already being lenient by saying that they can multitask. In fact, it's not impossible to say that they can multitask 3 times. Li Zixiang shook his head and said, it seems that my injury really can't be cured. Let's forget about this matter. Although Li Zhaoyi didn't say it, Li Zixiang could vaguely guess that if the 2 of them were so distracted in refining the recovery pill, the slightest carelessness was likely to cause a backlash, so he couldn't force them. In terms of difficulty, this recovery pill was comparable to the 3rd or even 4th grade of the mystic level. However, because 2 mystic level 1 alchemists could successfully refine the recovery pill, they might not be able to refine the 2nd grade of the mystic level alone, so it was still counted as a mystic level 1 pill. Chapter 5897. Master Li Zhao, you must have a way, right? With your level of alchemy, as long as you can find a partner, you should be able to successfully refine the recovery pill, right? Li Ziyu didn't bother to hide his feelings and asked quickly. Li Zhaoyi nodded faintly and said, if someone can cooperate with me, of course there is no problem. As for the 7th grade recovery pill and the recovery pill, as long as there are materials, I can also refine them. However, as long as Island Master Li is willing to pay, you should be able to buy these 2 pills. She said this because she knew that Lin Yi had helped people refine the recovery pill on the ancient battleship. Although he didn't reveal the quality of the pill, Li Zhaoyi naturally believed that it was a special grade recovery pill. After all, in the restaurant later, all the pills that Lin Yi took out were of special grade without exception. Thinking of Lin Yi, Li Zhaoyi subconsciously said to Li Zixiang, as for the candidate for alchemy besides me, there is another very suitable candidate. Island Master and young Island Master should be familiar with him, and that is Lin Yi. If Zheng Dongjue hadn't told Li Zhaoyi in detail, she might not have known that Li Ziyu and the others knew about Lin Yi. Now that there was the supreme grade yin and yang pill in front of her, Li Zixiang and Li Ziyu would definitely not refuse if she mentioned Lin Yi. Sure enough, Li Ziyu clapped his hands and said, that's right. Lin Yi's alchemy level is also extremely high. If he and Master Li Zhao cooperate, it will be very easy to refine the recovery pill. Li Zixiang also nodded secretly. It was not strange that Li Zhaoyi and Lin Yi knew each other. They were all on the same boat. It seemed that the 2 of them had a good relationship. In this case, it was necessary to write off the matter of the pill hall. Li Ziyu also had the same thought. He was also wondering if Lin Yi did not pursue the matter at the pill hall because of Li Zhaoyi. However, he did not know that Lin Yi did not care about the Zheng family at all. If you can persuade Lin Yi to help you concoct pills, then Island Master Li's chances of recovery will be very high. If he is unwilling, then forget it. I will use the golden needle acupuncture technique to recuperate for Island Master Li. Although I can't cure those old and hidden injuries, it will make you feel better. Li Ziyu said calmly and then looked at Li Ziyu, meaning that he could go find Lin Yi quickly. Li Ziyu slapped his forehead. He was really busy today. If he had known earlier, he would have brought Lin Yi along. There was no other way. He could only continue to run for the fourth time. Lin Yi had just read a book in the room for a while when he found that young Island Master Li Ziyu had arrived again. Without waiting for him to go out to welcome him, Li Ziyu directly knocked on the door and came in. Brother Lin, I'm sorry to disturb you again. Today I'm here to ask for your help. Please don't decline. Li Ziyu came up and grabbed Lin Yi's arm, saying a lot of things. Lin Yi smiled slightly and said, Brother Li, feel free to speak up. I will definitely not decline if I can help. Why don't you tell me what's the matter first? Li Ziyu's face was beaming with joy. He gave Lin Yi a thumbs up and said, Good brother, good friend. Come, follow me first. I'll tell you in detail on the way. After saying that, he did not allow Lin Yi to object and pulled him out. As he walked, he explained the ins and outs of the matter to Lin Yi. A regeneration pill refined with 2 kinds of medicinal pills as the main ingredients? There is such a medicinal pill? Lin Yi was very surprised when he heard Li Ziyu's method of refining the regeneration pill. He really had never heard of such a prescription. Alchemy was really magical. There were still too many things to learn. Li Ziyu did not have much research on alchemy. He could only repeat it, but he could not discuss the problem of the prescription with Lin Yi. He could only laugh and said, Brother Lin's ability in alchemy is beyond doubt. This time, I want to ask you to cooperate with Master Li Zhao to refine the regeneration pill to treat my old man. Brother Li, you flatter me. I still have to look at the prescription to know if I can refine it. If I can help, I will definitely not decline. Lin Yi knew his own situation. How could he really refine the pill? Without the automatic alchemy system, he couldn't even refine the first grade of the yellow level, let alone the first grade of the mystic level. Cooperating with Li Zhao to refine the pill was courting death. However, the prescription of the regeneration pill could be used for research. Maybe he could refine it by himself, just like refining the yin and yang pill. Since he regarded Li Ziyu as a friend, he certainly had to help him. Li Ziyu felt that it was normal that Lin Yi did not take on everything. If it were him, he would not say anything about a guarantee when the situation was unclear. Because of this, it seemed that Lin Yi was very serious. The two soon came to the room where Li Zixiang was in seclusion. Li Zhaoyi sat calmly on the side. When she saw Lin Yi coming over, she nodded to him. Lin Yi knew that she might be his senior or junior sister, so he also nodded politely in response. Junior Lin Yi greets the island master. Seeing Li Zixiang, he knew that he was Li Ziyu's father. It was not that they looked similar, but the temperament was exactly the same. Lin Yi regarded Li Ziyu as a friend, so Li Zixiang was naturally his senior, so his greeting was also very respectful. Aha, nephew Lin is indeed a man of striking appearance. Since you are friends with this stinking brat, you don't have to be so polite. I will call you nephew, but if you don't mind, you can call me uncle. Li Zixiang did not put on airs at all. He got up and patted Lin Yi's shoulder, smiled and asked him to sit down. Li Ziyu snorted and said to Lin Yi, Brother Lin, don't mind him. This old man likes to be friendly. Don't worry about him. If you are happy, you can call him Old Man Li. Lin Yi was suddenly happy. This father and son were really weird. He saw that Li Ziyu was so concerned about Li Zixiang before, so he thought that they were happy and harmonious. It turned out that it was not the case at all. Li Zixiang laughed and scolded a few times, then said to Lin Yi seriously, Nephew Lin, this time I invited you here because Master Li Zhaoyi proposed to refine the recovery elixir with you. If you have any difficulties, just say it. It doesn't matter. Lin Yi looked at Li Zhaoyi in surprise. He thought that Li Ziyu wanted to invite him and Li Zhaoyi to refine the elixir together, but he did not expect that it was Li Zhaoyi who proposed it. It seemed that this strange girl really wanted to refine the elixir with him. He thought that after he refused her proposal to refine the yin and yang elixir together last time, she would ignore him. Chapter 5898. Uncle Li, I can't be sure if I can refine the recovery pill. Brother Li said that you have the recipe for the recovery pill. Can you show me the specific content of the recipe first? Lin Yi turned around and said to Li Zixiang with his fists cupped. No matter who made the proposal, Lin Yi couldn't agree. He came to see the recipe for the recovery pill and then go back to study it with the Shinong cauldron. Li Zixiang was prepared. He picked up a roll of parchment on the side and handed it to Lin Yi. This is the recipe for the recovery pill. Nephew Lin, please take it. I already have a copy here. Keep it well. I don't dare to refuse an elder's gift. Thank you, Uncle Li. Lin Yi didn't act pretentious. Anyway, seeing it was equivalent to taking it, regardless of whether he could successfully refine the pill or not, this recipe would always be his. It was fine as long as he felt grateful. After taking the parchment with both hands, Lin Yi opened it on the spot and looked at it carefully. Sure enough, the main ingredients were exactly the same as what Li Ziyu had told him. The only difference was the detailed proportion. After a while, Lin Yi put away the recipe and smiled slightly. Uncle Li, I have never come into contact with this recipe. After a rough look, I already feel that there are many mysteries in it, so I have to go back and study it carefully. For the time being, it is impossible to refine this recovery pill. Li Zixiang waved his hand indifferently. It's okay. You can study it. In fact, my injuries have been for many years. There is no hurry at all. It doesn't matter even if it takes another year or so. What's more, we don't have the best quality recovery pill and the 7th grade recovery pill, so you don't have to have any psychological pressure. Lin Yi had both the best quality recovery pill and the 7th grade recovery pill, but he wasn't sure if he could refine the recovery pill. There was no need to say it now. Lin Yi smiled and nodded. Uncle Li, don't worry. As long as I have the confidence to refine the recovery pill, I will inform you immediately. I will give you an answer before the end of the auction. Li Ziyi looked at Lin Yi as if she wanted to say something. In the end, she just opened her mouth and still didn't speak. After chatting for a bit more, Lin Yi excused himself to study the recipe and got up to leave. Li Ziyi also said goodbye. Li Ziyu sent the two to the door and went back alone. He could tell that Li Ziyi had something to say to Lin Yi, so he didn't stay and disturb them. After Ziyu returned, Li Ziyi immediately said to Lin Yi, Lin Yi, this time you won't say you want to refine the recovery pill alone, right? Lin Yi shrugged. What's wrong with that? I admit that you are indeed a genius in alchemy. You can even refine the yin and yang pill, but the recovery pill is completely different. Even if you can multitask and do the work of two people, it is still impossible for you to refine the recovery pill alone. Li Ziyi's expression was very serious. When it came to alchemy, she could always put her heart and soul into it. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, whether you can refine it by yourself or not, it's not up to you to decide. If you want to find someone to cooperate with, you can ask Li Ziyu to help you find one. I think there should be a suitable alchemist in the northern island who can cooperate with you. Li Ziyi was not angered by Lin Yi's obvious rejection. She said solemnly, I'm not joking with you. I can do 3 things at once, but it's not enough to concoct a recovery pill. The amount of mental energy and jinqi needed is not something you can imagine. Do you think you can use pills to recover when you're halfway through the process? As long as there is even the slightest fluctuation, the entire furnace of pills will be completely ruined. What's more serious is that the furnace will explode. Can you imagine how dangerous it is for the furnace to explode when the true qi is exhausted? Lin Yi was not worried about the true qi. He had a steady supply of it in the space of the jade pendant, so there was no need to worry about it at all. However, it was rare for Li Ziyi to speak so much at once, so he could not be too unreasonable. Thank you for your reminder. I will pay attention. Lin Yi casually clasped his hands, thanked her, and turned to leave. Li Ziyi was suddenly angry. How could this person be like this? She had already told him so clearly. Did he still want to refine pills by himself? Hey, are you listening to me carefully? Li Ziyi stomped her feet hard and stepped forward to stop Lin Yi. Her face, which had always been calm, also showed a hateful expression. Lin Yi was slightly stunned and said, Didn't I say I would pay attention? Thank you for reminding me again. Now I have to go back. Is there anything else? Li Ziyi was instantly speechless. She really wanted to beat up Lin Yi, but not to mention whether she could beat him, there did not seem to be a reason to do so. Seeing that she did not speak, Lin Yi waved his hand and went around to continue on his way. Other things were not important. It was more important to hurry back and study the elixir recipe of the regeneration pill. This time, Li Ziyi did not continue to chase after him. Lin Yi quickly returned to the cross-courtyard of the 5 Elements Commerce. Kai Zhongyang, Wei Xinjin, and Hou Guanqi were all waiting for him. Just now, Li Ziyu directly pulled Lin Yi away, and they were still a little worried. Lin Yi briefly explained the situation and let them go back. There was no need to think too much. The matter of the pill hall had been resolved, and the 2 from the Zheng family had also been released. Everything was back to square one. This was not bad. After returning to his room, Lin Yi set up a restriction, took out the Shinnong cauldron, and entered the elixir recipe of the regeneration pill into the automatic alchemy system. Discovered an unknown elixir recipe. Analysis showed abnormalities. Unable to generate elixir recipe. Please confirm the accuracy of the elixir recipe. The automatic alchemy system calculated for a long time and finally came to this conclusion. Lin Yi smiled bitterly as he picked up the elixir recipe of the regeneration pill. It seemed that there was nothing to confirm. The elixir recipe must be real. However, using 2 elixirs as the main ingredient was indeed very strange. No wonder the automatic alchemy system could not identify it. After carefully checking that there were no errors or omissions in the input of the elixir recipe, Lin Yi was a little unwilling to give up and started the automatic alchemy system again. He thought to himself, could this AI system have undergone its own evolution between the 2 analyses? Just like every time he refined elixir, it would summarize and modify the previous elixir so that each time it could be closer to perfection. It was because of this function that Lin Yi was able to create so many pills of the highest quality. Unfortunately, the analysis didn't work. Unfortunately, analyzing elixir recipes and refining elixirs were obviously not the same thing. The automatic alchemy system did not have this function to upgrade. Chapter 5899. Since he couldn't refine the recovery pill, Lin Yi could only put away the Shinong cauldron and continue to study the ancient books he bought. Soon the night passed. Boss, is it convenient for you now? After dawn, Wei Shinjin came to see Lin Yi early. He didn't know what happened. Lin Yi put away his things and opened the door to ask, "What's the matter?" Wei Shinjin shook his head and said, "Boss, it's not me. Li Zhaoyi from Alchemy Hall is here. She's waiting outside the door. She didn't say who she was looking for. I guess she was looking for you, so I came to ask if you wanted to let her in." Lin Yi scanned with his divine sense and found Li Zhaoyi standing outside the door. If it weren't for the fact that she changed her clothes, he would have thought that this weird girl had been waiting outside the whole night. "I'll go and have a look. You can go and do what you need to do." Lin Yi waved his hand casually and walked out the door. Wei Shinjin scratched his head and thought that there was nothing to do so early in the morning. He might as well go and find Yu Hua and stroll around the island in the far north together. Yes, he should tidy himself up first and then go to find Yu Hua. It seemed that the boss was going to accompany Li Zhaoyi so he could stroll around alone with Yu Hua. Lin Yi came to the gate leisurely and waved at Li Zhaoyi. He smiled and said, "What a coincidence. Is Master Li Zhaoyi out for morning exercise?" Li Zhaoyi didn't understand what morning exercise was and she didn't want to know. Seeing Lin Yi come out, she asked directly, "Lin Yi, have you thought about it? You can't refine the recovery pill alone. We can only succeed if we work together." Uncle Li said there's no hurry. "Why are you in such a hurry?" Lin Yi curled his lips and looked at Li Zhaoyi strangely. He said, "Also, why do you have to cooperate with me? Didn't I say that if you want to refine the recovery pill, the island in the far north can definitely provide you with suitable candidates?" Li Zhaoyi said matter-of-factly, "I just want to see how you refine pills. Didn't you say you were the disciple of the elixir god Zhang Liju? I wouldn't want to work with anyone else." Lin Yi was speechless. So this is the problem. But what's with this chick's expression of, "I'm giving you face, don't be ungrateful"? Just who was it that wanted to collaborate on alchemy? "I'm sorry, I'm naturally introverted and shy. I'm not used to concocting pills with others because I'll feel embarrassed when others look at me. There's no way for me to concoct pills, so collaborating with others to concoct pills is definitely out of the question." Lin Yi shrugged and casually spouted some nonsense. Li Zhaoyi gritted her teeth and glared at Lin Yi. She thought to herself, "How dare you say you're introverted when you're so thick-skinned? Shyness? Say I'm sorry? There should be a limit to being shameless, right?" Lin Yi scratched his chin, feeling that his nonsense was a bit ridiculous, but it didn't matter, she could think whatever she wanted. At this point, Li Zhaoyi had nothing else to say. She had her own pride and it wasn't her style to continue pestering him. Lin Yi waved his hand at her as a goodbye. He didn't want to go back to his room either. He'd go to the auction house to do some stuff. He had a lot of spirit jades on him, but he needed a lot of things as well, so he had to prepare more. After a few steps, Lin Yi turned back and said helplessly, "Master Li Zhaoyi, why are you still following me? I already said I wouldn't work with you on pill concoction." Li Zhaoyi blushed and glared angrily, "Who's following you? If you don't agree, then don't agree. Do you think I care? I'm going this way too. Are you the only one who can walk here?" What she said made sense and Lin Yi was speechless. He could only stand aside and say, "I'm sorry, I misunderstood. You go first." Li Zhaoyi snorted, turned her head to look at the sky and walked forward. Lin Yi was secretly amused. This weird girl still had a childish temper. It was quite interesting to look at her carefully. After walking for a while and turning 2 intersections, Lin Yi felt that something was wrong. Why were they walking the same way? Wasn't it now that he was following Li Xiaoyi? Li Xiaoyi obviously also noticed that Lin Yi had been following her, but she was too embarrassed to say anything, so the two of them walked strangely all the way. Fortunately, the auction house was not far from the courtyard where Lin Yi lived, so they soon appeared in front of him. Only then did Lin Yi confirm that the two of them were indeed going to the same destination. The two of them walked at almost the same speed. Lin Yi had no intention of deliberately avoiding Li Xiaoyi, so when they entered the auction house, they naturally went in together. There was a staff arranged by the auction house at the door, and he asked politely, "What can I do for you too?" The auction would start in a few days, so the people who came to the auction house now were basically here to send items for auction or to inquire about what items were up for auction. "I have something to send for auction." This sentence was said by Lin Yi and Li Xiaoyi at the same time, and the time and number of words were exactly the same. The two of them looked at each other and couldn't help but smile. The strange atmosphere became more and more obvious. It turned out that not only were their destinations the same, but even their purposes were the same. However, Li Xiaoyi felt that the things the two of them sent for auction would definitely be different. "Please follow me," the staff of the auction house said politely with a smile. He thought that the two of them were together, so he did not take them to different rooms separately. This was really not the staff's fault. Lin Yi and Li Xiaoyi came in together, spoke the same words and smiled at each other. No matter how he looked at it, they were the same kind of people. If he said that they didn't know each other, the staff would definitely dig his eyes out and step on them. After entering a separate box, a special receptionist came over and asked, "Please take out the things you want to auction so that we can estimate the base price." Lin Yi deliberately did not speak this time so as not to bump into Li Xiaoyi again. He did not expect that Li Xiaoyi seemed to have the same idea. As a result, the two of them fell into silence at the same time, making the staff look like a fool. The staff looked up at the two of them. Seeing that they still had no intention of speaking or taking out their things, he could only say again, "Please take out the things you want to auction so that we can estimate the base price." "I want to auction a chance to refine pills." This time the two of them spoke in unison again. The same timing, the same number of words, and the same content. Li Xiaoyi looked at Lin Yi with a strange expression, nodded lightly and said, "Lin Yi, consider my suggestion again. I suddenly feel that if we cooperate we will definitely succeed." Chapter 5900. The staff also noticed that something was wrong. He could only ask cautiously, "Are you two auctioning a chance to refine pills together, or, one for me, one for her, we are not together?" Lin Yi said simply. He did not answer Li Xiaoyi's question. His attitude explained everything. Li Xiaoyi did not say much and nodded to the staff. This guy was a little speechless. How could two customers be brought to the same room to talk? Who the hell brought people in just now? Now that things had come to this, he could not let the two of them talk alone. Fortunately, these two people should know each other, so it was barely acceptable. "Are both of you respected alchemists? If it is an opportunity to auction alchemy, please fill in your information and base price. We will evaluate it and decide whether it can be auctioned." The staff said politely and at the same time handed 2 blank documents and a pen to the two of them. The reason why Lin Yi chose to auction the alchemy opportunity instead of the quenching spirit pill and the mountain gazing pill was because he tasted the sweetness on the ancient battleship. He knew that the auction price of the alchemy opportunity might be more profitable than selling the pills directly. Moreover, those pills could be used to exchange for something he needed in the future. Anyway, alchemy was not a problem for Lin Yi as long as it was not the recovery pill. Li Xiaoyi picked up the pen and began to write. In a few breaths, she had finished filling in the form and handed it to the staff. Although Lin Yi did not look over there, with a sweep of his divine sense, he naturally knew what Li Xiaoyi wrote. Li Xiaoyi wrote that it was a mystic level 1 pill and below, guaranteed pill formation, high quality, and above, starting price of 1 million spirit jades. This condition was absolutely excellent. The starting price of 1 million spirit jades was like giving it away for free, but the final transaction price was definitely more than that. Lin Yi hesitated for a moment. He had written down similar conditions as well, so after seeing Li Xiaoyi's list, he added another line under the first level mystic, making it a second level mystic and below, guaranteed pill formation, high quality, and above, starting price of 10 million spirit jades. Originally, Lin Yi had set the starting price at 1 million, but since the conditions had changed, the starting price naturally had to change as well, so he directly increased it by 10 times. A mystic level 2 superior grade pill was definitely worth this starting price. Almost no one would choose to refine a pill that was below, they would only choose a mystic rank level 2 pill. Li Xiaoyi looked at Lin Yi in surprise but didn't say anything. She just guessed that Lin Yi's last change was because he wanted to surpass her. But this guy didn't seem like such a shallow person. Li Xiaoyi could also refine mystic level 2 pills, but she did not intend to auction the opportunity to refine mystic level 2 pills, so after seeing Lin Yi's changes, she had no intention of following suit. After the guy at the auction house looked at the documents of the two people, he was also in awe. These two young men and women were actually mystic rank alchemists. Although both of them looked strange, it had nothing to do with him. He just needed to do his own thing. Honorable alchemists, we accept your commission. As for the starting price of the auction, there may be some fluctuations. I wonder if you can accept our handling? The staff asked respectfully. After all, they were the professionals in the auction. For example, Lin Yi's starting price of 10 million was not impossible, but if he lowered it slightly, it might be higher. If I don't accept it, will I not be able to be auctioned? Lin Yi asked faintly. Although he didn't care much, if the auction house casually changed his starting price, it would not be comfortable. The staff quickly shook his head and said, "Of course not, we are just slightly adjusting it according to the market. That will be more suitable for the auction. If you don't agree, we will not make any changes." Lin Yi nodded and said, "In that case you don't have to change it. It doesn't matter how it is auctioned." Li Xiaoyi also expressed the same intention. Of course, the staff would not have any other opinions. Then he talked with the two of them. The commission collected by the auction house was 10% of the transaction price, which was a more reasonable price. Neither of them had any objections. After the agreement was reached, the alchemy opportunities of the two would appear on the auction list of the auction house. Those who were interested would naturally see it, and then make preparations in the next few days. When the auction officially began, they would bid. Lin Yi and Li Xiaoyi only needed to wait for the money to refine pills. Before leaving the auction house, Lin Yi took a look at the latest auction list to see if there was anything he needed. Then, at a glance, he felt that the spirit jades he had might not be enough because there were really a lot of good things. It seemed that he had to find a way to earn more spirit jades in the next few days. Li Xiaoyi did not leave the auction house with Lin Yi but left first. Lin Yi also left after looking at the list for a while. Because there were divine sense restrictions everywhere in the auction house, he did not notice that Zheng Tianqing, who had just been released, was staying in a corner far away from the auction house. After Zheng Tianqing left, he came to the list and looked at it. After reading the latest list, Zheng Tianqing smiled and quickly left the auction house, returning to the residence of the Zheng family. "Grandpa, second grandpa, I saw that bastard Lin Yi in the auction house." As soon as he entered the door, Zheng Tianqing said eagerly. Zheng Dongxing stared at him and said, "What's so strange about that? I'm warning you, don't provoke Lin Yi these days. He is a good friend of Li Ziyu. It was not easy for us to get out, we can't fall again." During the time he was imprisoned by the Northern Guard, Zheng Dongxing had suffered a lot. He was a dignified alchemist. When had he ever suffered like this? Although his injuries were healed after being released, the shadow in his heart could not be removed in a short period of time. Zheng Tianqing shrank his neck. He did not want to experience that kind of painful memory again, but when he saw Lin Yi, his heart was filled with resentment. If he did not kill Lin Yi, he would not be able to let it go. Zheng Dongjue waved his hand and said, "Cousin, you don't have to be too careful. Let's listen to what Tianqing has to say first." This time the two of them could escape. Zheng Dongjue had contributed a lot, so Zheng Dongxing did not want to brush him off. He could only say to Zheng Tianqing, "Didn't you hear what your second grandpa said? Hurry up and say what happened to Lin Yi." Chapter 5901. "So what?" Zheng Dongxing said with dissatisfaction. Lin Yi's announcement of an auction for alchemy had nothing to do with them. "Grandpa, have you forgotten? We have already asked Lin Yi to refine pills several times on the ship. This guy must be an arrow at the end of its flight. This is the last time he will be able to refine pills in the near future. And do you know what conditions he issued? A mystic level 2 Dan and a high-quality one at that. Don't you have any ideas?" Zheng Tianqing said with a slightly excited expression. Zheng Dongxing and Zheng Dongjue's eyes also lit up. Although Zheng Dongxing just said not to provoke Lin Yi in the near future, if there was a chance to retaliate, he would be the first to not miss it. Tong Wulsuo, who was standing on the side, suddenly opened his mouth and said, "Young Master Qing means that we should find someone to invite Lin Yi to refine pills and let him use up all the recovery pills? This may be a little difficult. In any case, Lin Yi will leave a chance to refine pills. It is impossible for him to mess up this auction opportunity." Tong Wulsuo really disapproved of this kind of idea. Not to mention how many true qi recovery pills Lin Yi had, Even if he used them up, couldn't he continue to refine more? If he could use pills to recover, it meant that the pills refined once could support at least 2 or more refinements. This kind of strategy was really ridiculous. Taking a step back, even if Lin Yi really did not have the ability to complete the auction of the alchemy opportunity, so what? At most he would just withdraw it. Anyway, the income from the pills sent to him in the past few days should be enough to make up for the auction of the opportunity, right? However, Tong Wulsuo could not say much about these speculations. Apart from offending Zheng Tianqing, it could not change anything. After all, this was just his speculation. Zheng Tianqing laughed and said, Tong Wulsuo, don't worry, I will definitely be able to make Lin Yi use up his last chance. There is no doubt about this. Zheng Dongxing was overjoyed and quickly asked, Tianqing, what good idea do you have? Hurry up and tell me. Zheng Tianqing's face was full of pride as he laughed and said, Grandpa, I actually went to see Qian Xiaodong just now. Do you know what he brought this time? Ghost cicada wings. With this, do you think Lin Yi won't take the bait? For a moment, Zheng Dongxing and the others could not figure out how Lin Yi would take the bait with the ghost cicada wings. After all, this kind of thing was too obscure. Usually, very few people would use it and they would usually not pay much attention to it. Zheng Tianqing didn't let them guess. He immediately said with a smile, Grandpa, have you forgotten about the small trade fair held on the ancient battleship? At the mention of the trade fair on the ancient battleship, the few of them suddenly understood. Ghost cicada wings. Wasn't it what Lin Yi wanted to exchange for? It was just that the exchange was unsuccessful, so Zheng Dongxing and the others didn't pay too much attention to it. Now that they were reminded by Zheng Tianqing, they naturally recalled it. Yes, Lin Yi really needs a material like the ghost cicada wings. If we have this thing, we can definitely make him take the bait. Zheng Dongxing looked happy and said with a laugh, The only problem is, will Qian Xiaodong take out the ghost cicada wings as bait? Zheng Tianqing waved his hand and said, Grandpa, you can rest assured about this. Don't forget that young Master Qian and Lin Yi also have conflicts. As long as we tell him that it is used to deal with Lin Yi, I am afraid he will be more enthusiastic about this matter than us. Although the ghost cicada wings are rare, there are also few people who need it. It is not so easy to sell it for a good price. Using it to trick Lin Yi can also get a greater profit than auctioning it. Young Master Qian will never refuse. Zheng Dongjue smiled and agreed, Sky Crystal's idea is not bad, and this matter doesn't pose any danger to us. Whether it succeeds or not, Lin Yi won't blame us. After all, we are taking care of his business. Aha, that's right. If we take care of his alchemy business, maybe he will come and thank us. Zheng Dongxing was in a good mood. He smiled and calculated, this time we will find someone to ask Lin Yi to refine pills. The price of a second-grade profound level pill is too high, so we only need a first-grade pill. With this kid's methods, I think it will be a special grade pill. When the time comes, we will auction it. Not only will we not lose money, we might even make a lot of money. This business is good. On the ancient warship, because the few fellows found failed to find fault in the end, the Zheng family's investment was used as compensation and could not be recovered. This time they learned their lesson and obediently asked Lin Yi to refine pills. There was indeed a great chance that they could make a lot of money. Not only could they make money, but they could also set up a trap for Lin Yi. Furthermore, there was no danger. This kind of good thing, why not? Zheng Dongjue was very satisfied with this plan. This time the pill hall brought a lot of elixirs. There were at least 10 kinds of elixirs that could be refined into first-grade profound level pills. For the pill hall, auctioning pills was obviously better than auctioning elixirs. Maybe he could also use this opportunity to increase his reputation in the pill hall. However, after experiencing the events of the past 2 days, Zheng Dongjue had become more cautious. At the same time, he paid more attention to Tong Wulsuo. Even if this plan seemed perfect, he still did not dare to be too relaxed. Wulsuo, what do you think of Heavenly Crystal's plan? Is there anything else that can be added? Zheng Dongjue turned to look at Tong Wulsuo and asked in a pleasant manner. Tong Wulsuo smiled slightly and said, Young Master Qing's plan is indeed feasible. Just now, this subordinate did not consider it thoroughly. In fact, Tong Wulsuo still had a disapproving attitude towards this plan. It was just that Zheng Dongjue asked if there was anything else that could be added. The implication was that he had already decided to implement it. Naturally, there was no need for him to say anything more. In any case, this plan would not bring any danger or trouble to the Zheng family. Although the probability of success was not high, what if they got lucky? Therefore, Tong Wulsuo planned to let nature take its course and wait and see. Zheng Tianqing was extremely proud in his heart. This Tong Wulsuo had always acted as if he was extremely smart. He had long been unhappy with him. Now that the plan he proposed made this guy speechless, the satisfaction he felt was really indescribable. Ah, Mr. Tong is really polite. This young master thought you would say that you can't determine when Lin Yi's last alchemy machine will appear. Having the ghost cicada wing is useless. Zheng Tianqing said with a ridiculing smile. It was rare to have such an opportunity. Of course he wanted to be proud. Chapter 5902. If Lin Yi was really limited by the so-called chi recovery pills, it would be too easy to determine the last time. When he stopped accepting alchemy tasks, it would be the time to use the ghost cicada wings to lure him. Tong Wuxia really didn't understand. What was the point of showing off about something so clear? Zheng Tianqing didn't know that he was secretly despised by Tong Wuxia. He was very satisfied with Tong Wuxia's respect. After smiling and nodding, he said casually, "Very good. Since everyone thinks that this plan is feasible, let's start implementing it. Grandpa, why don't you let Mr. Tong handle the matter of finding someone to invite Lin Yi to refine pills? At least let Mr. Tong play a little role. I believe Mr. Tong will definitely do a good job." Tong Wuxia's face was calm. He still lowered his head and looked respectful. He cupped his fists at Zheng Dongxing and Zheng Dongjue and said, "This subordinate can arrange these matters. However, the supply of resources will require the support of the Vice Hall Master." Zheng Dongjue laughed and said, "With Wuxia taking care of these matters, I can rest assured. As for the resources to be used by Lin Yi, you can take as much as you want. I believe that the pills refined by Lin Yi will be enough to make up for all our losses." "Then this subordinate will do it now." Tong Wuxia didn't continue talking nonsense. He directly bowed and left. An hour later, a thin old man carrying a bag came to the Five Elements Commerce Station and politely asked if Lin Yi had time to meet him. At this moment, Lin Yi was thinking about how to earn more spiritual jades. When he heard Wei Xinjin report that someone was looking for him, he asked him to bring the person in. When the thin old man came in, he respectfully cupped his fists and bowed. "Master Lin, thank you for taking the time to meet me. It is my honor to meet Master Lin." Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "You're welcome. Please take a seat and talk. May I know who you are? What can I do for you?" This old man looked a little familiar. Lin Yi guessed that they had come here on the Okuda Dam's ancient battleship, but they didn't have much interaction before. What was this old man trying to do? After the thin old man thanked him and sat down, he said with a smile, "I'm sorry for my rudeness. I'm Yun Xiao, the sect master of Middle Island's Yunzhong sect. I'm here to look for Master Lin, this time to ask Master Lin for help." "So it's sect leader Yun. It's an honor to meet you. May I know what sect leader Yun needs my help with?" Lin Yi politely said, "It's an honor to meet you." In fact, he had never heard of the Cloud sect. Of course, it was impossible for him to meet Yun Xiao. It couldn't be helped. The Cloud sect was a small second-rate sect in Middle Island. Yun Xiao, the sect master, was only at the peak of the nascent soul stage. It would be strange if Lin Yi didn't deliberately inquire about it. It's like this. Our Yunzhong sect came to participate in the auction this time to obtain some cultivation resources so that our disciples can improve their strength. Therefore, we brought a few mystic level 1 elixirs that our sect has been preserving to be auctioned. However, after seeing Master Lin's alchemy ability, I want to ask Master Lin to refine these materials into elixirs before auctioning them." Yun Xiao said straightforwardly and didn't hide his thoughts. This made Lin Yi have a good impression of him. "Thank you, sect leader Yun, for thinking so highly of me. However, there is a chance of failure when refining elixirs. Aren't you afraid that this kind of failure will cause your sect to lose precious resources?" Lin Yi asked casually. He just wanted to earn some spirit jades. Now that Yun Xiao came to him, of course, it couldn't be better. However, something still had to be said, even if he wasn't worried that the elixirs would really fail. Yun Xiao showed a trace of embarrassment on his face and said, "To be honest, Master Lin, I am indeed a little worried. Therefore, I hesitated for a long time before I came to ask Master Lin to refine elixirs. Otherwise, I would have asked you for help on the ancient battleship." This was reasonable. The elixirs that Yun Xiao wanted to refine were the sect's resources. They weren't his personal belongings. It was normal for him to have concerns. Moreover, from his tone, it seemed that he wanted to refine more than 1 or 2 elixirs. This made him even more cautious. Lin Yi didn't ask much. He just smiled and said, "If sect leader Yun is willing to believe in me, then I naturally won't refuse. What kind of elixir does sect leader Yun need to refine?" Yun Xiao revealed a happy expression. He took off the bag on his back and opened it, revealing 6 exquisite jade boxes. He said, "Master Lin, please take a look. I have already divided the ingredients for 6 Mystic Class Level 1 elixirs. 3 of them are Mountain Gazing elixirs, 2 are True Recovery elixirs, and 1 is Spirit Cleansing elixirs. As far as I know, they are all elixirs that Master Lin has refined before. I wonder if Master Lin can help? It seems that Sect Leader Yun is quite confident in the elixirs that I've refined. You took out 6 elixirs at once. Lin Yi smiled non-committally. Yun Xiao might have more elixirs, but he only chose these few to refine. He must have considered the success rate. The 3 elixirs that Lin Yi had refined before were all of special quality. It could be said that the risk of asking him to refine these 3 elixirs was the lowest, and the rewards were predictable. It was indeed a very smart decision. The Spirit Cleansing elixir was commissioned by one of the 4 shills on the ancient battleship. It was a Mystic Class Level 1 elixir that could remove toxins from the body. This kind of toxins included poisons from others, as well as elixir toxins formed from long-term consumption of elixirs. It could be said to be a very precious elixir. Lin Yi could also use it. As for the Vitality Restoration elixir, it was always a good thing to have a few more Vitality Restoration elixirs to refine the Vitality Restoration elixir. On the other hand, Lin Yi was a little numb to the Mountain Gazing elixir that he needed previously. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have troubled Hou Guanqi to exchange for the Mountain Gazing stone. Because of the existence of the Mountain Gazing stone, Lin Yi didn't suspect that Yun Xiao was sent by the Zheng family. Of course, it didn't matter even if he was from the Zheng family. Anyway, refining elixirs was only good for Lin Yi. Yun Xiao opened the jade boxes humbly. Each jade box had a small compartment with various elixirs in it to ensure that the medicinal properties would not be affected before the refinement. I'm confident in any elixir that Master Lin can refine. It's just that I happen to have these materials. Yun Xiao explained with a smile. Then he pushed the jade boxes closer and said, "Please take a look at these elixirs, Master Lin." Chapter 5903. After a careful examination, Lin Yi nodded in satisfaction. Not bad. The quality of Sect Leader Yun's elixirs is very good. I can promise to refine elixirs for you. However, what are you going to say about the payment? Elixirs could indeed be sold at a price that was several times or even dozens of times more expensive than the materials. However, the price of hiring someone to refine elixirs was not cheap either. If Yun Xiao could not give a satisfactory price to Lin Yi, of course, Lin Yi would accept it. For example, if Lin Yi refined 3 portions of Mountain Gazing elixirs materials, he might be able to refine 5 to 6 elixirs. Even if he did not accept any payment, he would still be able to obtain 2 or 3 elixirs. Furthermore, it was impossible for him to not accept any payment. Yun Xiao smiled awkwardly and said, "Master Lin, our Yunzhong sect is only a small sect, so we don't have many resources. If it's possible, I hope to get at least 1 elixir for each of these 6 portions of materials. The rest will be Master Lin's elixir refining fee. I wonder if that's possible?" Lin Yi smiled faintly and did not intend to speak. He just looked at Yun Xiao quietly. To him, 2 portions of materials for only 1 elixir was a huge profit. However, the normal market for alchemists was not like this. The ratio of 2 to 1 was simply a huge discount. Although Lin Yi did not care, he did not want to agree to such a condition. If it was leaked, it would not do him any good. He would also become the public enemy of all alchemists. Yun Xiao was just testing the waters. When he saw that Lin Yi did not speak, he knew that his condition would not be agreed to. Hence he continued to smile. Of course, other than elixirs, I will also prepare 6 million spiritual jades for Master Lin. I hope that Master Lin will not think that it is too little. To be honest, this amount of spiritual jades was indeed a small amount. However, Lin Yi felt that it was fine as long as he made a profit. For these 6 sets of materials, he would only need to refine pills 3 times. Not to mention the fact that the medicinal pills he reaped were 2 or 3 times more than what the client had asked him to reap. Moreover, he had even charged 6 million spiritual jades. If not for the market, Lin Yi would have felt that he was a black-hearted profiteer. Alright, then it's settled. Before the auction starts, I'll give you the pills. Don't worry, I won't miss out on any of the 3 pills you asked for. Lin Yi was too lazy to say more and directly settled the matter. Cloud Sky suddenly felt a little regretful. If he knew that Lin Yi was so easy to talk to, wouldn't he have asked for a few more medicinal pills just now? He could not afford to use spirit jades to exchange for it. No matter what, it was still a profit. Unfortunately, it was too late to say this now. If he brought it up again, it would only arouse Lin Yi's suspicion. "Thank you, Master Lin." Cloud Sky cupped his fists gratefully and said, "Oh right, I have a few friends who also have needs in this aspect. If it's possible, can Master Lin also refine pills for them?" Lin Yi waved his hand and said, "We'll talk about this after you finish refining the medicinal pills. I'll decide by then. You also know that an alchemist can't always maintain the state of refining pills." Of course, these words were nonsense. Other alchemists were like this, but he would definitely not have any restrictions on continuous pill refinement. He only said this because he did not want to attract too much attention from others, even though it was already very eye-catching now. Cloud Sky was secretly happy in his heart, but he showed a regretful expression on his face. He nodded and said, "What Master Lin said makes sense. I can only hope that you can help them if it's possible. I won't disturb you today. When Master Lin is done refining the pills, I'll visit again." Cloud Sky placed 2 spirit jade cards, one green and one blue, next to the jade box. Although he had not started refining the pills, he had already paid the remuneration. Lin Yi did not stand on ceremony and called Wei Xinjin to send him off. Since he had nothing to do today, Lin Yi went into closed-door cultivation to refine pills. 3 cauldrons of medicinal pills would take about a day. This kind of medicinal pill that had been refined before was not difficult at all. After Cloud Sky left the cross-courtyard of the 5 Elements Commerce, he deliberately took a few rounds around the far north island. After confirming that no one was following him, he returned to the residence of the Yunzhong faction. Tong Wulsuo had been waiting in his room. As soon as he entered, Cloud Sky cupped his fists and said with a smile, "Mr. Tong, fortunately, I didn't disappoint you. Lin Yi has already accepted the request to refine pills and agreed to give one of each medicinal pill." Tong Wulsuo smiled and nodded. "Thank you, Sect Leader Yun. Without your help, it would be very difficult for Lin Yi to refine pills for me." "You're too kind. It's my honor to be able to gain Mr. Tong's trust." Cloud Sky was not lying. The Yunzhong faction was just a small sect. It was indeed his honor to be able to establish a relationship with someone from the Pill Hall. "Also, I followed Mr. Tong's instructions and tested Lin Yi. After refining this time, he doesn't seem to be prepared to continue refining pills." Tong Wulsuo asked in surprise, "He's going to stop just like that? Is it because he doesn't have enough time?" Naturally, Cloud Sky did not know the answer. Tong Wulsuo did not expect him to answer either. After a slight pause, he asked again, "Did he say when did he give you the medicinal pills?" "He did. Before the auction started, because I said at the beginning that I wanted to refine them into medicinal pills to participate in the auction." Speaking up to this point, Cloud Sky could not help but ask again, "Mr. Tong, why don't we let him refine pills one by one? If that's the case, 6 sets of materials would allow Lin Yi to refine pills 6 times. Although there would be a lot more spiritual jades, we definitely won't be at a disadvantage. The reason is more complicated. It's fine if you don't know. Anyway, thank you very much." Tong Wulsuo nodded at Cloud Sky and stood up to leave. Of course, it was good to find Lin Yi to refine pills again and again. However, Lin Yi was not a fool. It would be strange if he did not raise his suspicions by queuing up like this. Instead, it was natural to look for him in such an obvious manner. Furthermore, the 6 sets of materials this time included his own personal goods. Not all of them were spiritual medicines from the Pill Hall. Taking the opportunity to let Lin Yi refine a medicinal pill for him, he more or less gained some benefits. Cloud Sky was a little stunned, but he did not show it. Seeing that Tong Wulsuo was about to leave, he immediately sent him out respectfully. Anyway, he would not be at a disadvantage this time. Not only did he form a good relationship with the Pill Hall, he also gained some benefits. He also got to know Lin Yi. As for the deeper reasons, it was not important whether he knew or not. After dawn the next day, Lin Yi opened the door feeling refreshed. The 3 cauldrons of medicinal pills had already been refined. All that was left was to wait for the time to complete Cloudsky's request. When Wei Xinjin saw Lin Yi open the door, he quickly ran over and said, "Good morning, boss." Lin Yi smiled and greeted him. Then he asked, "How have the past 2 days been? Have you progressed very quickly with Lady Shang?" Chapter 5904. He still wanted to stroll around the extreme North Island with Yuhua alone, but he was so nervous about even having a meal, let alone strolling around. Lin Yi smiled and said, "I'll talk to President Shang later. No matter how busy I am, I can't delay your date." "Really? Then I'll leave it to you, boss." Wei Xinjin didn't hold back at all. He actually shamelessly took advantage of the situation. Sure enough, a man who fell in love was also very unreliable. In the past, he wouldn't have done such a thing. After chatting for a while, Wei Xinjin took out a jade token and handed it to Lin Yi. "Boss, this is from Captain Okuda. He said that there will be a private trade fair in the extreme North Island in the next 2 days. The identity token is similar to the one we had on the ship. If you're interested you can go and take a look. The time and place are all written on the jade token. Linny took it and looked at it. There were tiny words on the jade token. This identity token allowed him to participate in 3 small trade fairs. The latest one was this afternoon. It was almost time. This afternoon's trade fair, do you want to go? Lin Yi waved the jade token in his hand at Wei Xinjin and asked casually. This kind of identity token allowed him to bring one person with him. Wei Xinjin thought for a while and nodded. Then I'll follow boss to see it. You're so reluctant. It's fine if you don't want to go. Lin Yi said with a smile. This guy's expression made it seem like he was going to bring him. Wei Xinjin laughed dryly and said, No. Boss, don't misunderstand. I want to go, but I was thinking if Yuhua will go. If she goes, then we can go together. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh. This kid's mind was filled with Shang Yuhua. He was too poisoned and there was really no cure for him. After chatting for a while, Kai Zhongyang also came out. 5 Elements Commerce was naturally able to get an ID card for this kind of trade fair. Originally he wanted to invite Lin Yi along. Since Lin Yi already had one, they could go together. When it was almost time, Hou Guanqi and Hong Zhong also came over. They were very familiar with each other now, so they naturally agreed to act together. This small trade fair was organized by a cultivator from the East Continent. Therefore there were many people who came. After all, people from the East Continent always had a lot of good things on them. After Lin Yi entered, he realized that he had seen the organizer before. To be exact, it was the one who had a conflict with him. Night Moon City Yu Ziqing. After seeing this guy, Wei Xinjin couldn't help but shrink his neck. He whispered to Lin Yi, Boss, isn't that guy the fool who was tricked by us? Today we are at his territory. Let's just go back. Lin Yi couldn't help but scold him with a smile. You want to go back because you didn't see Shang Yuhua coming, right? If you know fear, you wouldn't have tricked him in the extreme north chamber of commerce. Wei Xinjin was stunned. Boss is so wise. You even saw through this. But in the extreme north chamber of commerce, wasn't it you who tricked that stupid guy? Did I? Why do I remember that it was you who tricked him? Lin Yi smiled faintly and didn't give Wei Xinjin a chance to refute. He signaled him to be quiet and entered the trade fair. Wei Xinjin could only hold back his words. Boss was right. Anyway, tricking this kind of guy was a glorious thing. Later on he would brag about this heroic deed to Yuhua. Yu Ziqing also saw Lin Yi and Wei Xinjin in the crowd. A trace of resentment flashed in his eyes. If he didn't know that he was the host today and couldn't do anything inappropriate, he would have already ordered his men to take action. Everyone, I am Yu Ziqing, the young master of Night Moon City in the East Continent. I am also a disciple of the East Continent's Xixing Academy. Today I am honored to have you all participate in my trade fair. I'm very happy. Now let's officially enter the trade. Yu Ziqing made a simple opening speech and announced the start of the trade fair. Originally he prepared a lot of things to say, but after seeing Lin Yi and Yuhua, Yu Ziqing lost interest in talking nonsense. After the announcement, he signaled his men to take out the first item for exchange. Then he turned his head and whispered a few words to an old man beside him. The old man didn't look at Lin Yi and Wei Xinjin, but Lin Yi clearly felt a vague divine sense sweep over him. This old man was obviously an expert at the mountain opening stage. Unfortunately, in terms of the strength of the divine sense and the skill of using it, he was still far behind Lin Yi. A cold smile appeared on Lin Yi's lips. He was just an opening phase, and if he thought he could take him down just like that, then he'd have to be mentally prepared to have his teeth knocked out. Yu Ziqing's first item for exchange was not bad. The items in the East Continent were indeed very popular, so they were quickly exchanged. In fact, this item could also be auctioned. However, although the auction would last for a few days, many items might not be auctioned in time. Therefore, this kind of small trade fair existed. Anyway, as long as they could get what they needed, it was fine. The second item was still the item that Yu Ziqing had taken out. His subordinate was currently introducing it. Everyone, please take a look. This is a fragment of a top-notch lightning evasion technique. Although it only has the first 2 layers of the mantra, there is no doubt that it is still one of the strongest evasion techniques. Especially for lightning practitioners, as long as they are able to learn the lightning evasion technique, I reckon that the only thing that can be faster than you is the legendary instant movement. Even if you don't have a lightning spiritual root, you can still cultivate it, but the effect won't be as good. Hearing this introduction, Lin Yi couldn't help but be tempted. He had a thunder attack, but he didn't have an escape technique. If he could obtain this thunder escape technique, his strength would definitely increase. Although Yu Ziqing had only taken out the first 2 levels of the thunder escape technique, Lin Yi didn't really care. In any case, the creation battle art that he cultivated was incomplete. Naturally, the incomplete thunder escape technique didn't matter. It was a pity that this item was taken out by Yu Ziqing. Lin Yi reckoned that if he went to exchange for it, he might not be able to obtain it. Therefore he transmitted a message to Hong Zhong, "Brother Hong, I am very interested in this thunder escape technique. However, I have some enmity with that brat called Yu Ziqing, so I will have to trouble you to help me exchange for it." Hong Zhong stood in front of Lin Yi. When he heard Lin Yi's message, his expression didn't change. He didn't even turn his head as if nothing had happened. After the guy on the stage finished his introduction, he smiled and said, "What do you want to exchange for this thunder escape technique?" The guy who introduced the item looked at Hong Zhong and nodded with a smile. "The first choice is a water escape technique of the same level. The second choice is an ice martial skill of the same level. If you don't have it, please state what you can take out and see if it is enough to exchange for it." Chapter 5905. Lin Yi's heart tightened. Since someone asked this, it meant that he had something in his hands. He wondered if Hong Zhong had a similar mental cultivation technique. Lin Yi did have a few ice attribute martial techniques. Unfortunately, they were all of a lower grade and could not be compared to the other party's lightning escape technique. If that was the case, this lightning escape technique would not be easy to obtain. The person on the stage shook his head and said, "Of course we want the complete one. Although our lightning escape technique is incomplete, it is not inferior to a complete martial technique of the same grade. Hence, we will not accept the conditions of an incomplete martial technique." Immediately there were some whispers below the stage. Using an incomplete martial technique to exchange for a complete martial technique of the same grade, this was a bit too whimsical. The person who asked the question just now did not have any intention to continue speaking. Unexpectedly, Hong Zhong took out a small book and said, "What a coincidence, I happen to have a hailstorm martial technique here. It should be more than enough to exchange for your lightning escape technique, right?" "Hailstorm?" Yu Ziqing's eyes lit up and immediately interrupted. "Is it a complete martial technique? If it is, then I agree to the exchange." The people below the stage looked at Hong Zhong in surprise. Those who knew him felt it was strange. Hong Zhong was not a lightning attribute cultivator and had always been smart. Why did he make such a mistake today? The hailstorm martial technique was quite famous. Compared to the lightning escape technique, its value was not inferior at all. Needless to say, it was an incomplete version of the lightning escape technique. Hong Zhong smiled faintly. Of course he would not explain that this was what Lin Yi wanted. What was a mere hailstorm martial technique to him? Right now Lin Yi's favor was not something that could be easily obtained. It did not matter if he added a few more books. Lin Yi was well aware of this. With regards to Hong Zhong's good intentions, he could only remember it in his heart. If there was a chance he would repay it. This lightning escape technique was very important to him, so he would not stop Hong Zhong. "Of course it is the complete version of the hailstorm. Since you agree, then let's exchange." Hong Zhong didn't even bother to bargain. If it was him who wanted to exchange, he might ask the other party to take out enough spiritual jades to make up for the difference. But since it was for Lin Yi, the more expensive the better. He even wished that Yu Ziqing could ask him for a few million spiritual jades. Yu Ziqing, whose face was filled with joy, did not think that he would have the chance to earn a fortune. When he heard that Hong Zhong was willing to exchange the complete version of Hailstorm for him, he agreed without hesitation. After getting his hands on it, he eagerly flipped through it. After obtaining the lightning evasion technique, Hong Zhong did not immediately hand it over to Lin Yi. Instead, he kept it for himself and calmly waited for the next item to be traded. If Lin Yi needed it, he could continue to help Lin Yi exchange for it. Yu Ziqing had prepared quite a few items, but he was not in the mood to pay attention to them. After obtaining the hailstorm, he was already very satisfied. If it was not for the fact that he wanted an ice attribute martial skill, he would not have spent 8 million spiritual jades to buy an ordinary martial skill that was worth 100,000 spiritual jades at the extreme north commerce. The next few items were also very good, but Lin Yi was not too interested in them, so he did not have any intention to sell them. Very quickly, Yu Ziqing, the owner, finished trading. What was left was for the people to take turns to exchange their items. Lin Yi did not bother two people for the same matter, so he simply asked Hong Zhong to go up and purchase the ghost cicada wings. He waited for the other party to state the conditions. Unfortunately, no one took out the ghost cicada wings to exchange, so he could only give up regretfully. As a fellow student of Xixing Academy, Qian Xiaodong also came to support. However, he came rather late, so Lin Yi did not notice him at first. It was only when he felt that unfriendly gaze that he saw this brat walking to Yu Ziqing's side. Qian Xiaodong had the ghost cicada wings, but after he knew about Zheng Tianqing's plan, of course, he would not take it out now. So no matter what, Hong Zhong would not be able to exchange for the ghost cicada wings. When the sky turned dark, this small trade fair was also announced to be over. Lin Yi finally exchanged for 2 spiritual herbs that could be used to refine a mystic level 1 medicinal pill. Finally, his trip was not in vain. However, he did not plan to participate in the other 2 trade fairs. Almost all the people who came to the extreme North Island had already appeared in this trade fair. Almost all the things that could be exchanged had been taken out, so there was not much meaning in continuing to participate in the trade fair. As for the identity card, Lin Yi transferred it to Wei Xinjin, so that he and Shang Yuhua could go together to have a look next time. In case they could see something good, at least someone could go and quote a price. Returning to the 5 Elements Commerce Station, Hong Zhong gave the Lightning Escape Techniques Remnant book to Lin Yi. Lin Yi gratefully cupped his fists and said, "Brother Hong, thank you so much this time, your ice storm." "Brother Lin, there's no point in saying such words. It's just a martial skill that you can't use. You're still fussing over it with your brother." Hong Zhong pretended to be unhappy and said, "It was just a high-level martial skill, he really did not care about it." Lin Yi laughed and said, "Brother Hong, what I mean is your ice storm is also a good martial skill. Do you have any similar martial skill? Just give it to me." "Hey, you really have the nerve to say that. How come I didn't know that your skin is actually thicker than mine before?" Hong Zhong was stunned for a moment and then he also laughed. Of course he knew that Lin Yi was joking. To be able to make Lin Yi say such words, then the ice storm was worth it. If Lin Yi must be fussed over the ice storm, it could only mean that Hong Zhong was still an outsider in Lin Yi's heart. Now Lin Yi's way of speaking was the result that Hong Zhong wanted. Kai Zhongyang and Ho Guanqi also had a good harvest today, so they were naturally in a good mood. Everyone sat down and talked and laughed. They also ate some food and the atmosphere was quite harmonious. When they were almost done eating, Cloudy Xiao came to visit Lin Yi. Hong Zhong and the others also took the opportunity to leave. Anyway, there were still a few days before the auction began. There was plenty of time to chat and drink, so there was no hurry. Lin Yi brought Cloudy Xiao back to his room and asked indifferently, "Sect leader Yun came to find me so quickly. Is there something you're worried about?" I don't dare. Master Lin, don't misunderstand." Cloudy Xiao hurriedly waved his hand and explained with a humble smile, "I just happened to see Master Lin coming back from the trade fair. I thought I should visit and ask Master Lin about alchemy." Chapter 5906. As for taking the things back, that was complete nonsense. The pills had already been formed, so what was left? Medicinal dregs? Yun Xiao waved his hand again and said, No. Master Lin, don't misunderstand. I'm talking about refining pills because my friend heard that I was looking for Master Lin to refine pills, so he asked me to ask if I could ask Master Lin to help refine pills. I told him that I mentioned it last time, but he kept asking. I didn't give him face, so I could only ask Master Lin. Lin Yi frowned slightly and said, I've said it before. We'll talk about this after you finish refining the pills. If you want a clear answer, then I'll tell you that before the auction starts, other than the pills I promised you, I won't accept any other requests. Yun Xiao was secretly happy. Lin Yi's words were the answer he wanted to hear. He immediately pretended to be regretful and said, That's a pity, but there's no other way. Master Lin's health is the most important. You must take care of yourself. I'll directly reject my friend. I'm sorry for disturbing Master Lin today. I'll take my leave. After saying that, Yun Xiao stood up and bowed respectfully. Then he left Lin Yi's room. This time Lin Yi didn't stand up to send him off. Instead, he frowned slightly as he watched Yun Xiao leave. He didn't feel it last time, but today he had a strange feeling. This Yun Xiao was indeed a little strange. He specially came here to ask if he could refine pills for others? Normally, since he was here, he should be concerned about the progress of his pills, right? Could it be that he was afraid of offending Lin Yi? If that was the case, he shouldn't have come here at all, right? After thinking about it, Lin Yi didn't bother with him. While he had nothing to do, he quickly studied the lightning escape. He owed Hong Zhong a big favor in exchange for this. He hoped it wouldn't disappoint him. First level of the lightning escape. Borrowing lightning to escape. When using the first layer of the lightning evasion technique, there must be lightning. Simply put, it was using the power of lightning to perform the evasion technique. As for how far one could go, it depended on how much power of lightning the user could borrow. If it was someone else, the first level of the lightning escape would be a useless skill. To use it, there must be lightning. Who would borrow lightning to play with when there was thunder and rain every day? But Lin Yi didn't have any problems in this area. He could even create lightning calamity, so what was a little bit of lightning from the first stage of lightning evasion? After a short while, Lin Yi had completely mastered the first stage of lightning evasion. Even if he saw someone else using lightning evasion, there was a high chance that he could copy it. It would be much easier to learn the technique with the original one. He casually shot out a lightning arc and Lin Yi's figure instantly disappeared. Then he appeared on the other end of for the lightning for the speed. So fast. Lin Yi was startled for a moment. Then he was overjoyed. This lightning escape was indeed powerful. If he was in a battle, wouldn't he be able to appear at any location he wanted? Although the Universe Step and Cloud Dragon's 3 appearances that he had learned from the immemorial pugilistic world had similar effects, Lin Yi was very clear that those skills were like a smokescreen. If he met a real expert, it was very likely that he would be seen through or even countered. But the lightning escape was completely different. That kind of speed that was comparable to teleportation, how strong would a cultivator have to be able to catch it? Especially when Lin Yi used a lightning-type skill that had a large area of effect like the Thunder Burial. Who would be able to find his location? The only regret was that the first level of the lightning escape was not completely untraceable. Because he could only use the trajectory of the lightning arc to escape, the direction was completely the same as the lightning arc. When Lin Yi made his move, he could indeed determine the target of the lightning arc. But after using the lightning escape, he could not change it. If someone could see where he was going to attack, no matter how fast the lightning escape was, there was still a chance to defend. Fortunately, although the lightning escape that Lin Yi had obtained was incomplete, there was still the second level of the lightning escape. Lightning escape. The second level could be said to have made up for the first level's flaws. It allowed Lin Yi to use the lightning to escape and change the direction of the lightning arc as he wished. Of course, there were not many opportunities to change the direction because the energy of the lightning arc could not be maintained for long. In the blink of an eye, it would disappear. After cultivating for a while, Lin Yi had grasped the trick of lightning escape. A lightning arc appeared in the room again. This time, after Lin Yi disappeared, the lightning arc made 2 strange changes in direction before disappearing. Lin Yi reappeared and couldn't help but clench his fist and wave it. Success. Even though the incomplete lightning escape technique only had these 2 levels of mantra, it was enough for him. Originally he could challenge those of a higher level. Now that he had the lightning escape, he was even more confident. Even if he met someone he couldn't defeat, he could still escape. The biggest use of the lightning escape was not to appear and disappear like a ghost in a battle, but to travel in a straight line. If he borrowed the natural lightning in the sky, it would not be difficult to travel 1,000 miles in a flash. Lin Yi's current strength was not strong enough. The distance of the lightning arc he created was more than 100 meters. But if he used it to escape, it was estimated that not many people could catch up with him. Lin Yi was feeling happy when the ghost in the jade space suddenly said, "Boy, your luck is not bad. You got the lightning escape. Although it is only 2 levels, it is still very rare. Senior Ghost, you are out." Lin Yi smiled in surprise and said, "Did you gain a lot from this retreat?" "Was okay. Unfortunately, the soul tempering pill is useless to me for the time being. I will wait for you to bid for the soul wood and let this old man take care of it." The ghost's mood was not bad. It seemed that the effect of this retreat was good. "Rest assured, I will bid for the soul wood. Right now we are not short of spirit jades," Lin Yi said with a tone of a nouveau riche. But he immediately changed the topic and asked about the lightning escape. "Senior, do you know about the lightning escape? Do you have the last few levels?" "No." The ghost said very straightforwardly, "I don't know the lightning escape. Do you think I don't have the last level? Do you think that anyone who knows the name of the lightning escape will know the lightning escape?" Lin Yi was suddenly speechless. After all, the ghost was only a ghost. It was not an omniscient existence. He could only take a step back and asked, "Do you know how many levels there are in the lightning escape?" Chapter 5907. The ghost thing laughed and said, "I don't remember how many layers there are, but the 3rd layer should be body fusion with thunder, the 4th layer should be body fusion with thunder. As for whether there are more layers after that, well, I don't remember." Lin Yi was secretly amused. What did it mean that it didn't remember? It was obvious that it didn't know. He was too lazy to expose the ghost thing. Instead, he carefully thought about the information he got from the ghost thing. Body fusion with thunder, body fusion with thunder. Although the 3rd and 4th layers mnemonics were gone, but from this name one could roughly infer the direction of development in the future. Lin Yi's heaven-defying fortune battle art and omnipotent Zhen Qi were best at imitating and copying other people's martial skills. His deduction ability was naturally needless to say. After having a direction, he might not need the mnemonics for the later parts of the technique. He could create a suitable heart technique to perfect the lightning escape technique. Senior Ghost, it's good to have you here. Listening to you casually bragging like this, it makes me feel that I have gained a lot. Lin Yi said with a sigh. This was absolutely sincere. If there was a ghost thing in the ancient small world, he didn't know how much easier it would be. The ghost thing said with dissatisfaction, Brat, what nonsense are you talking about? How am I bragging? It's simply preposterous. Senior Ghost, your focus is wrong. Shouldn't your eyes be brimming with tears when you hear the first sentence? Lin Yi said with a laugh. When the mood was relaxed and happy, it was not bad to joke with the ghost thing. If I could have tears brimming in my eyes, why would I need a little brat like you? The ghost thing also couldn't help but scold. With Lin Yi becoming stronger day by day, his body's recovery was also quite gratifying. Perhaps it was not impossible for him to reconstruct his body. In terms of mood, it was even better than Lin Yi. While the two were talking nonsense, Wei Xinjin reported from outside the door, Boss, someone is looking for you. He said it's an important matter. Lin Yi used his divine sense to sweep outside. There was indeed a young woman at the entrance of the courtyard. He guessed that she was the person Wei Xinjin said was looking for him. However, Lin Yi didn't know this person, so he didn't know what important matter it was. If he wasn't in a good mood, Lin Yi absolutely wouldn't have bothered to pay attention to this young woman. But now, it didn't matter if she had something important to say or not. Invite her in. Lin Yi said as he opened the door and walked towards the living room. It would be too inconvenient to meet a woman in the room. Very quickly the young woman came in. When she saw Lin Yi, she immediately bowed respectfully and said, Right, Protector of the 100 Flowers Gate, Hua Lianxin greets Master Lin. So it's Protector Hua. Please take a seat. Lin Yi nodded politely and gestured for her to take a seat. This was another small sect that he had never heard of. However, since she was a guest, he could not be rude. Thank you very much, Master Lin. Hua Lianxin smiled warmly and sat down next to Lin Yi. Then she respectfully said, I came to visit Master Lin at this late hour because I have a request. Lin Yi's eyebrows twitched, a strange feeling welled up in his heart. Why did this scene seem so familiar? Without waiting for Hua Lianxin to continue speaking, Lin Yi smiled and said, Protector Hua's so-called important matter, it can't be that you want this Lin to refine pills, right? Hua Lianxin was slightly startled. Then she sweetly said, Master Lin's eyes are like a torch. I want to ask Master Lin to help me refine a batch of pills. Because I've seen the quality of pills Master Lin refined on the ship, I've managed to gather the required spirit herbs. I can't wait until tomorrow, so I came to ask Master Lin to help me. As for the cost, I asked Master Lin to name a price. Although our 100 Flower Gate is a small sect, we still have some spirit jades. Lin Yi faintly smiled, Protector Hua, you're too late. I've already agreed to refine pills for someone else. Before the auction begins, I won't refine pills for anyone else. If you can wait, then when we return to the central island, go find me at the Tiandan Pavilion. If you can't wait, then go find Grandmaster Li Zhao Yi from the Pill Hall. Of course, you can also participate in the auction. I have a chance to refine pills on the northern island. As long as you win it, I'll definitely be able to refine pills for you before the auction ends. Hua Lianxin couldn't hide her disappointment. Shaking her head, she said, That's too late. I hope to get the pills I need before the auction begins. Master Lin, I don't know if you can make an exception and refine pills for me first. As for the cost, I don't know how many spirit jades the last person paid. Our 100 Flower Gate can pay double the amount. Lin Yi's expression immediately darkened. Coldly saying, Protector Hua, do you think that I'll betray you just for a few spirit jades? Master Lin, please forgive me. I misspoke. Hua Lianxin hurriedly stood up and bowed in apology. You know that I didn't mean it that way. I just didn't think it through and said the wrong thing. I hope Master Lin doesn't mind. Lin Yi lightly snorted. Indifferently saying, Don't mention this matter again. Protector Hua, please return. If you want to refine pills, then consider my previous proposals. I won't see you out. Hua Lianxin bitterly smiled. Master Lin, is there really no room for discussion? I don't expect you to refine pills for us first. Even if you finish that person's commission, you can refine pills when you have free time. Our 100 Flower Gate is willing to pay 3 times the market price. I wonder if Master Lin can consider it? If it was before Cloud Sky came, Lin Yi would definitely agree to such generous conditions. However, not long after Cloud Sky left, Hua Lianxin followed him. First, Lin Yi had just rejected Cloud Sky, so it wouldn't be good for him to agree to Hua Lianxin's request. Second, there was something strange about this matter. Before he could figure out the reason, he didn't want to easily follow someone else's rhythm. Protector Hua, there's no need to speak anymore. Please return. Lin Yi's attitude was very firm. No matter what, he wouldn't agree to refined pills. Hua Lianxing could only helplessly take her leave. As for whether or not she truly felt regret, it wasn't something that Lin Yi could know. Why didn't you agree to refined pills for her? This kind of benefit is delivered to your doorstep. It would be a waste not to take it. After Hua Lianxing left, the ghost thing laughed strangely. Chapter 5908. After a slight pause, he said, if she's in a hurry to use it herself with her current strength, she doesn't need a profound grade 1 pill at all. A yellow grade 6 pill is enough for her. There are many people who can refine this level of pill on the island. There's no need for her to come to me for alchemy. So what? Are you stupid? Who cares what she's plotting or scheming now that the benefits are sent to your door? You should take it first. Did you forget a saying in your secular world? When a sugar-coated bullet comes, peel off the sugar coating and eat it, then shoot the bullet back. Isn't that right? The ghost thing said resentfully. If it could, it even wanted to ask Lin Yi to find Hua Lianxing. Okay, Ghost Senior, don't joke with me, help me analyze what's wrong. Lin Yi said, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Since the ghost thing had come out, then let it play its part. The ghost thing didn't talk nonsense anymore. After a slight pause, it said, actually, it's good that you did this. If this Hua Lianxing is really ordered by someone, then if you refuse her once, there will definitely be a second time. The next time the price might be higher. As long as it's not an offer that you can't refuse, then continue to refuse. Let's take a good look and see what the person behind this wants. It was different with the ghost thing around. Although Lin Yi also thought so, but with the ghost thing saying it, his thoughts would be clearer. In fact, the simplest way was for Lin Yi to follow Hua Lianxing himself and see if she had any contact or discussion with anyone. As long as he could hear something, then the matter would be clear. It was a shame that all the buildings in the extreme North Island had restrictions that prevented people from probing their consciousness. It was easy for Lin Yi to break it open, but this was Li Ziyu's turf after all. Doing that would be too disrespectful, so he didn't even mention it. Maybe Hua Lianxing really was here to ask for his help? Hua Lianxing's words were very natural, and there weren't any flaws in her performance. If it wasn't for the coincidence of Yun Xiao, Lin Yi wouldn't have suspected her. Reality proved that his suspicions were indeed reasonable. After returning to the 100 Flowers Gates encampment, Tong Wuxia was also waiting for Hua Lianxing. After listening to her report, he immediately left to find the 3 members of the Zheng clan. After listening to the situation, Zheng Dongjue smiled and said, wow, you mean Lin Yi has already refused to accept any more requests for alchemy? Very good, it seems that he has used up all the medicinal pills to restore his true qi. Now there is only one chance left for the auction. We can carry out the plan now. Zheng Dongxing looked at his grandson and said, Tianqing, did you buy the ghost cicada wings? We'll have to rely on this thing next. Grandpa, don't worry. I've already bought it. Zheng Tianqing said proudly, but his heart ached. He originally planned to let Qian Xiaodong use the ghost cicada wings to deal with Lin Yi, but he didn't expect that in the end, Qian Xiaodong would only agree to let Zheng Tianqing use spirit jades to buy the ghost cicada wings. Damn it, that bastard Qian Xiaodong said something about friendship, but in the end he directly offered a sky-high price of 25 million spirit jades. He even had the face to say that the friendship between the two of them was simply priceless. This kind of price was only given for the sake of Zheng Tianqing as a friend. Zheng Tianqing felt that he should jump off a building at this price, but in order to deal with Lin Yi, he could only grit his teeth and buy this precious friendship. Fortunately, their Zheng clan was a family of alchemy, and was one of the most profitable families. Otherwise, this damn ghost cicada wings would have made him go bankrupt. Zheng Dongjue said to Tong Wuxia with a pleasant expression. Wuxia, when do you think it's better to use the ghost cicada wings to tempt Lin Yi to make another move? Zheng Tianqing suddenly said with some dissatisfaction. Second Grandpa, of course it's better to do it immediately. This plan was all designed by me, and I was also the one who brought back the ghost cicada wings. Shouldn't I be the one to make the decision on this matter? Tianqing, how can you talk to your second grandpa like this? Zheng Dongxing said with a fierce face, then turned to Zheng Dongjue and said, this kid has such a temper, don't bother with him. Zheng Dongju laughed and said, how could that be? Cousin, you're worrying too much. Tianqing's words are reasonable, this opportunity should have been grasped by him. I just wanted Crouching Breath to express his opinion so that we can fill in the gaps. Zheng Tianqing's face looked much better and he immediately said, Second Grandpa, my tone just now was not very good, please don't take it to heart. Tong Wuxia, my second grandpa is asking you, do you have any ideas? Tong Wuxia bowed his head and said respectfully, this subordinate thinks that we can test Lin Yi again. Previously we have already offered 3 times the market price, This time we will offer 5 times. If he still doesn't agree, we can basically be sure that he is saving his strength for the auction. Good, let's do it. Although Zheng Tianqing felt that it was a bit indecisive, the ghost cicada wings was bought by him for 25 million spirit jades. He did not dare to waste it at will. Anyway, it didn't matter if he confirmed it again. Zheng Tianqing thought for a moment and then said, since we want to test him, we might as well offer 10 times the price, 3 or 5 times the price. There is not much difference, 10 times the price is more impactful. Young Master Qing, if we offer 10 times the price, even if we are sure that Lin Yi can refine a special grade medicinal pill, we won't be able to earn too much profit, and this may arouse his suspicion. After all, 10 times the price is more than enough to directly go to the auction and bid for his opportunity to refine medicinal pills. Tong Wuxia faintly reminded Zheng Tianqing, this was his duty as a subordinate. As for whether Zheng Tianqing would listen to it or not, it was not something he could control. Zheng Tianqing let out a sigh. In his heart he also felt that what Tong Wuxia said was a bit reasonable, but he would not admit his mistake, so he sneered and said, maybe Lin Yi has the ability to refine medicinal pills more than once? Without enough benefits, it may not be able to move him, so we must offer a price that he can't refuse. What young Master Qing said is reasonable. This subordinate did not consider it thoroughly. Tong Wuxia faintly admitted his mistake, but a trace of disdain flashed on his lowered face, but no one could see it. Zheng Dongjue opened his mouth to smooth things over and said, what Tianqing said is reasonable, the same goes for Wuxia. In my opinion, it is better to compromise. Since the previous offer was 3 times the price, then this time we will offer 6 times the price, which is double the price last time. It is enough to attract Lin Yi's attention. As for 10 times, this range is a bit too big. It is indeed easy to attract Lin Yi's attention and suspicion. 6 times is more or less enough. Recommend a very interesting urban novel, My Big Mistress Who Rents Together. You can find it on QQ Reading and QQ Browser. The Tang sex poison doctor returned to Huadu, but became the Tsundra Big Mistress's bodyguard. Chapter 5909. With a way out, Zheng Tianqing didn't insist on his opinion and nodded in agreement. Second grandpa is right. Then it's decided. Tong Wuxia, I'll leave this matter to you. Give me an answer as soon as possible so I can make the arrangements. Yes, young Master Qing. Then this subordinate will take his leave. Tong Wuxia said calmly, then bowed to Zheng Dongjue and Zheng Dongxing and left. In any case, it was just an insignificant plan. Success was good, failure was good. Let them do what they want. Tong Wuxia thought this and quickly disappeared into the night. The next morning, Wei Xinjin came to report to Lin Yi, boss, that Hua Lianxin from 100 Flower Gate came to see you again. Do you want to let her in? Lin Yi's lips curled into a smile as he nodded faintly. She's a guest. Let's invite her to sit in the living room. What kind of price would he offer today? Will there be any follow-up after rejection? Thinking about it, he was looking forward to it. When he arrived at the living room, Hua Lianxin had already arrived. When she saw Lin Yi, she immediately bowed respectfully. Master Lin, I'm sorry to disturb you so early. If Protector Hua feels embarrassed, then don't come so early next time. Lin Yi said lightly. His tone made it hard to tell if he was joking or serious. Hua Lianxin choked and felt a bit awkward. She could only smile and say, Master Lin is magnanimous. I believe he won't bother with me. It's like this. Last night, I went back to discuss with the sect master of 100 Flower Gate. Because this pill is very important to our sect master, we must obtain it before the auction. For this, we are willing to raise the price to 6 times the market price. This is the limit we can bear. I hope Master Lin can consider it carefully. 6 times the market price was definitely a sky-high price. However, Lin Yi didn't even raise his eyebrows and said calmly, Protector Hua, I think I made it very clear yesterday, so I don't want to repeat myself. If you're only here to say this, then please leave. Hua Lianxin suddenly smiled. Master Lin, please don't be anxious. Since you're still willing to see me, it means that this matter can at least be discussed. Let's have a good talk. Maybe we can reach an agreement? Lin Yi looked at Hua Lianxin with a smile that wasn't a smile. Protector Hua, what else do you want to say? I've already said that I won't make a move before the auction, so there's no point in raising the price. If you really have a lot of spirit jades, why don't you go to the auction and bid for my pill refining opportunity? At that time, not to mention a mystic level 1 pill, even if it's a mystic level 2 pill, I can refine it for you. Master Lin, you're also going to auction the pill, why don't you just sell it to me? Just tell me how many spirit jades you want, as long as the 100 Flower Gate has it, we'll definitely give it to you. Hua Lianxin's eyes rolled as she giggled and made this suggestion. If Lin Yi only wanted a sum of spirit jades, then this suggestion was quite good. In any case, it was profit, so it didn't matter how much he earned. Lin Yi didn't say anything, only faintly smiled, then looked at Hua Lianxin, meaning that there was no room for discussion. Alright, I understand Master Lin's meaning. Hua Lianxin raised her hand in defeat, then squinted her eyes and smiled like a fox. Master Lin, then I'll give you a piece of news regarding the ghost cicada wings. I wonder if you'll be willing to refine a pill for me? You have news about the ghost cicada wings? Lin Yi really didn't expect to hear the 3 words ghost cicada wings from Hua Lianxin's mouth. Although it was just a piece of news, it was enough to move him. That's right, it's the ghost cicada wings. Master Lin, when you were on the ship, didn't you ask to buy it? Are you interested in knowing how to find it? Hua Lianxin had a confident expression, as if she was sure that Lin Yi would agree to her request. Kit, just agree to her request. Isn't it just refining pills? It's not like you'll lose out. The ghost thing couldn't help but say. With news of the ghost cicada wings, it would be much easier to obtain it. It was much better than having no target like now. As for whether or not Hua Lianxin was plotting something, the ghost thing really couldn't see it. No matter how it looked at it, it seemed like she was giving benefits to Lin Yi. If there really was a conspiracy, could it be that this beautiful young woman wanted to chase after Lin Yi? If that was really the case, the ghost thing felt that there might as well be a few more conspiracies like this. Lin Yi didn't reply to the ghost thing. Instead, he narrowed his eyes and looked at Hua Lianxin, then faintly smiled and said, Protector Hua, since you have news of the ghost cicada wings, it should be in the extreme North Island. Even if you don't tell me, I have a high chance of finding it, right? So what? Hua Lianxin still had a smile on her face, as if she didn't care whether or not Lin Yi was able to find out anything. Lin Yi shrugged his shoulders and said, Nothing much. It's just that if you tell me about the ghost cicada wings now, I will owe you a favor. In the future, if you need to refine pills, I will definitely arrange it first. If you don't tell me, I can only investigate it myself. No matter what the result is, I will bear a grudge against you and even your 100 Flowers Gate. Don't even mention refining pills for you, even the Tiandan Pavilion on the Central Island will put you on their unwelcome list. Protector Hua, which choice do you think is more suitable for you? Hua Lianxin's expression immediately changed. She didn't want to offend a genius profound-level alchemist like Lin Yi, or even provoke such a powerful enemy for her 100 Flowers Gate. Lin Yi's words weren't a threat, but a statement of fact. Because of this, Hua Lianxin didn't take it lightly. However, this woman wasn't a simple person either. She immediately revealed a sweet smile and said, Master Lin really knows how to joke. Actually, when I mentioned the ghost cicada wings, I naturally wanted to tell Master Lin. It doesn't matter if you refine pills for us or not. To be able to exchange a piece of information for Master Lin's friendship, it's simply too worth it. It's a favor. Lin Yi smiled and corrected her. Wanting to use a piece of information to obtain his friendship, then his friendship was a bit too cheap. Chapter 59:10. Lin Yi was slightly startled. The ghost cicada wings would appear at the small-scale trade fair? He had participated twice and failed to purchase the ghost cicada wings. Why did it suddenly appear this afternoon? Could it be that a newcomer had just taken it out? Then how did Hua Lianxin receive the news? Lin Yi, who had some doubts in his heart, did not care about Hua Lianxin's farewell. He casually waved his hand and sent her away. Yesterday he wanted to say that he would not participate in the small-scale trade fair anymore. He did not expect that he would have to go again today. In any case, the ghost cicada wings was something that he had to obtain. With the ghost speed wings and the lightning evasion technique, even if he encountered a super expert of sea-splitting stage, Lin Yi did not think that he would lose. Senior Ghost, did you find anything strange about this Hua Lianxin? Lin Yi shook his head. He wanted to ask if the ghost had seen any conspiracy. The ghost said solemnly, Yes, I am very sure. What is it? Lin Yi said in his heart that the older the ginger, the spicier it was. He himself could not see anything strange. This woman has taken a fancy to you. You should give in to her. The ghost said very seriously. In the end, it could not hold itself back and laughed strangely. Lin Yi's mouth twitched. He suddenly felt that it was good for the ghost to go into seclusion. Okay, stop joking around. We are talking about serious matters. Lin Yi said helplessly. Hua Lianxin looked very beautiful, but she was not his type. Wait, what was he thinking about? He was led astray by the ghost. The ghostly thing stopped laughing and said, Well, there is indeed one strange thing. She really wants you to refine pills. This doesn't seem to be very accurate. It should be said that she has been testing you to see if you can continue to refine pills before the auction. Do you understand what I mean? Lin Yi's eyes lit up. He was also confused by the situation. After being pointed out by the ghost, he suddenly had an idea. Senior Ghost, do you think that Hua Lianxin and Yun Xiao are actually on the Zheng family's side? These guys gave me a lot of spirit jades and pills on the ancient warship, and now they are doing it again? How could there be such a good person in this world? I'll have to go easy on them the next time I beat them up. Linny laughed. He wasn't sure, but there was a high chance that he was right. Although the ghost had gone into seclusion on the ancient warship, it still knew a little about what had happened. Thus, it was able to link the two of them together. In truth, Yun Xiao and Hua Lianxin's acting skills were much better than those four idiots. Linny almost didn't notice their flaws. That's why I said you should have accepted all of them. You're giving them free elixirs and spiritual jades, yet you're still saving them. What a wastrel. The ghostly thing muttered with a smile. Linny pretended not to hear it. After a while, Tong Wulsuo returned to the place where Jing Dongjue and the others were. Hua Lianxin had already disclosed the news of the ghost cicada wings to Lin Yi according to his instructions. Then, the next step was what Jing Tianqing and the others needed to do. As long as he informed them, this task would be considered completed. Jing Tianqing hadn't even finished listening to Tong Wulsuo's report when he flew into a rage and said, Tong Wulsuo, I said that when to use the ghost cicada wings is up to me. What do you mean by making a trade fair? Jing Dongjue seemed to have a lot of trust in Tong Wulsuo. He opened his mouth to smooth things over. Tianqing, don't be so agitated. Listen to Tong Wulsuo's reason first. I believe he won't do it casually. Isn't that right, Wulsuo? Tong Wulsuo smiled slightly, bowed and said, Thank you for your trust, Deputy Hall Master. This subordinate just thought that it would be more appropriate to do it this way. I'm really sorry that I didn't inform young Master Qing in advance. You think it's more appropriate? Jing Tianqing smiled coldly, slammed the table and said, Then do you still think that it's more appropriate for you to be the boss here? These words were a little heavy. Tong Wulsuo hurriedly said to Zheng Dongjue, Deputy Hall Master, this subordinate definitely doesn't mean that. This subordinate just thinks that if we simply raise the price of Lin Yi's alchemy, and even take out the ghost cicada wings, it will definitely make Lin Yi suspicious. Once he is vigilant, it will be as difficult as ascending to heaven to get him to use the ghost cicada wings at the auction. Now let's release the news of the ghost cicada wings first. At the trade fair, as long as he wants it, he must agree to the conditions of alchemy. At that time, he won't be able to go back on his word unless he is willing to give up the ghost cicada wings. Jing Dongjue went through these words in his mind, and suddenly clapped his hands and laughed. Good. Well said. If he goes to his door and takes out the ghost cicada wings to ask Lin Yi to alchemy, he is very likely to refuse, but if he takes the initiative to trade at the trade fair, then he will have to refine it no matter what. Otherwise, the entire northernmost island will know his bad character, and it doesn't matter if he doesn't get the opportunity at the auction. Jing Dongxing also nodded in agreement. Although he didn't say anything, he also felt that Tong Wulsuo did not do anything wrong. Letting Lin Yi take the initiative to trade was definitely a clever move. Only Jing Tianqing was left. Seeing that his two grandfathers did not object, this guy naturally could not say anything more. He could only stare at Tong Wulsuo with hatred. This bastard, he's just a servant, how dare he snatch the credit from me, the master? This plan was clearly planned by him, Jing Tianqing, but at the last moment this bastard jumped out and snatched away the credit. That feeling was no different from eating a fly, it was too annoying. Sky Qing, you'll arrange for someone to lure Lin Yi to take the bait during the afternoon's trade fair. Since he wants the ghost cicada wings so badly, we might as well let him make a mystic second-level pill. He's earned so much, it's about time he paid us back a little. Jing Dongxing was still very concerned about his grandson. Seeing that he was not in a good mood, he appointed him to do this. Jing Tianqing glanced at Tong Wulsuo and nodded hard. Grandpa, don't worry, I know what to do. This matter will definitely be done beautifully. Just wait and see Lin Yi's show. Chapter 59:11. Lin Yi was not interested in who was holding this trade fair. His only purpose for coming here was to exchange for the ghost cicada wings. As for other things, he almost ignored them. Hong Zhong and the others made a few moves and obtained some things that they liked. At this kind of trade fair, everyone basically took out their personal items. Whether it was the Hong Chamber of Commerce, Five Elements Commerce, or the Universal Chamber of Commerce, non-personal items would only be auctioned at the auction, not traded at this kind of trade fair. The trade fair had been going on for more than 2 hours, but Lin Yi still did not see the ghost cicada wings appear. He could not help but feel a little anxious, wondering if Hua Lianxin had received the wrong information, or if she was simply talking nonsense to deceive Lin Yi's gratitude. After all, if the ghost cicada wings did not appear, she could also use the excuse that others might have changed their minds at the last minute. However, just as Linny was beginning to get impatient, the ghost cicada wings finally appeared. A man with a hood covering his face appeared on the trading platform. He took out a jade box and said, "A pair of ghost cicada wings for a henna Dan." There was an uproar in the audience. Everyone thought that this guy was crazy. He actually wanted to exchange a pair of ghost cicada wings for a henna Dan. Wasn't this too whimsical? No wonder he wore a hood. It turned out that he knew it would be embarrassing. Lin Yi scanned with his divine sense, but he could not scan the other party's hood. It seemed that this thing could also prevent divine sense from prying. However, the effect was not too good. As long as Lin Yi wanted to, he could destroy it at any time. Unfortunately, the ghost cicada wings belonged to someone else. If he wanted it, he definitely could not act so recklessly. Friend, although the ghost cicada wings are rare in terms of value, it can't even compare to a tenth of a henna Dan, right? Your offer is too insincere. Someone in the audience could not help but complain. This kind of trade fair was an occasion for everyone to exchange what they needed. Even if the value of the things exchanged was not equal, the difference would not be too outrageous. Asking such an outrageous price on the stage was simply breaking the rules of the trade fair, so it caused others to be dissatisfied. The guy in the hood said coldly, "If you don't want to trade, then shut up. No one is forcing you to trade." The person who spoke earlier was immediately speechless because what he said was true. The trade fair was all about willingness. No one would force you to exchange things. However, Linny was reminded by that person. Although he really wanted the ghost cicada wings, this kind of price was really too ridiculous. Not to mention that he didn't have the henna elixir. Even if he did, he would have to think about it carefully. The ghostly thing laughed strangely and said, "Kid, that guy on the stage seems to be coming for you. He knows that you want the ghost cicada wings, so he deliberately offered a high price." "Senior Ghost, do you think that this guy is in cahoots with Yun Xiao and Hualien Xan?" Lin Yi smiled faintly. In fact, he also had such a guess. If that ghost also had the same idea, then it was probably not wrong. The ghostly thing chuckled and said, "Whether it's true or not, you'll know soon enough." There was no need for the ghostly thing to say anything. Lin Yi also knew what to do. Since he didn't have the henna elixir, he could only remain silent and choose to wait and see. The man in the hood on the stage waited for a while before saying coldly, "I heard that someone wanted to buy the ghost cicada wings, so I took it out. I didn't expect a mere henna elixir to scare him. I can only say that the person who wanted to buy the ghost cicada wings isn't very determined to buy it." Many people who knew Lin Yi couldn't help but look at him. After all, he had publicly asked to buy the ghost cicada wings on the ancient battleship. As for the matter of Hong Zhong buying it at the trade fair, everyone knew that it was Lin Yi's request. "See, he really is coming for you," the ghostly thing said in a tone that was as expected. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "That doesn't mean he's in cahoots with Yun Xiao and the others. I'll test him first." After speaking to the ghostly thing, Lin Yi raised his voice and said, "I do want the ghost cicada wings, but I don't have the henna elixir. Can you see if you can exchange it for something else? You're the Lin Yi who put up a chance to refine a mystic level 2 pill at the auction house, right? If it's you, you don't need a finished henna elixir. I can provide the materials and you can refine a henna elixir for me. The ghost cicada wings are yours." The man in the hood on the stage said unhurriedly. The conditions of the exchange were instantly reduced by several times. A finished henna elixir and a set of elixirs were completely different in value. Moreover, the elixir was provided by him. Lin Yi only needed to refine the elixir. They're really in cahoots," Lin Yi said to the ghostly thing with a smile. "I don't know what they're thinking. Do they really want a henna elixir after going through so much trouble?" The ghostly thing laughed and said, "Silly boy, I guess those idiots think that you're relying on some external force for continuous alchemy, so they've been testing whether you can continue alchemy, and then use the ghost cicada wings to tempt you to make a move. The opportunity at the auction can only be wasted." Lin Yi was slightly stunned. Only then did he understand that the ghostly thing's guess might really be the truth. Because he had never worried about this, he subconsciously didn't think about it. In fact, the truth was often so simple. After thinking about it, Lin Yi also didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He did rely on external force for alchemy, whether it was the infinite true qi in the space of the jade pendant, or the consumable primordial spirit that could directly become the divine alchemy fire obtained by the soul hooking hand. They were not his own things. However, these things could not be used up at all. If they wanted to use up his alchemy opportunity, he could only say that these people were very stupid and naive. "Are you regretting it? I told you to accept the alchemy commission that was sent to your door. Those were all spirit jades. the ghostly thing said with a strange smile, but it was just saying. Both he and Lin Yi knew that if they kept accepting alchemy commissions, the ghost cicada wings would never appear. It was because Lin Yi decisively refused to continue to accept the commission that they used the ghost cicada wings as bait. Chapter 59:12. Lin Yi regretfully shook his head and interrupted, "In that case it seems that the deal can't go on." Since he knew that the ghost cicada wing was deliberately taken out by the other party as bait, Lin Yi didn't need to worry. It was like fishing. Before the fish took the bait would never be taken away. If the fish couldn't be caught, he might have to add some more. Now it was up to both sides to compete patiently. Knowing the other party's purpose and trump card, Lin Yi was now sitting on the fishing platform. It was really uncertain who would be the one fishing. Hearing that Lin Yi was about to give up so easily, the hooded man suddenly panicked. Why was this development different from the design script? The plot shouldn't have developed like this. Could it be that Lin Yi's desire for the ghost cicada wing wasn't that urgent? Then why did he publicly request to buy it? The hooded man couldn't figure out the crux of the matter and could only open his mouth. Wait. The Haina Dan must be refined before the auction starts. I can take out 2 sets of materials and you only need to refine 1. How about it? This is a rare opportunity. No one knows if you can refine a mystic level 2 Dan. You may not be able to get a good price at the auction. This is the best time for you to prove yourself. Lin Yi seemed to be moved by this guy's words. He rubbed his chin and nodded. What you said makes sense. As long as I can prove that I can make a mystic 2nd level elixir, the auction for the elixir will be much smoother. But if I make the sea elixir first? Lin Yi deliberately didn't finish his words. He made an expression as if he had said something wrong. He laughed dryly and changed the topic. I still need to think about it. I can't give you an answer right now. You should think about it, but this ghost cicada wing isn't always available. If I can't get the Haina Dan before the auction, I will keep the ghost cicada wing for myself. The hooded man saw that Lin Yi was hesitating and immediately decided to add fuel to the fire. In addition to the 2 sets of Haina Dan materials and the ghost cicada wing, I will add another 5 million spirit jade. How about it? This kind of condition doesn't come by randomly. If you miss it, then you've missed it. The ghost thing laughed strangely and said, "You're really bad, kid. You deliberately made him think that you can't continue refining pills in a short period of time after refining the Haina Dan, so he was even more confident in making a deal with you. Senior Ghost, if you don't say it, we're still good friends. If you expose me like this, can we still have fun together in the future?" Lin Yi laughed in his heart as he talked nonsense with the ghost. However, he put on a very conflicted expression and said, "Friend, this matter is quite important. Let's not waste other people's time. Why don't we wait for the trade fair to end before we discuss in detail?" Lin Yi knew that the more he put on a show, the more the hooded man would want to trade with him, so he was not worried that he would lose the chance to get the ghost cicada wings. If it were an ordinary person, he might directly say that the deal was invalid. However, Lin Yi was sure that the hooded man might give him more benefits. He should really thank such a good person. Of course, the hooded man wanted to confirm the deal with Lin Yi on the spot. After all, there were so many people watching. However, he also knew that if he urged too much, Lin Yi might really refuse. If that happened, he would be a fool. Therefore, after thinking about it again and again, the hooded man nodded and said, "In that case, let's talk in detail later. However, I want to make it clear in advance that my request will not change. I know, I'll tell you in detail when the time comes. You can come to the 5 Elements Chamber of Commerce's residence to find me." Lin Yi laughed, looking as if he didn't want to continue talking. The hooded man's eyes lit up. He suddenly thought that he understood something. It must be that Lin Yi didn't want to disclose the details of the deal. In other words, it was very likely that he had succeeded. With this understanding, the hooded man didn't continue to insist. He immediately laughed and said, "Okay. In that case, after this I will talk to you in detail. Believe me, you will not be disappointed with this deal." Lin Yi was very disdainful in his heart. He didn't know who this fool was. Did he really think that he was good at acting? To be honest, with such terrible acting skills, not to mention Yun Xiao and Hualien Xian, even the 4 guys on the ancient battleship were much better than him. At least when they came to ask for alchemy, they would call him Master Lin to show their respect. Unlike him, who always talked about you. Was he afraid that others wouldn't know that he didn't like Lin Yi? After the deal was made, the hooded man put away his things and left the stage empty for the next person who wanted to trade. Then he left the trade fair. Obviously, he had no interest in the trade fair after that. After this episode, the following transactions really became a little boring. Everyone's mind was a little scattered. and the atmosphere suddenly became as calm as water. Lin Yi asked the ghost in his heart, "Senior Ghost, what is the price of a profound level 2 pill? Is it normal for that guy just now?" The ghostly thing laughed dryly and said, "It's probably about the same. 2 sets of materials for 1 pill, plus the ghost cicada wing and 5 million spirit jades, it's very generous. A normal profound level 2 pill should be about this, right?" Well, when Lin Yi heard this, he knew that he had asked in vain. This was obviously a case of pretending to understand something. "No, I have to ask how much it costs to refine a profound level 2 pill. I can't lose out. It's rare to meet such a good person. I must seize this opportunity and extort more." Lin Yi calculated for a moment. In any case, he had to make up for the loss of rejecting Hualien Xian. Speaking of which, this was also an opportunity. He had promised Zhuang Yifan that he would help him refine the Haina pill. It was just that his cultivation was not high enough at that time. Now that he could refine it together, he could give one to him and fulfill his promise. Chapter 59:13. "What the hell are you laughing at if you don't know how to laugh at me?" The thing raged and returned to Lin Yi's double critical strike. Haha. Thinking about it, the only person in the entire North Island who had the most right to speak about mystic level 2 elixir refinement was probably that weird girl, Li Zhaoyi. If Lin Yi wanted to ask about this, she was the most suitable person. But Kai Zhongyang and Hou Guanxi were Zhang Liju's disciples after all, so they should know something, right? Lin Yi wasn't too sure, so he sent a mental message to ask the two beside him. He was sure that they really didn't know. It seemed like he still had to go find Li Zhaoyi. Lin Yi wasn't interested in the deal after anyways, so he quietly said goodbye to them, saying that he had something to do and would meet back at his place. He then left alone. The hooded man left first and Lin Yi didn't care about him. He would definitely come find him when the time came, so he didn't need to worry at all. After a few turns, Lin Yi quickly found the place of the Dan Hall, and after telling the disciple guarding the door that he was looking for Li Zhaoyi, he waited quietly at the door. If it was someone else who wanted to see Li Zhaoyi, the disciple guarding the door would most likely ignore them, but Lin Yi's name was very famous in Middle Island, especially in the Dan Hall, so the disciple didn't dare to neglect him. He quickly ran in to inform Lin Yi and then ran back respectfully. "Master Lin, Master Li Zhaoyi invites you." "Thank you." Lin Yi smiled and cupped his fists in thanks. He wouldn't put on airs when someone was being polite to him. After entering the door, he saw Li Zhaoyi standing at the door. Lin Yi was slightly surprised. He didn't think that this weird girl would actually be there to greet him personally. He was flattered. Seeing Lin Yi come in, Li Zhaoyi immediately smiled and nodded. "Lin Yi, did you come to find me because you want to work with me to concoct the elixir?" Lin Yi couldn't help but slap his forehead. How could he forget about this? No wonder this weird girl would come out to wait for him. It was a misunderstanding. Since he always wanted to concoct the elixir himself, he didn't even consider Li Zhaoyi, but she obviously didn't think that way. Thinking about it, it made sense. Lin Yi and Li Zhaoyi didn't have much interaction, and the only thing that could make him come in person was to concoct the elixir? "I'm sorry, don't mention the matter of concocting the elixir. I came to you today for something else." Lin Yi was straightforward. He said that there was no hope for cooperation, and he wasn't afraid that Li Zhaoyi would kick him out immediately. Fortunately, Li Zhaoyi's manners were good and she wouldn't kick him out immediately. She just put away the smile on her face and nodded coldly. "I see. Then you sit for a while and drink a few cups of tea. I'm a little busy and I'll talk to you later." Lin Yi was speechless. This girl was really realistic. Knowing that it was not a matter of cooperation, she didn't even want to talk more. Drink a few cups of tea? It was estimated that she wouldn't come back even after drinking a few buckets of tea. "Wait, I have something to ask you. It won't take much of your time." Lin Yi took 2 steps forward and hurriedly stopped Li Zhaoyi. If he really let her go, he definitely wouldn't be able to see her today, unless he agreed to cooperate to concoct the elixir. Li Zhaoyi looked at Lin Yi calmly but stood in the same place without any intention of speaking. That expression, that look, it was as if 8 big words were written on her forehead. "If you have something to say it quickly, fart." Lin Yi scratched his head, thinking to himself, I just refuse to cooperate with you in alchemy. Is there a need to make it so bitter and bitter? In any case, let's ask the question first. It's like this, I want to ask you, do you know how much is usually charged to concoct a mystic level 2nd level elixir? Li Zhaoyi still didn't speak and just looked at Lin Yi like that. Lin Yi sweated a little and could only ask in another way. Someone asked me to refine a sea granule elixir, and took out 2 sets of materials, a pair of ghost cicada wings and 5 million spirit jades. Do you think this price is appropriate? It's a loss. Li Zhaoyi answered this time, but it was just these 2 words. and then very proudly shook her head, turned around and went back to her room. The corner of Lin Yi's mouth twitched. He really wanted to ask if it was him or the guy who asked him to refine the elixir that lost, but he guessed that Li Xiaoyi wouldn't continue to answer, so he could only let it go. The damn thing was already laughing crazily. Lin Yi suffered a loss at Li Xiaoyi's side, and he was simply overjoyed. Who asked you to? Lin Yi shrugged and muttered, it's a loss, I'm definitely a loss. This time I must make that guy bleed. He actually wanted me to suffer a loss. The hooded man who was walking into the auction house felt an inexplicable chill. He didn't know what was going on, but he had a bad premonition. After leaving the pill hall, Lin Yi didn't go to the trade fair, but directly returned to the Five Elements Commerce's station, and waited for the hooded man to come find him. About an hour later, this guy came looking for him alone. Wei Xinjin and the others hadn't returned yet, but because of Lin Yi's prior instructions, the people of Five Elements Commerce directly brought him to the living room. After receiving the notice, Lin Yi strolled over unhurriedly. Anyway, Ghost Cicada Wing couldn't run away, so there was nothing for him to be anxious about. Lin Yi, have you thought about it? Do you accept my conditions? The hooded man sat on the chair, and didn't have any intention of getting up to welcome Lin Yi, and his tone didn't have any sense of respect. It looked like he wasn't asking Lin Yi to refine the elixir, but Lin Yi was begging him to refine the elixir. Lin Yi didn't care. Anyway, in his eyes, this idiot was a pile of walking spiritual jades. What was the point of haggling with spiritual jades? I thought about it and it's still a little difficult. Now that there's no one else, I'm not afraid to tell you honestly, I can refine the Haina elixir, but after refining it, I might not have the ability to complete the alchemy commission at the auction. This is something that will ruin my reputation, so I'm very hesitant. Lin Yi's face was full of embarrassment, and he said it as if it was the truth. This made the hooded man feel relieved. Chapter 59:14. In fact, the reason he went to the auction house just now was to confirm this matter. Could the auction items that had already been announced be cancelled? The answer was yes. But there would be very severe punishment, that is, they must compensate 3 to 5 times the starting price of the auction item, and at the same time, cancel the qualification of the consignor to participate in the auction, and expel them from the Extreme North Island for 10 years. Although this auction house was also the property of the Extreme North Li family, with the relationship between Lin Yi and Li Xiu, he may not be punished much, but this would have a fatal blow to the reputation of the auction house, and the Extreme North Li family may not necessarily take the initiative to break their own rules. Even if Lin Yi only compensated 30 million spirit jades in the end, the hooded man would be satisfied. At least it could cause a conflict between Lin Yi and the Extreme North Li family, and at the same time damage Lin Yi's reputation. As long as it could make him lose his reputation, everything would be worth it. When he goes back to the Middle Island, the reputation of Tiandan Pavilion will be ruined. Lin Yi didn't know the little plan in this guy's heart. He still pretended to be embarrassed. 10 million spirit jades is still too little. This is a profound level 2 pill. In the entire Heavenly Island, how many people can refine it? As far as I know, the alchemists who can refine profound level 2 pills, they only exist in the Profound Sea region. I am absolutely the only one here. These words were not nonsense. The hooded man himself admitted this, so he nodded involuntarily and said, you have a point. 15 million spirit jades. This is the final offer. I can't go any higher. After all, I have provided 2 sets of materials. More importantly, I have also provided a pair of ghost cicada wings. Lin Yi slapped the table and said, good. Great. Then give me 20 million spirit jades. The hooded man almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Didn't you King agree? Didn't you say it was great? Why did you raise the price again? Didn't you say 15 million spirit jades? How about it? This is the price that I vomited blood. It can't be cheaper. If you agree, then I will refine the pill. If you don't agree, then forget it. Stop talking nonsense. Lin Yi estimated that this price was about the limit that the other party could afford. Since he was going to make a profit, it was fine as long as it was reasonable. The hooded man wanted to cry but had no tears. He was, of course, Zheng Tianqing, the great young master Zheng. Chen Xiaodong had charged him a friendly discount for a pair of ghost cicada wings, and he had almost jumped off a building. Now Lin Yi had offered a price that would cause him to vomit blood. What was wrong with this world? Why were there profiteers everywhere? Without waiting for Zheng Tianqing to speak, Lin Yi suddenly frowned and said, wait, let me calculate, it seems like it's still too much of a loss. Deal. Deal. Zheng Tianqing hurriedly raised his hand and shouted. This was too much of a loss? He didn't even have enough blood to vomit, okay? Before Lin Yi had time to say whether he agreed or not, Zheng Tianqing directly took out 3 jade boxes and threw them to Lin Yi. At the same time he threw 2 purple spirit jade cards over and said, 2 sets of materials, a pair of ghost cicada wings and 20 million spirit jades, it's all yours. When can you start refining the pill? Lin Yi took it and praised, you really know how to do business. I originally wanted to ask for 30 million spirit jades, but you just closed the deal. Forget it, I will take care of you for the first time. Next time you come to me for refining pills, I won't let you off so easily. Zheng Tianqing looked around for a knife and directly stabbed this bastard to death. This was 2F** King Evil. How could this be considered doing business? How could this be considered letting him off so easily? No, stabbing this bastard to death with a knife was too easy, he had to cut him into pieces. Unfortunately, Zheng Tianqing knew that even if there were 10 of him tied up, he wouldn't be able to defeat Lin Yi with one finger, so he could only think of this happy scene in his heart. In reality, it was better not to mention it. Lin Yi suppressed his excitement and calmly put away the ghost cicada wings and the 2 purple spirit jade cards, and then opened the 2 jade boxes of elixirs to have a look. There was no problem, and the pill recipe was also prepared. He nodded with satisfaction and said, not bad, not bad. Since I have accepted your things, then I will start refining the pill now. You can come to get it tomorrow night. Are you sure you can succeed? If you fail, I want you to compensate me. Zheng Tianqing suddenly felt a little unwilling. He had taken out so many things at once, if he couldn't get them back, wouldn't he go bankrupt? Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, I have already said that if you come to me for refining pills, I will definitely compensate you in full if you fail. You can rest assured now you can go. Don't delay my refining. Zheng Tianqing snorted and said, that's for the best, remember what you said. I will come back tomorrow night. After this guy left, Lin Yi immediately returned to his room, took out the jade box containing the ghost cicada wings and opened it. It seemed to be empty, there was nothing inside. However, Lin Yi's divine sense could clearly find a pair of invisible cicada wings. It was invisible because this pair of ghost cicada wings was slightly vibrating and constantly changing its shape, as if it was adapting to the subtle flow of the air. Finally got it. It was really not easy. Lin Yi let out a long breath. With this ghost cicada wings he could finally refine the ghost speed wings. Lightning escape plus ghost speed wings, this combination made Lin Yi inexplicably excited. Not to mention the matter of escape in a battle, how powerful the combination of Thunder Ghost and Thunder Ghost would be, it really could only be known after trying it. The ghost thing was also very happy. The stronger Lin Yi's life-saving ability was, the safer he would be. To be honest, Lin Yi was indeed the luckiest guy he had ever seen. Otherwise he would not have soared to such strength in just a few years. Alright, don't be cocky, hurry up and refine the pills. The ghost thing was happy, but when it was time to hit Lin Yi, it was still merciless. Lin Yi smiled faintly and ignored it. After putting away the ghost cicada wings he took out the Shinong cauldron. As he entered the Haina Dan's pill formula into the automatic alchemy system he said to the ghost thing, Senior Ghost, why do you think that guy is refining the Haina Dan? With his strength he is still far from being able to take the Haina Dan. The ghost thing said lazily, why do you care so much about him? Maybe he only has this kind of profound level 2 material, maybe he wants to use it in the future, maybe he wants to auction it at the auction, or maybe he wants to give it to someone as a favor. It doesn't matter. Chapter 59:15. The ghost thing laughed strangely and said, you really think too much. Anyway, you already have the lightning escape technique. Under normal circumstances, even a C-splitting stage supermaster may not be able to catch you. If you add the ghost speed wings, your chance of escaping is still about 50%. The lightning escape technique and the ghost speed wings only have a 50% chance of escaping? Lin Yi was shocked. He still underestimated a C-splitting stage supermaster. The ghost thing disdainfully said, what do you think? This is the weakest early C-splitting stage cultivator, the kind that just advanced. When your strength is slightly stabilized, your chance of escaping will continue to decline. So kid, hurry up and cultivate to improve your strength. Lin Yi was speechless. He was already working very hard. In terms of speed of cultivation, there might not be many people in the entire Heaven Stage Island who could match him. Unfortunately, his strength was really not enough for a Magnate Realm Master. Forget it, the boat will cross the bridge when it comes to it. Let's refine the Haina Dan first. Lin Yi shrugged and turned his thoughts back to alchemy. After the Haina Dan's recipe was entered into the system, it was quickly analyzed and generated an alchemy script. Lin Yi directly put in 2 sets of materials. As a result, he expected to produce 4 Haina Dan. It was really a pleasant surprise. Even if he gave one to Zhuang Yifan in the future, He wasn't afraid of not having one. When the alchemy curve appeared, Lin Yi began to concentrate on alchemy. This time it took a little longer. It took more than 8 hours. Mystic Rank 2 was really difficult. It was completely different from Mystic Rank 1. In the end, the number of pills was not the expected 4 but 1 less. He only got 3 high nadan. At the same time, the quality was also different. There was only 1 top-grade high nadan, and the remaining 2 were not bad. They were both top-grade high nadan. It's a pity that one was wasted. These are all spirit jades. The ghost thing sighed and said. In fact, it didn't care. He just said it for fun. Lin Yi's state of mind was pretty good. He put away the 3C granule pills in satisfaction and said, "It's already very good to have such a result for the first time refining a Mystic Grade 2 pill. You won't lose face if you take out a high-grade high nadan. As long as you're satisfied." The ghost said with a smile, then continued, "Do you think the guy who schemed against you will continue to ask you to refine pills after seeing you take out the high nadan?" Lin Yi nodded and said, "I think he most likely will. But that fellow already spent a lot of spirit jades. I reckon that he can't take out much spirit jades anymore, right? At most he's just testing me. Then do you want to accept it? Who cares how many spirit jades they have? Let's talk about it after we earn it." The ghostly thing chuckled and said, "The things you want to buy are not cheap. It's better to make more money just in case." Lin Yi smiled slightly and said, "I'm not going to continue to accept it. I have to give him some hope. If I destroy his hope now, it won't be fun in the future. It's just spirit jades. When can I not earn it?" The ghost praised him sincerely. "You're right. You're getting worse and worse." Lin Yi also said modestly, "Not at all. It's just that one is marked by the company one keeps." "Are you saying that I've been led astray by you? Senior Ghost, although you don't have a body yet, you can't be so shameless, right?" After the two of them chatted for a while, Lin Yi calmed his mind. He took out the ancient books he bought and carefully studied them. The knowledge of elixirs was very useful to him. Therefore, most of the time he was reading the herbal essentials. Occasionally he would also study the array Dao. The ghost thing didn't dabble much in elixirs, but it was definitely an expert in the array Dao. This made Lin Yi's progress quite fast. A day passed quickly. Lin Yi was so focused on studying the ancient books that he almost forgot about the matter of the elixirs. It was not until Wei Xinjin came to call him that he knew that the creditors had come to the door. "Boss, there are 2 people at the door. One is Yun Xiao, and the other is the hooded man from yesterday's trade fair. Both of them said that they are looking for boss to get elixirs." Wei Xinjin touched the restriction outside the room and reported loudly. Lin Yi opened the door and said, "Invite them to the living room. I'll be there soon." "Yes, boss." Wei Xinjin simply agreed and turned to walk to the door. Lin Yi took out 4 jade bottles for elixirs and held them in his hand. He came to the living room and sat down. Not long after, Yun Xiao and Zheng Tianqing, who was disguised as the hooded man, came in. Yun Xiao respectfully cupped his fists and bowed. "Yun Xiao greets Master Lin. Tomorrow is the date of the auction. I wonder if Master Lin has finished?" As for Zheng Tianqing, he didn't mean to greet Lin Yi at all. He directly sat on the chair and then asked, "Is my Hai Na Dan refined?" Lin Yi ignored Zheng Tianqing and slightly cupped his fists at Yun Xiao. "Sect Master Yun, please sit down and talk. Your elixirs have been refined. These 3 jade bottles are it. You can check them." How could Yun Xiao be in the mood to sit down? He quickly picked up the 3 jade bottles that Lin Yi placed on the coffee table. After opening them one by one, he nodded excitedly and said, "That's right. These are the 3. Thank you, Master Lin. Yun Xiao will leave first." "Sect Master Yun, don't you want to sit down and have a cup of tea?" Lin Yi asked casually. He didn't have any intention of keeping him. Yun Xiao hurriedly cupped his fists and said, "Thank you, Master Lin. This Yun still has important matters, so I won't disturb you today. I'll visit Master Lin another day. Goodbye." After speaking, he turned around and left with the 3 jade bottles. He was very straightforward. Zheng Tianqing looked at the leaving Yun Xiao thoughtfully. He even forgot that Lin Yi ignored him. Zheng Tianqing knew that Tong Wushuan looked for Yun Xiao for help, but Tong Wushuan said that he only agreed to refine 2 elixirs when he looked for Lin Yi to refine elixirs, but he gave a total of 5 sets of materials. At that time, Zheng Tianqing didn't doubt it. He didn't expect that Yun Xiao took away 3 elixirs. How could this not make him suspicious? However, this matter wasn't important, so Zheng Tianqing put it aside first. He would ask Tong Wushuan when he returned. Now, the main thing was to get the Hai Na Dan and see if Lin Yi still had the ability to continue refining elixirs. "Lin Yi, is my Hai Na Dan done? Don't let me down." Zheng Tianqing said very solemnly. In fact, he thought that it would be better if Lin Yi couldn't take it out. Anyway, this guy pretended yesterday that he would compensate in full if he failed. Chapter 59:16. If he could get back the ghost cicada wings that Lin Yi wanted, it would be even more perfect. Lin Yi looked at Zheng Tianqing as if he was looking at an idiot, pointed to another jade bottle on the tea table and said, "Don't you see the jade bottle that contains the elixir? If you have bad eyesight, don't wear a hood like others, it's easy to hit the wall." Zheng Tianqing's face became hot. He really didn't see the jade bottle that Lin Yi put aside. He immediately cursed Lin Yi in his heart for being treacherous. He must have done this deliberately to humiliate him. If Lin Yi knew what he was thinking, he would definitely tell him politely that there was no need to go through so much trouble to humiliate him. Who would have the time to play those roundabout tricks? After coughing twice to cover up, Zheng Tianqing picked up the jade bottle and opened it to have a look. Sure enough, there was a high-quality sea granule pill inside. To be honest, he really didn't know how to describe his feelings at this time. It was obvious that the plan had succeeded, but when he saw this elixir, he didn't feel any joy in his heart. Lin Yi smiled slightly and said, "There's no problem with the elixir, right? If there's no problem, our deal is completed. You can go." Zheng Tianqing put away the jade bottle, took a deep breath and said, "Refine another elixir for me. The price is still the original, how about it?" Lin Yi simply shook his head and said, "No." Zheng Tianqing was stunned and continued to test, "I'll add another 10 million spirit jades?" "No." Lin Yi looked at Zheng Tianqing with a little impatience and said coldly, "You can go. I won't see you out." "Hey, what's with your attitude?" Zheng Tianqing stood up fiercely and said angrily. In fact, he was very proud in his heart. The more Lin Yi behaved like this, the more it showed that his plan had succeeded. This time Lin Yi didn't even want to talk to him anymore. He turned around and left. This idiot Zheng Tianqing really was an idiot. He didn't care what kind of attitude he had when he was asking for a pill, but he was still picking on the refiner? Zheng Tianqing snorted a few more times behind him. Seeing that Lin Yi had already left, he left the Department of Five Elements Commerce with satisfaction. After making a few turns, Zheng Tianqing removed his hood in a hidden place and quickly returned to his place. His two grandfathers were waiting for his news. "Grandpa. Second grandpa. It's a success." As soon as they entered the room, Zheng Tianqing didn't even have time to close the door and excitedly reported the good news. Zheng Dongxing signaled him not to be anxious. He closed the door and placed a restriction on it before asking with a smile, "Are you sure that brat Lin Yi can't perform alchemy?" "He definitely can't do alchemy. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so uninterested in my offer." Zheng Tianqing's face was full of pride, and he told the story of how he had asked Lin Yi to concoct pills at a higher price, but had been directly rejected. Zheng Dongjue stroked his beard and laughed, "Good. Well done. Tianqing is really our Zheng family's Qilin. With you here, our Zheng family will definitely prosper." Zheng Tianqing was rarely modest and said, "Second grandpa is overpraising me. It's all thanks to grandpa and second grandpa's nurturing." This attitude, the two old men were even more satisfied. The wrinkles on their faces were almost blooming with smiles. Zheng Tianqing took out the jade bottle containing the Haina Dan and handed it to Zheng Dongxing. "Grandpa, that brat Lin Yi really has the ability to show off. He actually successfully refined a profound level 2 Haina Dan, and the quality is also high. Take a look." Zheng Dongxing's expression became dignified. Before seeing it with his own eyes, even if Lin Yi himself said that he could refine a profound level 2 Dan, he still held a skeptical attitude. Now that it was confirmed, his mood was completely different. A mystic second-level alchemist, not to mention the East Continent's Yellow Class C, even if he went to the Mystic Class C, it would be very easy for him to gain a place. Offending such an alchemist was definitely not a good thing. It really is a high-quality Haina Dan. This Lin Yi can't be left alive. Otherwise, our Zheng family will be destroyed by him sooner or later. Zheng Dongxing carefully checked the Haina Dan in the jade bottle and said with a gloomy expression. Zheng Dongjue's fingers on the tea table gently tapped on the table. After a while he sighed, "Lin Yi is so easy to kill, he has already died many times. Let's put this matter aside for now. Let's first solve this matter and then we'll discuss it." Zheng Dongxing nodded and didn't say much about this topic. He turned to put away the Haina Dan and said, "Dongjue, I'll keep this Haina Dan. Whether we can go back to the East Continent or not depends on whether this Haina Dan can satisfy Zhuang Yifan. I heard that Lin Yi, that kid, relied on a Digu Dan to get Zhuang Yifan's appreciation. This time we'll give him a Haina Dan, at least it should not be a problem to go back to the East Continent." If cousin can go back to the East Continent, it is a necessary step for our Zheng family to rise. A mere Haina Dan is nothing. Jing Dongxing waved his hand indifferently. In fact, the herbs used to refine the Haina Dan were from Dan Hall and Jing Dongxing. The spiritual jades were Zheng Tianqing's. He didn't lose anything, so it was normal for him to be generous. Tianqing, do you have any ideas on how to make things difficult for Lin Yi at the auction? This matter was handled beautifully. Even Jing Dongjue valued Jing Tianqing a lot more. Even when he asked questions, he had to wear a warm smile. Jing Tianqing pretended to be reserved and said with a smile, I'm about to report to Grandpa and Second Grandpa. At that time On the last night before the auction, the northernmost island was still calm on the surface. However, no one could know what kind of undercurrent was surging behind the scenes. When dawn broke the next day, the quiet northernmost island suddenly became lively. Today was the day when the top auction that only happened once in a few years or even a dozen years officially began. The long-awaited guests got up early to prepare, waiting to enter the auction and squander the spiritual jades in their hands. Lin Yi wasn't in a hurry. However, Wei Xinjin strolled around the courtyard early in the morning. From time to time he would walk around the door of Lin Yi's room. Although he didn't say anything, the meaning was obvious, boss. It's time to get up and go. When Lin Yi came out, Kai Zhongyang was almost ready. The three of them walked together towards the auction house. 5 Elements Commerce had its own box, so Kai Zhongyang would be separated from Lin Yi in the end. It was the same for Hong Zhong and Ho Guanqi, so the two of them didn't come to meet up. Brother Kai, which box is 5 Elements Commerce? I'll pay attention to it at that time so that I won't fight with you. Lin Yi thought of this, so he asked with a smile. Chapter 59:17. Lin Yi shrugged his shoulders and said, I don't know yet. Li Ziyu gave me a sign that doesn't specify a private room. When the time comes, I'll see which one is empty and directly go in. Anyway, you'll go with me, so I'm not afraid of not being able to find it. As they spoke, they had already arrived at the auction house. At this time, there were already many people who entered at the entrance, but these were all seats in the hall on the first floor. Lin Yi and the others had a private room on the second floor, which belonged to the VIP seats. The entrance was also in the other direction. The auction house was specially responsible for leading the VIP on the second floor to their private room. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that before he entered, he saw 2 guys who didn't like him. One was Chen Xiaodong and the other was Yu Ziqing. Hey, isn't that Master Lin Yi? What a coincidence. Chen Xiaodong sneered and waved his hand at Lin Yi, snorted and said, I heard that you've earned a lot of spirit jades from alchemy these days. Do you want to buy something? Let me tell you, with this young master here, you brat, don't even think about buying a single treasure. Uncle Li, who was beside him, smiled bitterly. The news that Lin Yi had successfully refined a profound grade 2 Dan had already spread in a small area. It was definitely not a good thing to offend such a powerful alchemist. If possible, it was best to turn enemies into friends. Unfortunately, looking at Chen Xiaodong's appearance, he wouldn't stop until he offended people to death. On the other side, Yu Ziqing also smiled coldly and said, Xiaodong, you're wrong. Even without you, he can't buy anything. These two were both students of Xixing Academy, and they were both young city lords. They were close to each other on weekdays, so their relationship was very good. Now it was clear that they wanted to join forces to deal with Lin Yi. Lin Yi frowned slightly. The strength of these two brats was nothing great, but their financial resources were by no means ordinary. If they joined forces to snipe what Lin Yi wanted, it would really be a more troublesome thing. Seeing that Lin Yi's face was a little ugly, Chen Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing suddenly laughed and proudly turned away with their respective guards. Kai Zhongyang whispered, Brother Lin, you don't need to pay attention to them. If there's something you like, you can tell me or President Hong and use the name of our Chamber of Commerce to take action. I don't think they will destroy it. This was indeed a way. If Chen Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing only stared at Lin Yi and let others bid, it might not attract their attention. Lin Yi smiled faintly. Don't worry, Brother Kai. It's just a small matter. I'll take care of it. If I really can't handle it, I'll ask for your help. Kai Zhongyang nodded with a smile and said, That's right. We're brothers, there's no need to be polite. Let's go and see which boxes those 2 second-generation rich kids are in. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. He'd wanted to pick a random room as long as he didn't attract too much attention. But now he didn't mind being a bit more conspicuous. At the very least, he'd let those 2 idiots know where he was in case they found the wrong person. With a slight sweep of his divine sense, Lin Yi already knew that Chen Xiaodong was in the 5th box, and Yu Ziqing was in the 6th box. The people in the first 10 boxes were extremely distinguished. Kai Zhongyang and the others were all outside the 10th box, which could explain this problem. But the jade card in Lin Yi's hand was personally given to him by Li Ziyu. This gave him the privilege to choose any of the first 10 boxes, even if it was a box reserved by others. If others had already entered the box, then naturally the honored guest could not be driven out. But as long as they have not entered the box, the jade card could be used to choose at will. There was no other way. This was the Li family's place. No one had the right to interfere where people wanted to sit in their own home. No matter how distinguished the guest was, the host should choose first, right? Lin Yi pinched the jade card representing the Li family in his hand. The corner of his mouth hooked up into a smile. He called out to Kai Zhongyang and quickly chased after them. Qian Xiaodong arrived at the door of the 5th box first. He was preparing to use the jade card to open the door. Lin Yi directly stopped him and said, "Sorry, this is my box." Really a country bumpkin. He doesn't even know where his box is. Qian Xiaodong said to Yu Ziqing with a smile. The disdain on his face was not concealed at all. Lin Yi was not angry. He just smiled and said, "It's really hard to say who is the country bumpkin. But this box is mine, so there is absolutely no mistake." Qian Xiaodong sneered and raised his hand to show his jade card. The number 5 was clearly engraved on it. "Look carefully, country bumpkin. This is my box. If you want to die, you should choose a better place. This is not a suitable place to bury your cheap bones." Yu Ziqing also laughed and chimed in, "Little Dong, don't blame him. This idiot might have bought a fake jade tablet outside, and it just so happens to be from the 5th box. Sai, a bumpkin will always be a bumpkin. It's normal that he can't get a good jade tablet." Lin Yi looked at the two self-righteous fools as if they were fools. He said with a sneer, "Haven't you heard of my relationship with the Li family in the extreme north? It seems that you haven't heard of it. As soon as you leave the sphere of influence of your father in the East Continent, your stupidity and incompetence are immediately exposed." Qian Xiaodong was furious. He turned to Uncle Li and said, "Uncle Li, take this bastard down." Uncle Li did not make a move. Instead, he lowered his head and whispered, "Young master, this is the auction house of the extreme North Island. It is not a place to fight." To be honest, Uncle Li really did not want to fight with Lin Yi. After a short test last time, he found that Lin Yi was not simple. It was not an exaggeration to say that he was unfathomable. This kind of person could not be easily killed unless he was 100% sure. Otherwise, it would cause a lot of trouble for Rapid City. Qian Xiaodong was slightly stunned. The experience at the extreme North Chamber of Commerce was still fresh in his memory. The auction house was probably guarded by more strong people. If he made a move here, someone would probably appear to stop him. It was indeed not a good place to fight. Lin Yi was not afraid of them making a move. Uncle Li was only at the early stage of the mountain opening realm. In addition, there was also an unprepossessing middle-aged woman at the early stage of the mountain opening realm beside Yu Ziqing. Even if the two of them joined hands, it would not be difficult for Lin Yi to deal with them. As long as they dared to make a move, Lin Yi would dare to kill them here. Unfortunately, the guy called Uncle Li was very calm. He stopped Qian Xiaodong, who was about to go berserk, with one sentence. Lin Yi flipped his hand and took out the jade card, revealing the words of the extreme North Li family. He said, "Do you see it clearly? Is this room number 5 mine?" Chapter 59:18. Anyone who bought a jade card for the first 10 rooms would receive this notification, and House Li wasn't worried that there wouldn't be a room of the same level to exchange. Normally speaking, the first, second, and third rooms were reserved by House Li for their own use, and also for important guests like Lin Yi. Uncle Li didn't wait for Qian Xiaodong to speak and said with a smile, "Since Master Lin used the jade card of the Li family in the extreme north, of course, box 5 is yours." After saying this, he immediately turned to the staff who led the way and asked, "According to the rules, we can exchange boxes of the same level. Which number is empty?" The staff said, "Number 4 next to it is empty." Normally, there wouldn't be any empty boxes left in this kind of top auction. The Li family in the extreme north only reserved boxes 1 to 3, but no one knew why there was an extra box number 4 today. The staff of the auction house had never encountered such a situation before. When Uncle Li asked him, he subconsciously pointed out the nearest private room. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "Box 4 is not bad. Hurry up and send them to number 4. Sending to number 4 sounded like Lin Yi was courting death. Qian Xiaodong's face became more and more ugly. Uncle Li simply pulled him to the 4th box and whispered at the same time, "Young City Lord, number 4 is also not bad. It's convenient to monitor him, and it's also close to number 6, isn't it?" Qian Xiaodong thought it made sense, so he didn't resist too much. He glared at Lin Yi hatefully, said goodbye to Yu Ziqing and followed Uncle Li angrily. He had already secretly vowed in his heart that he would never let Lin Yi buy anything today. In addition, as long as there was a chance, he must kill Lin Yi. After Qian Xiaodong left, Yu Ziqing pointed at Lin Yi with his finger, meaning that he would have a good time. However, Lin Yi didn't look at him at all, completely ignoring him. This feeling of being ignored made Yu Ziqing so angry that his chest hurt, but he couldn't do anything. He could only bring the middle-aged woman beside him into room number 6. Kai Zhongyang smiled bitterly. Brother Lin, why are you doing this? They were already targeting you. You have the right to choose the private room, so you should have let them not know your exact location. Now you're being attacked from both sides. Do you really want to fight with them today? Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, Brother Kai, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. You go to your box first. If you need help, I'll ask Wei Xinjin to look for you. Alright, as long as you know what you're doing. Kai Zhongyang didn't say anything more. He knew that Lin Yi's ability was much stronger than his, so he really didn't need to worry about anything. Speaking of which, if they see that I'm with you, I'm afraid that they will also come to compete for the items that I bid on. Maybe I won't be able to help you today. Lin Yi was slightly startled and said, That's possible. Brother Kai, it seems that I've implicated you. However, these two brats' spiritual jades won't be limitless. Once they finish spending it, it will be quiet. Kai Zhongyang thought that Lin Yi was comforting him, so he didn't take it to heart. After saying a few more words, he directly went to the 5 Elements commerce box. Lin Yi brought Wei Xinjin into the 5th box and casually looked around. The entire box was about 15 to 16 square meters. The space was pretty good. Facing the auction stage was a transparent crystal membrane. From the box, one could clearly see the main hall and the auction stage, but from the main hall one couldn't see in. In front of the crystal membrane, there were 2 comfortable chairs. In front of the chairs was a circular crystal stage. According to the description on it, it was used for bidding and completing transactions. In addition, there was a cabinet in the box. There were all kinds of precious spiritual fruits and spiritual tea placed on it for the user to use. On the other side there was even a soft mattress. If there was a need, one could lie on it and take a nap at any time. After Lin Yi sat down on the chair, he called out to Wei Xinjin and said, You sit too. Don't be shy. Or do you want to look for Miss Shang? Wei Xinjin smiled awkwardly and said, No, Yuhua is with Uncle Shang. Let's talk about it after today's auction is over. While talking, Wei Xinjin took out a fruit plate with spiritual fruits from the cabinet and put it on the tea table next to Lin Yi. Then he made some spiritual tea. After a while he sat on the other chair. The two chatted for a while. The hundreds of seats in the main hall were almost full. The box should be almost full as well. Looking down from above, Lin Yi could see some familiar faces. He knew some of them, but he couldn't name some of them. After a short while, a graceful woman dressed in palace attire appeared on the auction stage. She walked elegantly to a small hosting stage, and as her bright eyes wandered, she looked around the entire hall and the VIP boxes on the 2nd floor. Welcome, distinguished guests, to the northernmost island. I'm the chief auctioneer of the northernmost auction house, Huang Wenjing. I'm honored to host today's auction and witness the grand occasion of this top-notch auction with distinguished guests. Huang Wenjing smiled. Her voice was soft and clear. She spoke at a moderate speed. Even if she didn't use a sound amplification array, it could ensure that everyone in the auction house could clearly hear what she said. Just with these 2 sentences, the originally noisy hall suddenly quieted down. Everyone's eyes gathered on Huang Wenjing on the stage. Huang Wenjing smiled sweetly and said, This feeling of being the center of attention is really good. It makes me feel like I'm really shining. Unfortunately, I also know that everyone is just anxious about when I can enter the official auction, and not because they really want to see me talk nonsense. Alright, as you wish, today's auction officially begins. Huang Wenjing smiled sweetly and said, This feeling of being the center of attention is really good. There was a slight laughter under the stage. A beautiful woman could be humorous. In any case, there would always be people who would support her. Just by looking at Huang Wenjing's straightforward start of the auction, many people had a good impression of this beautiful auctioneer. In the middle of the auction stage, a square table the size of a tea table rose. On top of it, a white jade tray was covered with a transparent crystal cover. There was a small black ring on it. Chapter 59:19. There was a burst of gasps in the hall. Storage bags were almost impossible to see on the Heaven Step Island, let alone a storage ring. The storage bag that Lin Yi had just obtained was already a very precious thing. It would not be a problem to say that this ring was thousands of times more precious than his storage bag. Huang Wenjing slightly paused and a trace of satisfaction flashed in her beautiful eyes. The opening bid was the desired effect. As long as the atmosphere was stirred up, the following auction would definitely be much smoother. The starting price of this storage ring is 10 million spirit jades. Each increment must be no less than 500,000 spirit jades. Now, I invite interested friends to bid boldly. Huang Wenjing's words were not too provocative, but people who heard it couldn't help but bid. They felt that they would miss out if they didn't bid. 11 million spirit jades. Someone in the hall immediately bid and directly increased the bid by 1 million spirit jades. More than 90% of the people present didn't know the price of a storage ring. However, with such a large space, even a fool would know that it was absolutely not something that could be bought with 10 or 20 million spirit jades. If Lin Yi didn't have the space of the jade pendant, he would definitely find a way to bid for this storage ring. Even if he didn't have the hidden storage bag, he would still go all out to bid for it. As for now, he wasn't interested at all. He wasn't interested in the ring, but it was still necessary to participate in the auction. In any case, he wanted to see how determined Qian Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing were to deal with him. In the short span of a few breaths, the bidding price instantly broke through 20 million spirit jades and approached the 30 million mark. Lin Yi's mouth revealed a trace of a smile. He placed his hand on the crystal ball in front of him and lightly said, 50 million spirit jades. His voice didn't spread out. Instead, it was transformed into a price and appeared on the projection array in the hall. This price directly crushed all the previous bids. The hall instantly became quiet. It wasn't that the price of 50 million was too high. Compared to this storage ring, the price of 50 million spirit jades was not high at all. However, Lin Yi directly doubled the original price. This kind of momentum suddenly stunned most of the people below. 50 million spirit jades. The guest in booth number 5 bids 50 million spirit jades. 60 million spirit jades. Huang Wenjing hadn't even finished her sentence when she immediately raised her voice and turned towards the direction of booth number 4. The guest in booth number 4 has bid 60 million spirit jades. This is the highest bid so far. Lin Yi smiled faintly. As expected, Qian Xiaodong had made a move. Let's see how much he wanted to snipe Lin Yi. 100 million spirit jades. Lin Yi was not in the mood to test Qian Xiaodong's bottom line bit by bit, so he directly increased the bid by 40 million. Although the storage ring was of no use to Lin Yi, he could give it to someone else if he really wanted. After all, there was only one space in the jade pendant, and it would be much more convenient to have a storage ring. 100 million spirit jades. The VIP guest in booth 5 raised the price to 100 million spirit jades. I want to say that this price is definitely not a loss because this kind of storage ring has been passed down from ancient times. It is not something that can be obtained easily. 150 million spirit jades. Booth number 4 bids 150 million spirit jades. Huang Wenjing didn't expect that the first round would be so hot. Although the storage ring was a good thing, wasn't the bidding too outrageous? The starting price of 10 million spirit jades was indeed very low. This was also a decision made to hype up the atmosphere of the auction. Now it seemed that the effect was really good. At least this kind of hot bidding was really rare. Huang Wenjing originally wanted to take some time to introduce the background of the storage ring, but it seemed that there was no need, so she simply presided over the auction with peace of mind. In booth number 4, Uncle Li slightly frowned and reminded, "Young City Lord, isn't this increase in price a bit too much? Even if we have enough spirit jades, we can't waste it for battle chi, right? After all, our target is not this thing." Qian Xiaodong smiled sinisterly and said, "Uncle Li, don't worry, I will increase the price one more time and then stop. Lin Yi, that idiot, will definitely think that I am desperate to compete with him. After my last bid, I will immediately stop and then let him buy a storage ring to play with." Storage rings were indeed good things, but Qian Xiaodong didn't care much about it. He was the young city lord of Rapid City. If he wanted a storage ring, he could ask his father to go to the Xuanjiesi area. There was still a good chance that he could get it. At the beginning, Qian Xiaodong did intend to not let Lin Yi get a single thing, but now he felt that it would be very interesting if he could clear out Lin Yi's spirit jades in one go and become a spectator from the second round. As soon as Qian Xiaodong finished speaking, the array projection showed Lin Yi's new bid, 200 million spirit jades. The entire hall had long been quiet. It wasn't that this storage ring was not worth 200 million spirit jades, but that there was almost no one in the hall who could take out 200 million spirit jades, so the competition had now shifted to the booths on the second floor. However, most of the private rooms on the second floor chose to wait and see. If the storage rings were to be auctioned off at the end of the auction, the price might be higher. That was because by then the items in the auction would have already been sold. Those who had extra spiritual jades would not mind spending more. As for now, in the first round of bidding, everyone was still relatively cautious. Except for Qian Xiaodong. 250 million spirit jades. Qian Xiaodong didn't think much and directly made the last bid he decided. Huang Wenjing looked at the latest bid displayed on the array projection and loudly announced, 250 million spirit jades. The VIP in booth 4 bid 250 million spirit jades. Is there anyone who wants to bid higher? 250 million spirit jades in the first round was actually very good, but Huang Wenjing was still slightly dissatisfied in her heart, because the first round of bidding was too fast. If it had slowly increased, the price would have been even higher, and the atmosphere would have been even more lively. Unfortunately, there seemed to be some grudge between number 4 and number 5, and there was obviously a sense of rivalry between them. 250 million spirit jades going once. 250 million spirit jades going twice. Although Huang Wenjing felt regretful, her professionalism made her not delay at all, and directly began the countdown. Chapter 59:20. To be honest, buying such a large space ring for 250 million spiritual jades was not considered a loss. In fact, it was quite a good deal. However, Qian Xiaodong was not happy about the deal because things did not go according to his plan. 250 million spiritual jades going thrice. Congratulations to the distinguished guest in booth number 4 for obtaining this interspatial ring that has been passed down from ancient times. A delicate hammer in Huang Wenjing's palm hit the small hammer seat on the host stage, making a crisp sound. At the same time, she stretched out her arm and pointed her palm in the direction of box 4, attracting everyone's attention. That kind of beautiful posture and expression was pleasing to the eye like a dance. She really deserved to be the chief auctioneer of the Extreme North Auction House. Qian Xiaodong, who'd gotten the ring, didn't think that it was worth congratulating at all. Not being able to scheme against Lin Yi made him feel extremely unhappy, but he still had to complete the transaction. He took out his 250 million spirit jade card and placed it on the crystal platform's portal, quickly exchanging it for the ring. Young City Lord, this transaction is not a loss. I guess Lin Yi doesn't have enough spiritual jades in his hands, so he can't continue to increase the price. Uncle Li saw that Qian Xiaodong was in a bad mood, so he comforted him. Qian Xiaodong's eyes lit up and nodded. Yes, Uncle Li, what you said is very reasonable. Lin Yi probably doesn't have enough spiritual jades. He's just a country bumpkin from the North Island. If he didn't amass a lot of money these days, it would be impossible for him to have more than 100 million spiritual jades. I miscalculated and didn't consider this. It won't be like this next time. In box 5, Lin Yi shook his head and sighed. The guy next door is really rich. He got lucky. This ring is not bad. Wei Xinjin asked puzzledly, Boss, if you want it, why don't you continue to bid? If you don't have enough spiritual jades, I think President Kai, President Hong, and Uncle Shang would be happy to lend it to you. At most, you can help people refine pills. I don't want it. I just want to see how rich the kid next door is. Lin Yi smiled and shrugged indifferently. Wei Xinjin was speechless. When he saw Lin Yi and Qian Xiaodong fighting so fiercely, he thought that Lin Yi and Qian Xiaodong were determined to get the item. In the end, they were just teasing Qian Xiaodong. As he spoke, the second item had already appeared on the stage. It was a special grade mountain gazing pill. Lin Yi was a little speechless. This pill was clearly his handiwork. Who would have thought that it would be used as an auction item in the end? Regardless of whether it was refined by Lin Yi or not, it was impossible for him to participate in the auction. As a dignified mystic rank 2nd level alchemist, to buy this kind of pill, it was really embarrassing. Therefore Lin Yi still felt that it was a pity. He had wasted an opportunity to cheat others. He could only hope that the next item would be useful to him. Very quickly the mountain-gazing pill was auctioned off, and the third auction item appeared on the stage. A snow-white long sword appeared in the crystal box, and there was a faint, icy white mist rising and lingering around the sword's blade. Lin Yi said softly, This sword is not bad. Wei Xinjin, it seems to be very suitable for you. How about it, are you interested in buying it? In the ancient underworld, Lin Yi had seen similar swords. For example, Bing Wuqing's Ice Soul Sword and Lung Lung's Ice Shattering Sword were equally powerful weapons. Wei Xinjin had been following Lin Yi for a long time and had helped him a lot. If he could win the bid for this sword, it would be a good idea to give it to Wei Xinjin. This sword is called the Snow Mist Sword. It is one of the best weapons for ice element cultivators. The wielder of the sword can increase the power of their mental cultivation and martial techniques by 20%. In a life or death battle, it is equivalent to temporarily increasing a small realm. Huang Wenjing did not rush to announce the start of the auction. Instead, she introduced the snow mist sword's functions in detail. Wei Shenjin said longingly, "If I can have such a sword, my strength will definitely increase a lot. Boss, I will participate in the auction later. Let's see if I can win it first." It was estimated that it would be very difficult for Lin Yi to win the snow mist sword in booth number 5. Moreover, the snow mist sword was also useful to Ziqing. This time it was time for this guy to come out and mess things up. Huang Wenjing's introduction was very detailed. The snow mist sword was indeed a good sword. Unfortunately, it was not common to see people who practiced ice element mental cultivation. Therefore, the price of the snow mist sword was destined to be low. The starting price of the snow mist sword is 300,000 spiritual jades. Each increment must be no less than 10,000 spiritual jades. After Huang Wenjing finished speaking, she announced the start of the auction for the snow mist sword. Compared to the storage ring, the starting price of the snow mist sword was not even a fraction. However, in the eyes of those who needed it, there was not much difference in the value of the two items. 350,000 spiritual jades. Someone in the hall immediately increased the bid by 50,000 spiritual jades. The starting price was not high, so naturally, there were more people who were interested in the snow mist sword. 360,000 spiritual jades. 380,000 spiritual jades. The bidding speed in the hall was not slow. However, only a few people were bidding. It was evident that there were not many ice element cultivators. Lin Yi smiled at Wei Shenjin. "If you like it, feel free to bid. Don't worry about not having enough spiritual jades." Wei Shenjin was overjoyed. "Thank you, boss." He also had some spiritual jades. However, with Lin Yi's words, there was nothing to worry about. 1,000,000 spiritual jades. Wei Shenjin placed his hand on the crystal ball and increased the price by more than double. This was a show of confidence. As long as he could show off his imposing manner, it was very likely that he would scare off many competitors. As expected, the sudden increase in the bidding price caused the few competitors in the hall to pause for a moment. For a moment, no one made a new bid. Huang Wenjing smiled. The guest in booth 5 bid 1,000,000 spiritual jades. It seems that he likes the snow mist sword very much. Is there anyone else who also likes the snow mist sword? At this moment, the effect of auctioning the storage ring could be seen. Although Huang Wenjing was not particularly satisfied with the first item, it was undeniable that the current bid of 1,000,000 spiritual jades was not worth mentioning after the previous transaction of 250 million spiritual jades. If the first item was the snow mist sword, the few people in the hall who wanted it would probably give up. However, now they felt that 1,000,000 spiritual jades was far from what they had in mind. 1,050,000 spirit jades. After a brief pause, someone in the hall began bidding again. 1,080,000 spiritual jades. Another person followed. Chapter 59:21. He really made a move. Lin Yi smiled and casually said to Wei Shenjin, "Continue bidding, ignore him." Wei Shenjin, on the other hand, had complete trust in Lin Yi. He agreed immediately, bidding 2,200,000. The moment this bid appeared on the projection, it was instantly overshadowed by the bid of 3,000,000 spiritual jades from booth 6. Wei Shenjin immediately quoted a price of 3.5 million spirit jades. By this time, the few people in the hall who were interested in bidding had all quieted down. Even a fool could tell that after room 5 and room 4 were fighting, they were probably going to fight with room 6. This was a person who could casually take out 200 million spiritual jades. A mere few million was far from his bottom line, so it was better to quietly watch the show from the side. In booth number 6, Yu Ziqing smiled coldly and called out a price of 7 million spirit jades, doubling Wei Shenjin's bid once again. The middle-aged woman beside him smiled and said, "Young city lord, although this snow mist sword is not bad, you already have your own weapon, so you don't need to replace it. There is not much use in buying it, right? Is it really to prevent that Lin Yi from buying anything?" Yu Ziqing put on a gentle smile and said, "Aunt Lan, don't worry. I am not an idiot like Chen Xiaodong, spending a lot of money to buy things that I don't need. When the time is right, I will let Lin Yi bid for it. As far as I know, that guy does not know any ice attribute martial techniques, so he doesn't have the snow mist sword. He is most likely giving it to his follower. Spending a lot of money to buy such a sword for his follower, I guess he will be distressed for a long time, right?" Speaking of which, Yu Ziqing learned this trick after he was cheated by Lin Yi and Wei Shenjin in the extreme north chamber of commerce. Now that he was using it to deal with Lin Yi, it felt pretty good. Yu Ziqing didn't really mind if Lin Yi stopped the bidding first. He could use the snow mist sword anyways, and it was fine to spend more spirit jade to buy it as a backup weapon. He had the upper hand in this auction, and he was in an invincible position. Wei Shenjin bid again. Yu Ziqing didn't even look at it and directly bid 15 million spiritual jades. At the same time he continued to say to Aunt Lan, "Aunt Lan, did you see that kid's strength just now?" Qian Xiaodong said that his family's oldly didn't have any advantage against that kid. Aunt Lan shook her head and said, "I didn't see it clearly. That Linny is a bit strange. He is actually a mystic second-level alchemist. If possible, it is best to befriend him. It will be good for our moon city." Yu Ziqing shook his head and smiled. "It's just a mystic second-rank alchemist. My father knows mystic second-level alchemists in the Mystic Sea region, so what? What's more, Qian Xiaodong and this kid have a grudge. I can't just ignore Qian Xiaodong's face, can I?" Aunt Lan didn't deny it. She knew that it was useless to persuade him again, so she could only give up. In fact, in her heart, the mystic second-level alchemists in the Mystic Sea region couldn't be compared to Lin Yi at all. Not to mention how rare it was for Lin Yi to be able to refine high-quality Haina Dan in a day. His age alone was enough for Aunt Lan to pay attention to Lin Yi's talent. Such a young mystic second-level alchemist? How could any old mystic second-level alchemist in the Mystic Sea region compare to his future potential? By the way, Aunt Lan, if you and Uncle O work together, do you think you can defeat that Lin Yi? Yu Ziqing asked casually. Uncle O was the old man who followed him at the last trade fair. He was also a master in the early mountain opening stage, and he also scanned Lin Yi with his divine sense. Aunt Lan didn't want to have a bad relationship with Lin Yi. It was just a small conflict at the moment. To put it bluntly, it was just a fight between young people. It was fine to laugh it off, but if it continued to get worse, there would be no turning back. So she said in a very uncertain tone, "It's hard to say. Lin Yi's strength is deep and hidden. It's better not to act rashly before we are sure." "You're right. Let's discuss it with Uncle O later." Yu Ziqing didn't continue to say more. He shrugged and turned his attention to the auction. Huang Wenjing, who was on the stage now, felt that she was redundant because this auction was the same as the storage ring. There was no need for her to add fuel to the fire. What's more, she almost didn't even have a chance to intervene. The starting price of 300,000 had reached 15 million in just a few minutes. It was indeed her qualification in the future, but this feeling of not being able to participate made her feel a little frustrated as the chief auctioneer. In the fifth box, Wei Shenjin looked at Lin Yi with some hesitation and said, "Boss, this price is too high. The snow mist sword is good, but it's not worth this price. I think we should forget about it." Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "If you like it, don't give up. I guess Yu Ziqing won't always compete with us. He probably wants to take revenge on you for being cheated by you in the extreme North Chamber of Commerce. He can also guess that you want the snow mist sword, not me." Wei Shenjin was slightly stunned. He nodded and said, "Boss, what you said makes sense. If that's the case, shouldn't we not let him succeed?" "It doesn't matter. If you really want the snow mist sword, then don't be afraid of spending too much spiritual jades. You can't buy a good heart with 1,000 gold coins. Don't regret it if you miss it." Lin Yi shrugged and took a spiritual fruit to eat. Tens of millions of spiritual jades was not a big deal. Now he wanted to train Wei Shenjin to be independent. If everything needed to be decided by Lin Yi, it would be too hard for him. 15 million spiritual jades going once, 15 million spiritual jades going twice. Huang Wenjing began to count down. The price of the snow mist sword was already beyond her expectations. Although it had nothing to do with her, she was satisfied. Wei Shenjin's eyes narrowed. Before Huang Wenjing said the last price, the projection formation refreshed the price of 15.01 million spiritual jades. 15.01 million spiritual jades. A new bid had appeared. This was the bid of 15.01 million spirit jades from the distinguished guest in the fourth booth. Let's see if there is a new price. 15.01 million spiritual jades going once. Huang Wenjing smiled, but she felt a little strange in her heart. Before, the price increases were in the hundreds of thousands or even millions. Suddenly, there was a minimum increase. It was a little strange. This kind of scene should have appeared when the starting price was announced, right? Chapter 59:22. Yu Ziqing smiled and said, "Interesting. What is this? Are you provoking me? Or are you ready to admit defeat?" 20 million spiritual jades. This was Yu Ziqing's last offer. If Lin Yi had added another 10,000 spiritual jades, he would not have increased the price. The snow mist sword was sold for 2 million spiritual jades at most. Now that it had increased to 20 million spiritual jades, it was enough for him to vent his anger. It did not matter if he bought it himself. Anyway, he was not short of spiritual jades. He would just take it as a response to Qian Xiaodong's action. After seeing the new offer, Wei Xinjin immediately let go of the crystal ball. He took a deep breath and leaned back in his chair. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "You don't want it anymore?" "No." Wei Xinjin smiled and said, "Boss, you are right. Money cannot buy a good heart. However, after thinking about it, I feel that the snow mist sword is not what I really want. If I can buy a long saber, it might be more suitable for me. This time I will cheat that stupid rich guy again." Lin Yi smiled and nodded without saying anything. Wei Xinjin had achieved his goal as long as he had his own ideas and judgment. On the stage, Huang Wenjing smiled and shouted the last sentence, 20 million spiritual jades going thrice. Dill. The small hammer in her hand fell, and the crisp sound of the hammer was heard. This meant that the competition for the snow mist sword had officially ended. Yu Ziqing curled his lips and said, "That guy is quite smart. It seems that it will not be easy to cheat him." "Aunt Lan, did you find out what Lin Yi is determined to get?" In Yu Ziqing's opinion, the storage ring and the snow mist sword were not things that Lin Yi was determined to get. Therefore, he would give up decisively when the price exceeded his expectations. However, if there was something that he was determined to get, he could raise the price without any scruples. Aunt Lan shook her head and said, "I don't know. I hope Uncle O has good news." Yu Ziqing shrugged nonchalantly and completed the transaction of the snow mist sword on the teleportation portal. He then picked up the snow mist sword and carefully played with it. None of the next 7 items were of interest to Lin Yi, but he would make a random bid every time. As long as he made a bid, Qian Xiaodong or Yu Ziqing would immediately follow up. However, these two fellows had also learned their lesson. They would not continue to increase the price by a large margin. Instead, they just happened to suppress Lin Yi's price. Their intentions were self-evident. Lin Yi probed a few times, and after he had more or less figured out the thoughts of these two fellows, he stopped attacking. The auction didn't come to a standstill just because Lin Yi didn't make a move. On the contrary, the scene was extremely explosive. After all, the items that could appear in this top-notch auction were definitely the best. After another half an hour, another item that Lin Yi was interested in finally appeared. Worldly phenomena. Well, the name sounded very imposing, but it was actually just a mask. Huang Wenjing was explaining the information of the worldly phenomena mask with a smile on her face. The auction had been going on for almost 4 hours. It was not easy for her to maintain such a gentle and beautiful smile. Worldly phenomena means that after using this mask you can change your appearance at will. You can also change your aura. Under normal circumstances, even an expert in the earth opening stage can't see through the disguise brought by the mask. If you have any enemies, you can basically sit back and relax with such a mask. Even if you walk face to face, the other party won't find out that you are their enemy. However, it doesn't mean that you can change your appearance at will. This worldly manifestation mask has been refined into different appearances in advance. You can only choose the template you already have, but you can't change into someone else you want. Huang Wenjing explained in great detail, and she didn't hide anything. She just said one thing and 2 things that she didn't want to hide. If it was a mask that could change one's appearance at will, the value would undoubtedly be much higher. But even if it could only change into a confirmed template, it was still a rare treasure. As Huang Wenjing said, as long as one had enemies with this mask, their own safety would obviously be more guaranteed. Lin Yi was interested because he had really offended a lot of people. If he could have this worldly phenomena mask in his hands, it would be much more convenient for him to act in the future. The starting price of the worldly phenomena mask is 2 million spirit jades. Each increment must not be less than 100,000 spirit jades. If there are distinguished guests who like it, you can bid now. After Huang Wenjing announced the start of the auction, the atmosphere suddenly became hot. This mask could be used to save one's life. Anyone who could participate in this kind of top-level auction, even if they were in the main hall, was a big shot. They valued their lives very much, so it was only natural that the mortal world manifestation would be sought after. In just a few breaths, the price in the hall soared all the way, directly breaking through the threshold of 5 million spirit jades, and continued to rise, but the speed was slightly slower than before. Lin Yi waited for the price in the hall to reach 7 million before he raised it to 10 million spirit jades. Although the sudden increase of 3 million spiritual jades was a bit large, everyone was already used to it. However, everyone knew that as long as Booth 5 made a move, Booth 4 and Booth 6 would definitely follow suit. Therefore, 10 million spiritual jades was only the beginning. Everyone knew that as long as Booth 5 made a move, Booth 4 and Booth 6 would definitely follow suit. Sure enough, after the bid of the 5th booth appeared, the 4th booth instantly bid 13 million spirit jades. Lin Yi smiled faintly. He had already understood that Chen Xiaodong probably really wanted this worldly phenomena mask. From the previous situation when Chen Xiaodong bid a minimum amount higher than Lin Yi, he was purely messing around. If he increased the price by a lot, it was most likely that he really wanted it because if Lin Yi gave up, Chen Xiaodong would continue to bid with others. Since you really want this mask, I can't let you get away with it. After Lin Yi finished speaking, he quoted a price of 15 million spirit jades. Unexpectedly, Yu Ziqing in the sixth booth also followed suit and added 2 million spirit jades. Obviously, he also wanted to participate in the competition. Since the beginning of the auction, Chen Xiaodong and Yu Ziqing had a tacit understanding not to compete for anything. When dealing with Lin Yi, one of them also made a move and the other did not move. This was the first time that both of them bid with Lin Yi at the same time. Oh, it's just a mask, but it actually attracted two young city lords of the East Continent to compete for it. It seems that these two fools have a lot of enemies. Lin Yi smiled and quoted a new price.